The Primordial Era. Upon a crimson mountain peak billowing flames soared into the sky interwoven with various spiritual flames. At the center of the mountain where the spiritual energy was most dense a young man clad in a crimson robe was cultivating breathing in and out the spiritual energy. The fiery Tao rhythm swirled around him spiritual light splattering dyeing the entire mountain in a riot of colors. In the next moment the ceaselessly flowing Tao rhythm rapidly dissipated like receding tidewater and the splattering spiritual light was drawn back into his body. The young man opened his eyes. First a look of bewilderment filled them then it morphed into one of shock. No way. Even going to sleep makes you transmigrate. Xiao Yuan was completely stupefied. He was originally an ordinary office worker on Blue Star but after waking from slumber he had become a member of the Transmigration Army. Transmigration was one thing but his starting point was simply too unimpressive. Even if he couldn't be born to fight the three pure ones and step on the heavenly sovereign he should at least have been arranged an innate background. Yet he had only transmigrated into an acquired fire crow at the true immortal realm. The second discourse at the Purple Firmament Palace had just concluded. Although the primordial era was far from the point where quasi-saints were everywhere and Daluo immortals were as common as dogs. For a true immortal that was still firmly at the bottom. And the most fatal part was that Xiao Yuan had once heard Shangqing Tongtian preach the Tao and now he practiced the Shangqing method making him a nominal disciple of Shangqing Tongtian. Later when Tongtian established his sect and attained sainthood he would be a hapless disciple of the Jie Sect. Oh good heavens! The negative buffs were piling up. Xiao Yuan's heart felt ice cold. Soon however as if remembering something he hesitantly spoke, "System. Here." Suddenly a mechanical voice sounded in Xiao Yuan's mind. Xiao Yuan grinned. Hey. That's more like it. A transmigrator without a system, can they even be called one? System, what functions do you have? He hurriedly asked. This system is the word selection system. The host can obtain different word abilities by choosing the direction of events. The system's voice rang out again. Ding. Detected that the host has successfully descended into the primordial world. Now initiating the first round of word selection. Option 1 Heaven-Defying Comprehension Gold. Option 2 Alchemy Grandmaster Gold. Option 3 Sword Tao Mastery Gold. Xiao Yuan looked at the three options and fell into hesitation. For all three words seemed incredibly powerful. What to do when you want them all? Unfortunately only one could be chosen. I choose one. Xiao Yuan made up his mind after a moment's thought. Because whether it was the Alchemy Grandmaster or Sword Tao Mastery words with his current strength he couldn't exert their effects at all. What he needed most now was to increase his own strength as quickly as possible. And the Heaven-Defying Comprehension word had just such an effect. As soon as Xiao Yuan made his choice a beam of golden light shot into the center of his brow. In an instant Xiao Yuan felt his entire being become clear and lucid. Not only that but the world in his eyes seemed to have completely transformed. Whether it was the surrounding spiritual flames or mountain rocks everything in his sight became traceable. Having obtained the Heaven-Defying Comprehension word Xiao Yuan now possessed a certain ability to discern the operating rules of all things in the world. From the operating rules of these things he would gain immense inspiration. The next moment Xiao Yuan fell into a state of enlightenment, a vast Tao rhythm beginning to converge towards him. 3,000 years later the Tao aura and spiritual light around Xiao Yuan subsided and his entire aura had grown tremendously. This Heaven-Defying Comprehension word is indeed formidable. 3,000 years in seclusion and my cultivation realm has risen 2 minor realms. Xiao Yuan's face was full of delight. Now he had stepped into the peak of the true immortal realm, only one step away from the profound immortal realm. Even compared to the top innate primordial saints his comprehension was not so far off, not at all. Ding. Tongtian is about to begin his routine preaching at Kunlun Mountain. Please make a choice, host. Option 1 Don't go to listen to the Tao Reward Devour Heaven and Earth Gold Word. Option 2 Go to listen to the Tao Reward Sun Divine Flame Gold Word. Option 3 Betray the sect and seek another great power to apprentice under Reward Spiritual Light Tracking Gold Word. Xiao Yuan was in a dilemma again as he looked at the three choices. Among these three choices the third could be eliminated first. He must be mad to betray his sect. Although becoming a disciple of Shangqing was a pitfall, he couldn't treat a great power like that. Changing allegiance in the primordial era was a major taboo. He would not only carry a bad name but could easily be smote to death. Besides, the conferred god calamity was still very far away, leaving plenty of time for development. If he still ended up being beaten to death and reincarnated in the conferred god, it would be a huge letdown to the system's support. Moreover, the spiritual light tracking word held zero appeal for him at present. Conversely, choices 1 and 2 were the ones giving him trouble. If asked which word he wanted most, it would naturally be devour heaven and earth. This word was clearly extremely helpful for improving cultivation. Paired with the heaven-defying comprehension word, it would allow his strength to grow at an extremely fast pace. But as good as the word was, he had to consider reality. Xiao Yuan was intimately familiar with the developmental history of the primordial era. After the second discourse at the Purple Firmament Palace, the Eastern Prince was appointed by the Tao ancestor as the leader of male immortals and the Queen Mother of the West as the leader of female immortals. They would soon establish the immortal court. Dijuan and Tai, the two brothers displeased, rallied Fuxi and Nuwa to establish the heavenly court. The immortal court and the heavenly court locked horns, and both sides would soon erupt in a great war. Though this war would not be as tragic as a calamity, it would still engulf the entire primordial world. Not to mention true immortals like him, even Daoyuo golden immortals who got caught up in this great war would find it hard to protect themselves. Therefore, what Xiao Yuan most hoped for now was to find a place to avoid the impending catastrophe. And according to his knowledge, any disciple of Shangqing with outstanding performance could have the opportunity to go into seclusion at the Kunlun Immortal Mountain. The Kunlun Immortal Mountain is the ancestral court of the Tao sect. Now, with the three pure ones guarding it, not only could it forestall the struggles between the immortal court and the heavenly court, even if the sorcerer and demon tribes started their cataclysm, it would not affect Kunlun Mountain. Moreover, the Sun Divine Flame word was not bad by any means. The Sun Divine Flame is one of the primordial spiritual flames, ranking among the best and possessing extremely formidable power. Mastering the Sun Divine Flame would be equivalent to grasping a powerful attack divine ability. I choose option 2. Xiao Yuan announced. Another streak of golden light shot into Xiao Yuan's brow. This time golden spiritual flames flickered around Xiao Yuan, with firelight dancing and the surrounding temperature soaring sharply. Xiao Yuan could sense that mastering the solar divine flame had vastly increased his power, making even cross-realm combat no longer a mere aspiration. Such was the overwhelming might of mastering a formidable divine ability. Xiao Yuan had firmly decided to take advantage of this opportunity to attend the sermon and remain on Kunlun Mountain. He was quite confident in this plan and was prepared to abandon his current cultivation site. He had always been destitute and had nothing much to pack. Then, transforming into a streak of light, he flew far away towards Kunlun Mountain. It took nearly 100 years for Xiao Yuan to finally approach Kunlun Mountain. Truly worthy of being the ancestral court of Taoism and the sanctuary of the three pure ones. Spiritual mist floated, Tao rhythm pervaded the air, and countless rays of law light cascaded down, a true celestial scene. As Xiao Yuan drew closer to Kunlun, he could also see many living beings entering the mountain. These were all his fellow disciples of the same sect. Shangqing Tongtian was famous in the primordial world for his universal benevolence, especially delighting in taking disciples. Even before his ascension to sainthood, this tendency was already evident, which had incurred the displeasure of his two elder brothers. This even laid the groundwork for the eventual division of the three pure ones. However, all these were no concern for a mere insignificant figure like Xiao Yuan. Cautiously he followed the streaks of light and entered Kunlun Mountain. As soon as he entered Kunlun Mountain, he felt refreshed, and even his cultivation base began to loosen. Cultivation required method, companions, wealth and land. Method meant the cultivation technique. Companions referred to like-minded peers or teachers. Wealth meant the resources for cultivation. Land referred to blessed caves and heavenly sanctuaries, the cultivation grounds. Kunlun Mountain was one of the most supreme spiritual mountains in the primordial world, its spiritual energy concentration far beyond what Xiao Yuan's humble cultivation site could offer. Practicing here would surely yield twice the results with half the effort. This further strengthened Xiao Yuan's determination to settle in Kunlun Mountain for cultivation. Before long he arrived at Shangqing Palace. At the palace gate a young apprentice dressed in red and blue Taoist robes was waiting. If Xiao Yuan was not mistaken, this should be the water-fire youth under his master's command. This young apprentice had a remarkable background. He was transformed from the ultimate innate spiritual treasure, the water-fire gourd, and possessed extraordinary origins. In any case, Xiao Yuan could not discern the youth's cultivation level at all, indicating that the youth was far stronger than him. Xiao Yuan bowed to the water-fire youth and then stepped into the palace. It's rare to see someone so polite. Quite interesting. The water-fire youth looked at Xiao Yuan and smiled. However, he did not think much of it. Having served by his master's side, he had seen all kinds of beings. After entering Shangqing Palace, Xiao Yuan found an inconspicuous corner to sit down and silently began to cultivate. 100 years later, nearly 300 beings had gathered in Shangqing Palace. Xiao Yuan was not particularly conspicuous among them. Then suddenly the spiritual energy in Shangqing Palace surged violently and countless brilliant lights appeared. All beings present instinctively looked towards the head seat of Shangqing Palace. Tong Tian Daoist walked in slowly with infinite Tao mystique flowing around him. We pay our respects to the master. All the disciples of Shangqing bowed in unison. Rise. Tong Tian raised his hand and sat down on a cushion. Today I will expound on the way of the sword. All the Shangqing disciples present were fully attentive, concentrating intently, afraid of missing a single word. Then the sermon began. As a quasi-saint powerhouse who had severed one corpse, Tong Tian was one of the supreme existences in the primordial world. Expounding the Tao to his disciples was a simple task for him. Moreover, Tong Tian was one of the few sword cultivators in the primordial world. His explanation of the sword way was perfectly suited. Soon the entire Shangqing Palace was filled with dense Tao rhythm. Countless insights on the sword way manifested in Shangqing Palace, sometimes wandering beside the disciples, sometimes entering their bodies to be digested and absorbed. Xiao Yuan naturally immersed himself in the state of enlightenment. Moreover, among the 300 Shangqing disciples present, he had the most sword insights gathering around him and absorbed them the fastest. Such was the marvel of the inverse talent trait, it could help beings quickly attain enlightenment and greatly enhance the speed of comprehension. Ah! A fine seedling for the sword way has appeared. When did I take this disciple? Oh well, never mind. At that moment even Tong Tian noticed Xiao Yuan, and he was in a rather pleasant mood. Of course, if Xiao Yuan had initially chosen the sword way mastery trait, the phenomena triggered during Tongshan's explanation of the sword way would have been even more spectacular and would have drawn Tongshan's attention even more. But a move once made cannot be taken back, and Xiao Yuan had no idea that Tong Tian would expound on the sword way. This sermon lasted for 1,000 years. The Shangqing disciples present had different comprehensions of the sword way due to their varying aptitudes and cultivation levels, so their gains were not the same. Xiao Yuan was undoubtedly one of those who gained tremendously. After listening to the sermon for 1,000 years, his cultivation had broken through to the early stage of mystic immortal. Moreover, compared to the breakthrough in cultivation realm, his greatest gain was comprehending the sword technique, heaven opening one sword from this enlightenment. Come here. Tong Tian beckoned. Xiao Yuan's body involuntarily floated to stand before Tong Tian. The Shangqing disciples present looked at Xiao Yuan with envy in their eyes. They all knew that Xiao Yuan had caught the master's attention. Though Tong Tian accepted disciples everywhere and had many nominal disciples, there were hierarchical levels among them. For now they could be divided into elite disciples and ordinary disciples. Once one became an elite disciple, they could not only remain in Kunlun Mountain to cultivate but also enjoy Tongshan's protection. Ordinary nominal disciples might roam the primordial world and die with Tong Tian not paying much heed, after all he had many disciples. But elite disciples who caught Tongshan's eye, if they died unjustly, would be investigated by Tong Tian. Therefore, although the Jie Sect had many disciples, becoming an elite disciple meant that various forces in the primordial world would show respect. Disciple Xiao Yuan pays respects to master. Xiao Yuan immediately bowed. Seeing this, Tong Tian nodded slightly. This disciple not only had extraordinary talent in the sword way but also faced him with such composure. His character was indeed impressive. From today onward you shall open a cultivation site on Kunlun Mountain and practice here. Since you have such talent in the sword way, I bestow upon you this Mo Yuan sword. Tong Tian raised his hand and a streak of light shot out, landing before Xiao Yuan. It was a pitch-black sword shimmering with cold light, brimming with spiritual aura and sword intent, clearly full of spirit. Xiao Yuan stared at the longsword, his heart surging with excitement. This was actually a low-grade innate spiritual treasure. Legend had it that there were no more than 500 innate spiritual treasures in the primordial world. Some Daoyuo golden immortals did not even possess an innate spiritual treasure. Moreover, the second sermon at Xiao Palace had concluded and the method of severing the 3 corpses had been disseminated, making innate spiritual treasures even more precious. And now he himself had obtained one. It was said that the 3 pure ones were immensely wealthy, and indeed it was true. Xiao Yuan resolved to hold firmly onto this patronage. Thank you, master, for bestowing the treasure. Xiao Yuan hastily bowed in gratitude. You may leave now. Tong Tian waved his hand, then departed from the Shangqing Palace. Within the Shangqing Palace the many disciples dispersed one after another. Junior brother, come with me to choose your Taoist abode. The water fire boy stepped forward and spoke slowly. He held a rather favorable impression of Xiao Yuan. A courteous person is seldom disliked anywhere. I am indebted to you, senior brother. Xiao Yuan expressed his thanks. He did intend to offer something to the water fire boy to foster goodwill, but alas, he was far too impoverished, possessing nothing of value. He would make amends later. Mount Kunlun, the Taoist abode of the three pure ones, was exceedingly vast. Under the guidance of the water fire boy, Xiao Yuan selected a site abundant with spiritual energy as his own Taoist abode. Xiao Yuan did not intend to expend much effort on this abode. He knew that the three pure ones would eventually part ways, and no matter how well he arranged the abode on Mount Kunlun, he would ultimately have to leave. Senior brother, now that I am cultivating within Kunlun, are there any specific protocols I should follow when I wish to pay respects to our master and the two grand masters? Xiao Yuan inquired. Paying respects. The water fire boy chuckled upon hearing this. It seems you are indeed well versed in propriety. The three lords are engrossed in comprehending the great Tao and rarely attend to such mundane affairs. If you are sincere, paying your respects outside their palaces will suffice. Thank you for your guidance, senior brother. Xiao Yuan expressed his gratitude once more. His inquiries were not born of idleness. For now the three pure ones had not yet fallen out and remained united. Xiao Yuan mused that by spending some time paying respects to the three great entities, if any of them deigned to bestow even a sliver of their grace, he would benefit immeasurably. And even if he gained nothing in the end, Xiao Yuan would suffer no loss. It was purely a matter of trying his luck without any risk. After tidying his new Taoist abode, Xiao Yuan proceeded to the Taiching, Yuqing and Shangqing palaces to pay his respects. The three pure ones offered no response whatsoever. His actions naturally drew the attention of some disciples. Most mocked Xiao Yuan for his futile efforts, believing the three great lords of Kunlun would never heed him. Xiao Yuan paid them no mind. Compared to reaping benefits, what was face worth? After attending to these trivial matters, Xiao Yuan began his seclusion. 5,000 years passed in the blink of an eye. Xiao Yuan fully digested the insights gained from the last sermon and successfully stepped into the midstage of Mystic Immortal. The path of cultivation grew increasingly arduous. Even with the enhancement of his golden traits, Xiao Yuan had to advance step by step. Of course, he believed that if he could acquire a few more traits, his cultivation speed would surely increase. Unfortunately, after such a long time, Xiao Yuan had not encountered an opportunity to trigger the system's choices. Upon emerging from seclusion, he followed his routine and went to the three palaces to pay his respects. Even burning incense and worshipping Buddha requires sincerity. The key lies in persistence. Dong Wanggong of the Zifu prefecture has come to visit the three Taoist friends. Outside Kunlun, a resonant voice rang out, carrying an overwhelming aura that shook the soul, compelling even Xiao Yuan to feel a sense of submission. Dong Wanggong. It seems he is about to make a major move. His visit to Mount Kunlun must be to recruit our master and the two grand masters into his fold, preparing to establish the immortal court. Xiao Yuan murmured. During the second sermon at Xiao Palace, the Tao ancestor had decreed Dong Wanggong as the leader of all male immortals. With this title, Dong Wanggong was brimming with ambition, seeking to gather the top powers of the primordial world for a grand endeavor. The three pure ones were naturally among his targets. Xiao Yuan did not dwell on it. Matters among such great beings were beyond his involvement. Moreover, Xiao Yuan was certain that his master and the two grand masters would not collaborate with Dong Wanggong. As the three pure ones born from the primordial spirit of Pangu and the pure chi of the primordial world, they were the most eminent innate sages, unlikely to submit to another's rule. No matter how many benefits Dong Wanggong promised or how eloquently he spoke, he could not sway the three pure ones. And events unfolded just as Xiao Yuan had predicted. Dong Wanggong arrived with high hopes but left disappointed. However, not long after his visit, new stirrings arose within Mount Kunlun. Junior brother Xiao Yuan, you must think this over carefully. This is a rare opportunity too good to miss. Senior Dong Wanggong is the leader of male immortals appointed by the Tao ancestor, the orthodox authority of the primordial world. Following him will bring endless benefits. Outside Xiao Yuan's abode, a middle-aged Taoist in a red robe earnestly advised. Ding! Dong Wanggong has extended an invitation to you. Please make a choice, host. Choice 1. Accept Dong Wanggong's invitation. Reward indestructible golden body gold trait. Choice 2. Reject Dong Wanggong's invitation. Reward sword escape gold trait. Choice 3. Reject Dong Wanggong's invitation and rebuke the disciples seduced by him. Reward void escape gold trait. Indestructible golden body gold, one of the most formidable physical forms in the primordial world, hardly able to be shaken. Sword escape gold, unite with the sword, meld into it, enabling extremely swift escape arts, leaving even beings of higher cultivation in the dust. Void escape gold, you can merge into the void, achieving spatial jumps. I choose 2. Xiao Yuan made his choice without a moment's hesitation among the three options. He had come to realize that although rejected by the three pure ones, Dong Wanggong had not given up. Unable to sway the three pure ones directly, he resorted to a roundabout tactic targeting their disciples. If the disciples were drawn in, the three pure ones would have no choice but to intervene. It was undeniably a clever scheme. But without a doubt Dong Wanggong had miscalculated once again. At most he could win over some nominal disciples. The three pure ones would not be drawn into the conflicts of the primordial world for the sake of these nominal disciples. Xiao Yuan was certain that those disciples bought by Dong Wanggong would meet no good end. Besides, knowing that the immortal court was doomed, why would he still rush to join? That would be sheer idiocy. This sinking ship was not one to board. As for the third choice, to reject and rebuke those disciples, Xiao Yuan deemed it completely unnecessary. Those fellows could suffer their own misfortunes. He only wished to shut his doors and cultivate peacefully, avoiding any trouble. Thank you for your kindness, senior brother Qi Xian. I only wish to cultivate quietly in the Kunlun Mountains. Xiao Yuan replied to the middle-aged Taoist. Alas! Since that is the case, I will not press you. If you change your mind, you may come to me. The middle-aged Taoist sighed, somewhat regretful. Dong Wanggong had promised him generous rewards for every Shangqing disciple he recruited. He had assumed that Xiao Yuan, being new to cultivation in Kunlun and lacking a solid foundation, would agree. Xiao Yuan watched the middle-aged Taoist walk away and shook his head. In his eyes, this senior brother was likely not far from death. Then a streak of golden light shot into Xiao Yuan's brow. It was the golden trait Sword Escape. Xiao Yuan was quite satisfied with this new trait. Upon equipping it, he would possess an escape art. In the perilous primordial world, the ability to flee swiftly would greatly enhance his chances of survival, giving him more confidence when venturing outside. The Eastern Duke's efforts to win over the disciples of the three pure ones stirred quite a commotion in Kunlun. In particular, many of the Shangqing disciples, seeing that their own master had not stepped in to stop it, succumbed to the generous rewards promised by the Eastern Duke. Moreover, the Eastern Duke was generous, giving real treasures rather than empty promises. The Red Profound Taoist approached Xiao Yuan several times, but Xiao Yuan remained unmoved. Eventually the Red Profound Taoist stopped coming. Xiao Yuan continued his cultivation in an orderly manner, paying his respects at the three palaces at regular intervals, living a highly disciplined life. Meanwhile, within the Grand Pure Palace, the three pure ones gathered. Third brother, your disciples have been somewhat unruly lately, Yuanshi began, his tone carrying a hint of displeasure. There were few among Tongqian's disciples that Yuanshi found worthy of regard. He had spoken to Tong Tian about this before, but Tong Tian continued to accept registered disciples as he pleased. Now, to draw the three pure ones into the fray, the Eastern Duke had spared no effort in courting the Shangqing disciples. They knew that many of them had already fallen into his trap. Second brother is right. Those fellows indeed need to be disciplined. Tong Tian nodded, acknowledging that the issue lay on his side. Hearing Tongqian's honest admission, Yuanshi found his anger with no outlet. Tong Tian always did this, admitting fault, confessing error, but never changing his ways. It nearly drove Yuanshi to fury. Why should we let such trivial matters create a rift between brothers? One of third brother's disciples is quite exceptional, devoted to cultivation, uninvolved in external conflicts, unmoved by the Eastern Duke's lavish offers. He is courteous and respectful, regularly paying his respects to us. He deserves commendation. The old master stroked his beard and smiled. Junior brother, come out quickly. Great news. As Xiao Yuan was in seclusion, an urgent call sounded. Xiao Yuan looked at the firewater boy, confusion in his eyes. Senior brother, what great news? Oh. You must come with me at once. The three lords have specifically summoned you. The firewater boy laughed. Ah. Xiao Yuan was stunned, then asked, Senior brother, do you know why the master and the two uncles have summoned me? There's some reasoning to it. You must know that the Eastern Duke is heavily recruiting disciples under our Shangqing sect. The three lords are quite displeased about this. The firewater boy explained, you junior brother have cultivated diligently, ignored these conflicts, and are courteous and respectful. I suspect the three lords intend to set you as an example to admonish those disciples bribed by the Eastern Duke. Xiao Yuan's heart surged with joy. If he was to be set as an example, rewards were certainly forthcoming. Could this immense fortune finally be falling upon him? Xiao Yuan adjusted his attire and followed the firewater boy straight to the Grand Pure Palace. Disciple Xiao Yuan pays respects to master and to the two uncles. Xiao Yuan bowed to the three pure ones seated above. Both brothers, this is my disciple Xiao Yuan. This child possesses considerable talent in the way of the sword. Having his disciple praised by his two brothers brought honor to Tongqian, who did not stint on words of admiration for Xiao Yuan. You have indeed taken on a fine disciple. The old master nodded at Xiao Yuan, and then a streak of light flew from his sleeve, a pill bottle. These are 3-6 Revolution Clarity Void pills I refined. I bestow them upon you today. Thank you, senior uncle, for your generous gift. Xiao Yuan quickly expressed his gratitude. The 6 Revolution Clarity Void pill could enhance cultivation, saving 1,000 years of bitter practice with a single dose. It was quite effective even for Tai or Great Luo level cultivators. Pills from the Grand Pure sect were always of the finest quality. If this bottle of pills were to leak out, it would likely spark a fierce battle for possession. You are not bad, Yuancher said, nodding at Xiao Yuan as well. It was no rumor that Yuqing Yuancher disliked those born from fur horns, dampness or eggs. The main reason for his aversion was the untamable wildness in their bones and their disregard for propriety. Xiao Yuan was a transformed fire crow, falling into the category of fur and horns. However, his courtesy, respect and proper conduct left Yuancher with a rather favorable impression of him. This is a spiritual treasure I casually forged. I bestow it upon you. Yuancher raised his hand and another streak of light landed before Xiao Yuan. Do not take Yuanchi's words about a casual forging lightly. For a grandmaster like Yuancher, even a casually forged item was extraordinary. Moreover, Yuancher was a premier treasure refining master in the primordial world. Anything from his hands was bound to be no ordinary object. Before Xiao Yuan lay the superior grade acquired spiritual treasure, the 8 trigram diagram, primarily for defense. Though ranked as superior grade acquired, its actual power was likely not inferior to ordinary supreme grade acquired spiritual treasures. Thank you, second uncle. Xiao Yuan thanked him obediently. Your master is not as wealthy as your 2 uncles. Take this little trinket and play with it. Tong Tian said with a chuckle, and then sent out a flash of spiritual light. Tongshen's gift was a spiritual object called Primordial Spirit Marrow. Its effect was to enhance one's innate foundation and talent. In truth, this item was even more precious than the gifts from the old master and Yuancher. Thank you, master. Xiao Yuan continued his thanks. Xiao Yuan, if I am not mistaken, you have considerable skill in fire techniques, but the old master suddenly spoke. You flatter me, senior uncle. I happen to master the solar divine flame by chance. Xiao Yuan replied truthfully. Not bad. To master the solar divine flame at your level of cultivation shows that your skill in fire techniques is likely no less than your swordsmanship. The old master nodded, then looked at Tong Tian. Third brother, my Grand Pure Palace is too quiet and there is no one to tend the elixir furnace. Could your disciple stay in my palace for a while? Xiao Yuan, what do you think? Tong Tian asked. I will follow master's decision. Xiao Yuan replied immediately, his heart brimming with ecstasy. Though it seemed just a task of watching the furnace in the Grand Pure Palace, there were many hidden benefits. Simply entering the palace meant that the senior uncle might casually teach him something, bringing endless benefits. Moreover, in traversing the primordial world, what mattered most was one's background and connections. Forging a relationship with the Grand Pure Palace was a blessing many could only dream of. Good. Then it is settled. You may take your leave. Tong Tian smiled. Xiao Yuan respectfully withdrew from the Grand Pure Palace. Junior brother. The firewater boy, seeing Xiao Yuan emerge from the palace, quickly approached him. His smile was now tinged with sincerity. Previously the firewater boy had been polite to Xiao Yuan because of his courteous nature. But now Xiao Yuan had been set as a model by the 3 lords. His status in Kunlun was bound to rise sharply, and building a good relationship with him was certainly wise. Senior brother, the master and both uncles bestowed gifts upon me. Seeing my skill in fire techniques, the senior uncle asked me to help watch his elixir furnace in the Grand Pure Palace. Xiao Yuan said cheerfully. The water and fire boy was taken aback by Xiao Yuan's words. He was aware that the 3 elders were preparing to reward him, as they intended to establish Xiao Yuan as a model. However, it was unexpected for the water and fire boy that Xiao Yuan was selected to enter the Taqin Palace to observe the Dan furnace. With his cleverness, he naturally understood what this signified. That great elder was not the same as their own master, and not everyone could catch his eye. It seemed that this junior brother had some exceptional qualities that the water and fire boy was unaware of. Senior brother, ever since I entered Kunlun Mountain you have taken care of me. Please accept this 6 transmutation clear void pill, Xiao Yuan said. Junior brother, you absolutely cannot do this, the water and fire boy waved his hands repeatedly. Not accepting this would be disrespectful to me. Xiao Yuan forcefully stuffed the 6 transmutation clear void pill into the water and fire boy's hands before taking his leave. Although the water and fire boy had indeed treated him well before, Xiao Yuan placed greater importance on their future relationship. Human connections are like literature. Ah. This is truly surprising. The water and fire boy shook his head as he watched Xiao Yuan leave. At the same time he tagged Xiao Yuan with the label of worthy of deep friendship. Though he had not interacted much with Xiao Yuan, he could see that Xiao Yuan understood etiquette, knew how to advance and retreat, and his aptitude was not lacking. Now, having risen with the wind, he remained humble. In the future they must interact more. After returning to his dojo, Xiao Yuan began secluding himself in cultivation. He first took out the innate spiritual essence to begin refining it. In the primordial chaos the qualifications of living beings varied. There are distinctions such as acquired roots, innate roots, and chaos roots. It is said that those top-tier innate beings all possess chaos roots. Xiao Yuan could be considered to have middle-grade acquired roots. Qualities to some extent represent potential. There are rumors that without innate roots one cannot ascend to the realm of Deluo. Though the Deluo Golden Immortal Realm was still far from Xiao Yuan, he wanted to prepare ahead of time. Soon after Xiao Yuan entered seclusion, news of him being summoned by the three pure ones and receiving rewards quickly spread throughout Kunlun, causing quite a stir. The disciples all pounded their chests in frustration, wishing they could take Xiao Yuan's place. Some even began to imitate Xiao Yuan and started to pay respects to the three palaces. However, they were destined to have no results. Their desire for gain was too heavy and they did not have the same opportunities as Xiao Yuan. Of course, among these disciples there were also smart ones who realized that the three pure ones summoning Xiao Yuan was a warning. Soon some disciples returned the benefits given by the Eastern King in severed ties. Naturally there were also fools and some who pretended to be confused, unwilling to part with those good things. 100 years later. After completely refining the spiritual essence, Xiao Yuan emerged from his seclusion. During this brief time his cultivation did not progress significantly, but his roots improved by 2 levels, reaching the peak of acquired roots. It's time to go to the Taqing Palace. Xiao Yuan certainly did not forget about observing the Dan furnace at Taqing Palace, he also wanted to learn something there. Come in. As soon as Xiao Yuan arrived at the entrance of the Taqing Palace, the palace doors swung wide open and Laozi's voice rang out. I have met the Grand Master. Xiao Yuan stepped into the Taqing Palace and performed the customary greeting. You should know the purpose of my calling you here. From now on your duty will be to oversee the Dan furnace and monitor the fire. Here are the 108 techniques of fire control that I have compiled. You need to grasp them initially, Laozi said kindly, then snapped his fingers, sending a stream of spiritual light into Xiao Yuan's mind. Do not be fooled by how simple Laozi made it sound. The 108 techniques of fire control were personally created by Laozi. Not only could they be used to oversee the Dan furnace, but they also encompassed 108 extremely powerful fire control techniques. If they were put out in the world, even the Luo Golden Immortals would compete for them. To receive such benefits upon arriving at the Taqing Palace, Xiao Yuan was quite pleased. After that, Laozi did not concern himself with Xiao Yuan, allowing him to cultivate at his own pace. 500 years later the divine flames surrounding Xiao Yuan danced with the fire, conforming to his will. In just a moment he had demonstrated the 108 techniques of fire control one by one. Interesting, although this little guy's cultivation is low, his comprehension is quite impressive. He managed to grasp the 108 techniques of fire control in merely 500 years. Though Laozi had not been paying attention to Xiao Yuan, it was impossible for him to miss the happenings in the Taqing Palace. At that moment surprise appeared in Laozi's eyes. Although the 108 techniques of fire control were little tricks he devised, they were not so easily mastered. Laozi had actually prepared to give Xiao Yuan 2,000 years for practice as a minor test. If Xiao Yuan failed to master it, he would have to return from whence he came. Yet Xiao Yuan only took 500 years to initially grasp it, far exceeding his expectations. It seems you have initially mastered the 108 techniques of fire control. Besides controlling fire, you also need to understand some alchemical techniques. I have a medicinal compendium to pass on to you as well. Laozi appeared again and projected another beam of spiritual light. Xiao Yuan began to ponder the medicinal compendium. The path of alchemy is vast and profound. As the foremost alchemist of the primordial chaos, the compendium he compiled was naturally quite precious and also obscure. However, in the eyes of Xiao Yuan, who possessed the heavenly comprehension trait, none of this was a problem. Now Xiao Yuan felt extremely fortunate for choosing the heavenly comprehension trait. This trait is indeed a versatile tool applicable in all areas. Otherwise he might have missed out on this grand opportunity. Soon another 1,000 years passed. Xiao Yuan mastered the medicinal compendium, prompting Laozi to be once again astonished. This time Laozi had planned to give Xiao Yuan 5,000 years to familiarize himself with the compendium, but Xiao Yuan once again exceeded expectations. After completing Laozi's 2 tests, Xiao Yuan formally began his duties. Perhaps due to Xiao Yuan's outstanding performance, Laozi sometimes took the time to guide him on matters of alchemy and cultivation. As the saying goes, true transmission is a single phrase while false transmission is countless volumes. With a top-tier expert like Laozi guiding him, Xiao Yuan's alchemical skills and cultivation grew at an astonishing rate. After spending 5,000 years in the Taqing Palace, Xiao Yuan successfully broke into the midstage of the Xian immortal realm while also solidifying his foundation, providing substantial assistance for future cultivation. "Junior brother, I have something to discuss with you," the water and fire boy approached Xiao Yuan and said. Over the years their relationship had grown increasingly close. "Senior brother, please speak," Xiao Yuan replied. 1,000 years from now, the Eastern King and the Western Queen invite the mighty beings of the Primordial Chaos to gather in the Zifu Prefecture to discuss the Tao. I wonder if junior brother is interested in accompanying our master. If so, I can help arrange things for you," said the water and fire boy. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yuan immediately understood that the Eastern King was preparing to invite the top experts of the Primordial Chaos for a discussion consolidating power to establish the Immortal Court. This was a major event in the Primordial Chaos. Then a crisp voice sounded in Xiao Yuan's ear. The system prompt had appeared again after nearly 10,000 years. Ding! The Eastern King intends to invite top experts to the Purple Mansion State for a Tao discourse and to establish an immortal court. Please make your choice, host. Choice 1: go to the Purple Mansion State and receive the reward Conceal Qi and Dispel Mysteries gold trait. Choice 2: refuse to go to the Purple Mansion State and receive the reward Strength to Shake the Heavens gold trait. Conceal Qi and Dispel Mysteries gold. You possess a unique method of concealing your aura so much so that even experts several major realms above you cannot probe your true depth. Strength to Shake the Heavens gold. Your physical strength is immense, far surpassing those at the same cultivation level. As your power grows, your strength will become even greater, ultimately reaching a level that can shake the very heavens and earth. I choose 1. Xiao Yuan made his choice swiftly. The establishment of the Immortal Court by the Eastern King was a grand event in the primordial era, and many of its top experts would attend the discourse. If he could seize the opportunity to listen, it would be a great fortune that others could only dream of. Moreover, it was a chance to witness the grand spectacle and get an early look at the pinnacle powerhouses of the primordial era. Between the two traits that had appeared, Zhou Xian also leaned towards choosing Conceal Qi and Dispel Mysteries. This trait was the perfect choice for playing the shadow, allowing one to ambush even the strongest. Xiao Yuan felt that such traits were best accumulated in abundance. He loved playing the shadow. Then it'll trouble you, senior brother, Xiao Yuan said. Junior brother, I'll be honest with you, I don't have full confidence in this matter. At best I can put in a good word for you before the master. Waterfire Child laughed. It's fine, senior brother. Just do your best. Xiao Yuan knew well that Waterfire Child was only willing to help because of their good relationship. For anyone else, Waterfire Child probably wouldn't have bothered. This also highlighted the importance of connections. Before long, good news came from Waterfire Child. Tong Tian agreed to bring Xiao Yuan along when he went to the Purple Mansion State. This was also because Xiao Yuan had performed excellently and had even been praised by Laozi, which made Tong Tian regard him more highly. When Waterfire Child happened to mention it and spoke well of Xiao Yuan, Tong Tian agreed. Xiao Yuan was overjoyed. When the feast at the Purple Mansion State drew near, Xiao Yuan was summoned to the Shangqing Palace. Greetings, master. Greetings, senior brother Duobao and senior sister Jinling. Xiao Yuan stepped forward and bowed. At that time, Tong Tian had accepted 2 personal disciples. They were the famous Duobao Daoren and Jinling Xingmu of the Jie Sect. Duobao was a slightly plump young man in a golden robe, looking very amiable. As for Jinling Xingmu, she appeared much more stern, exuding a sharp aura all over, which was also related to her specialization in the way of the sword. The two responded to Xiao Yuan and greeted him. Tong Tian led his disciples and child attendants to meet his 2 elder brothers. Besides Tong Tian bringing his disciples, Yuanshi also had disciples following him. Xiao Yuan guessed that this was Nanji, the chief disciple of the Chan sect. Let's go. Laozi said. The Purple Mansion State was located on the Eastern Sea, one of the most supreme spiritual lands in the primordial era and the Tao field of the Eastern King and the Western Queen. Now the Eastern King intended to invite many experts to the Purple Mansion State for a Tao discourse to gather momentum. Thus the Purple Mansion State was extremely lively, attracting the vast majority of the primordial era's experts. In truth, the Eastern King's abilities alone were not enough to move so many experts. These top powerhouses were willing to attend purely out of respect for the Tao ancestor. After all, the Eastern King was personally appointed by the Tao ancestor as the leader of all male immortals. 3 Tao friends, please come in. Your presence truly honors our Purple Mansion State. Given the three pure one's strength and status, the Eastern King naturally came to welcome them personally. You flatter us, Dao friend. Laozi replied with a smile. After exchanging pleasantries, the three pure ones were led by the Eastern King to their seats. Their seats were to the right of the main seat, showing that the Eastern King had given them ample respect. As for disciples like Xiao Yuan, they dutifully waited behind their master. Although they had no seats, their position was at the very core. When the experts began their Dao discourse, this would be the place with the richest Dao resonance, a spot that others envied but could not obtain. As time passed, one mighty figure after another arrived as promised. Dijuan Tai Fushi Nuwa Hongyun Zenyuanzi Mingi. All were the top existences of the primordial era. Although Xiao Yuan had never seen these great figures before, he could still identify them by sensing their auras, for the auras of these powerhouses were highly distinctive. If not for his master's protection, Xiao Yuan would have been crushed by the sheer aura emanating from these experts. Besides these top powerhouses, many golden immortals of the great Luo realm also attended. As for those below the golden immortal of the great Luo realm, there were countless more. It was no exaggeration to say that the Purple Mansion state now gathered nearly 90% of the primordial era's experts. Since all Dao friends have arrived, let the Dao discourse begin. I shall start with a humble offering and give a lecture first. As the host, the Eastern King announced in a loud voice. Then the Eastern King began to expound on the Dao of extreme Yang. The Eastern King was the incarnation of the first wisp of innate extreme Yang energy in the primordial era, and he excelled in this path. In an instant, Dao resonance began to spread and diffuse. Many beings entered a state of enlightenment. Xiao Yuan naturally would not miss this opportunity. Although he did not cultivate the Dao of extreme Yang, all paths under heaven lead to the same destination. What the Eastern King taught could still give him great inspiration. After the Eastern King, many quasi-sage experts also took turns expounding the Dao. Daijin's Dao of ultimate Yang, Taiyi's Dao of divine flame, Nuwa's Dao of creation, Fux's Dao of the 8 trigrams, Laozi's Dao of the supreme ultimate. This Dao discourse lasted a full 5,000 years. Countless beings gained insights from this grand discourse of the mighty, and many took the opportunity to break through their cultivation bottlenecks. Oh! This little one has some skill. Fushi suddenly let out a soft exclamation, turning his gaze in a certain direction. The other powerhouses also noticed Fux's movement and followed his gaze. My disciple has gained a little something. Please don't mock me, fellow Taoists. Tong Tian cupped his hands and smiled. The object of these powerhouses' attention was none other than Xiao Yuan, who stood behind Tong Tian. Although the discourse had ended, Xiao Yuan was still enveloped in thick Dao resonance, with colorful rays of law swirling around him, appearing quite extraordinary. He was clearly in a deep state of enlightenment. Shanqing Dao friend, you are truly fortunate to have such an excellent disciple. We envy you. Indeed, to be able to condense a seed of great divine power at this cultivation level, his future is surely boundless. The many powerhouses chimed in with compliments. In the primordial era, there was a distinction between divine powers and great divine powers. Generally, only those who had reached the golden immortal of the great Luo realm were qualified to comprehend great divine powers. Now Xiao Yuan had condensed a seed of great divine power at the mystic immortal realm, enough to astonish these powerhouses. You flatter me, you flatter me. Tong Tian humbly declined, but the smile at the corner of his mouth could not be suppressed. At their level, what mattered was face. Xiao Yuan's comprehension of great divine power had brought Tong Tian considerable prestige before so many peers. Under the protection of Tongtian, Xiao Yuan soon awakened from his state of enlightenment. He felt that his cultivation had made significant progress, stepping into the late stage of the Xian immortal realm. In addition, he comprehended a great divine ability, the Honghuang shield. This divine ability can absorb the power of various laws, serving both to trap enemies and provide protection, even capable of absorbing other divine abilities. However, before Xiao Yuan could rejoice for long, he sensed the gazes of those powerful beings, which made his scalp tingle. Most of these mighty figures smiled kindly at him before turning their attention elsewhere. To them, Xiao Yuan's comprehension of the divine ability was merely a minor ripple. Seeing that the powerful beings no longer focused on him, Xiao Yuan let out a long sigh of relief. Dear fellow Taoists, I have invited you here not only to discuss the Tao but also to announce something. The East Wang Gong stood up and spoke. The many powerful beings present had already anticipated this. The East Wang Gong's gathering of so many people could not be for such simple reasons. I, the East Wang Gong, am the male immortal appointed by the Tao ancestor. In order to maintain the operation and order of the Honghuang, I wish to establish the Honghuang immortal court today, hoping the heavenly Tao witnesses it. The East Wang Gong proclaimed loudly. In the next moment auspicious clouds of 9 colors surged above the Zifu prefecture, blooming golden lotuses with purple chi flowing in from 30,000 miles presenting various extraordinary phenomena. Approved. The voice of the heavenly Tao echoed throughout the Honghuang. Immediately golden light suddenly appeared and a vast amount of merit descended, landing behind the East Huanggong and others, transforming into golden wheels of merit that radiated auspicious energy. At this moment the fortune above the Zifu prefecture transformed into a golden dragon emitting a resounding dragon roar. Boom! At that moment the entire East Sea also trembled. Next a celestial mountain emerged from the East Sea, radiant with celestial light and ethereal spiritual energy, which was one of the 3 immortal mountains overseas, Penglai. This was also one of the rewards given to the East Huanggong by the heavenly Tao. Seeing this, the East Huanggong was even more ambitious, believing that he was destined by heaven. Dear fellow Taoists, our immortal court has just been established and warmly invites all of you to join. As long as you are willing to join my immortal court, you will certainly not be treated poorly. The East Huanggong once again invited the powerful beings of the Honghuang. At this moment many of the powerful beings who had previously hesitated were somewhat tempted. After all, even the heavenly Tao recognized the immortal court, suggesting there were no traps. If they joined early they would likely gain more benefits. Dear East Huanggong, my brother and I have matters to attend to and will take our leave first. Di Jun stood up and said, and after finishing he left with Tai Yi. The East Huanggong's smile faded slightly upon seeing this. He understood that Di Jun like him possessed the emperor's fate. Between him and Di Jun there would inevitably be a competition. He needed to find an opportunity to eliminate these 2 brothers. After Di Jun and Tai Yi, other powerful beings like the 3 pure ones Nuwa and Fushi also successively took their leave. Under Tongshan's guidance, Xiao Yuan also returned to the Shangqing Palace. What do you think about the future development of the immortal court after our visit to the Zifu prefecture? Tong Tian looked at Xiao Yuan and the others, asking. Teacher, the East Huanggong occupies a legitimate position and the immortal court gathers the talents of the Honghuang. Its momentum is unstoppable and it will surely prosper. Duo Bao thought for a moment and then spoke. My thoughts are similar to senior brothers. If the immortal court gathers immense fortune and is at its zenith, capable of obtaining the position of hegemon in the Honghuang. Jin Ling added. Xiao Yuan, what do you think? Tong Tian then turned to Xiao Yuan. Teacher, I also believe that my senior brothers are correct. The immortal court will undoubtedly thrive. However, the situation in the Honghuang changes rapidly. Consider the ancient Dragon Phoenix and Qilin clans. They too flourished for a time but ultimately met a tragic end. Xiao Yuan pondered his words before speaking. Cunning. Tong Tian smiled upon hearing this, thinking that this young man was indeed very astute in his speech. He had not offended Duo Bao or Jin Ling while also expressing his own viewpoint. What your junior brother said is correct. The situation in the Honghuang is unpredictable and even we cannot foresee it. Do not be deceived by the grand appearance of the immortal court. In reality many top-tier powerful beings are dissatisfied with the East Huanggong. It won't be long before chaos arises in the Honghuang. You all reside in Kunlun, practice diligently and refrain from getting involved in the external disputes. Tong Tian gave his disciples some advice. The registered disciples could be disregarded but he could not neglect his direct disciples. The most reliable relationship in the Honghuang is that of master and disciple. If his direct disciples get caught up in conflict, Tong Tian would also be implicated. We obey the teacher's decree. Xiao Yuan and the others replied in unison. Since I have some free time now, feel free to bring up any questions you have regarding your cultivation and I will answer you. Tong Tian continued. Duo Bao and Jin Ling each raised their own doubts encountered during cultivation. After Duo Bao and Jin Ling finished asking their questions, Xiao Yuan then spoke up. After all, his 2 senior brothers were direct disciples while he was merely a registered disciple. Xiao Yuan had always been good at measuring his words. Teacher, I have one more question. How can I obtain merit? Xiao Yuan asked. Upon seeing the East Huanggong receive the merit from the heavenly Tao, his heart burned with enthusiasm. Heavenly Tao merit is a blessing bestowed by the heavenly Tao. If the merit reaches a certain level, even saints would not dare to harm you in the slightest. Furthermore, merit can also be used to enhance one's cultivation and aptitude. Even the top-tier powerful beings of the Honghuang strive to acquire it. Merit is granted by the heavenly Tao. You must do things beneficial to the Honghuang to attract the merit of the heavenly Tao. Tong Tian said slowly. There are many ways to acquire merit, such as preaching the Tao, eliminating karma, establishing a path in the mortal realm, slaying fierce beasts. All of these will grant merit. However, your current cultivation is still somewhat lacking, making it difficult to gain merit. Focus on your cultivation for now and seek merit later. Tong Tian explained the heavenly Tao merit in detail while also reminding Xiao Yuan not to pursue merit excessively but rather to focus his main attention on cultivation. Thank you teacher for your guidance. Xiao Yuan immediately responded. If you have any questions in the future you may also come to the Shangqing Palace to inquire, Tong Tian said. Hearing this Xiao Yuan was overjoyed. This was a privilege only given to direct disciples. Xiao Yuan suspected that his teacher was considering making him a direct disciple. Although both direct and registered disciples are considered disciples, there is a world of difference between them. Casual guidance qualifies one as a registered disciple while a direct disciple is constantly by the teacher's side receiving direct teachings and genuine methods. Another crucial point is that once one becomes a direct disciple they represent their teacher's will and face wherever they go. If he could become a direct disciple of Shangqing, not only would he be able to walk freely in the Honghuang, few would dare to provoke him. Moreover, since Tong Tian is bound to become a saint, being a direct disciple of a saint already places one at a status comparable to that of quasi-saints. Moreover, Xiao Yuan was not mistaken. Tong Tian indeed had the intention of taking him as a direct disciple. With extraordinary understanding, good manners, cleverness, and having saved his face several times. The only shortcoming was his low cultivation. Tong Tian planned to wait until Xiao Yuan's strength improved before bringing him under his wing. Xiao Yuan first asked for leave from the Taiqing Palace, preparing to return for secluded cultivation. He had not yet fully digested what he obtained in the Zifu Prefecture, and the divine ability seed of the Hunyuan shield also needed to continue growing. On Laozi's side he waved his hand in agreement. Xiao Yuan's latest seclusion lasted another 5 millennia. His cultivation base smoothly broke through to the pinnacle of mystic immortal, just one step away from entering the golden immortal realm. After emerging from seclusion, Red Mystic Daoist visited again, still trying to persuade Xiao Yuan to join the immortal court. After all, Xiao Yuan had made quite a splash in Zifu Prefecture, and it was clear to discerning eyes that Tong Tian held him in high regard. This time the terms offered by Dong Wengong were exceptionally generous, even promising Xiao Yuan a lower-grade innate spiritual root, the red fire parasol tree. In terms of value, a lower-grade innate spiritual root surpassed even a lower-grade innate spiritual treasure. Though Xiao Yuan was somewhat tempted by the root, he still declined Red Mystic Daoist's invitation. Simultaneously, Xiao Yuan grew increasingly convinced that Red Mystic Daoist had no fear of death. His own master and 2 uncles had already issued warnings, yet this fellow still dared to act against their will. Ah! The system didn't pop up this time. Watching Red Mystic Daoist leave, Xiao Yuan sighed with some regret. He had expected the system to present him with choices when Red Mystic Daoist came calling, but he was sorely disappointed. Afterwards, Xiao Yuan headed to the Grand Pure Palace to clock in for work. This peaceful life continued for about another 2 millennia. I am Dijuan. Today I established the Yao clan in the primordial world. All mountains, rivers, plants, birds, beasts, insects and fish shall be Yao. The Yao clan is established. A resonant voice suddenly echoed across the primordial world. Then streaks of flowing light scattered across the primordial land, and countless beings bathed in this radiance, gaining the ability to take form. These flowing lights were the imperial tidal essence condensed from the essence of the Zhou Tian starry array, possessing the power to aid beings in transformation. I Dijuan Taiyin Yuhua Fushi wish to establish the heavenly court in the primordial world, taking it upon ourselves to maintain order. May the heavenly Tao bear witness. After Dijuan established the Yao clan, 4 immensely powerful auras spread across the primordial world. It was Dijuan and the other 3 mighty beings establishing the heavenly court. This commotion naturally drew the attention of many powerful beings in the primordial world and caused tremors throughout the realm. It was clear to all that Dijuan and his group establishing the heavenly court was a direct challenge to the immortal court. This Dijuan has some skill managing to recruit fellow Taoists Fushi and Yuhua for a grand scheme. Though lacking orthodox legitimacy, he carved a new path by establishing the Yao clan to gather fortune. War between the immortal court and the heavenly court is inevitable if the peace of the primordial world is about to shatter. Many powerful beings buzzed with discussion over the establishment of the heavenly court. Some powerful beings threw their lot in with either the immortal court or the heavenly court, seeking the opportunity of the great Tao, while many others sealed their cultivation grounds and paid no heed to these conflicts. The 3 pure ones naturally belonged to the latter group. Xiao Yuan also cultivated methodically, ignoring external affairs. As long as he remained in the Kunlun Mountains there was no danger. Soon another 3 millennia passed. The conflict between the immortal court and the heavenly court had already begun, with both sides trading victories and defeats. Junior brother, the ancestor of the Fire Crow clan, seeks an audience. Will you see him? Just as Xiao Yuan was tending to the furnace in the Grand Pure Palace, the water fire boy delivered a message. Xiao Yuan frowned at the news. The ancestor of the Fire Crow clan. He was of the Fire Crow body. In the primordial world the Fire Crow clan was a major tribe and their ancestor was a being at the Great Luo Golden Immortal level. However, since Xiao Yuan had transmigrated he had always been alone and had never interacted with his so-called kin. In the end he decided to meet the ancestor. Regardless, blood ties were unbreakable and there was a karmic connection between him and the Fire Crow clan. Junior brother, I heard that the Fire Crow clan has grown close to those two on the Sun Star and has already joined the Heavenly Court. Their visit likely has an agenda. Be cautious, the Water Fire Boy warned. Xiao Yuan took the Water Fire Boy's words to heart. When he reached the outskirts of the Kunlun Mountains he saw an old man in a red robe radiating intense heat waiting there. With Xiao Yuan's perception this old man was at least a Tai Golden Immortal, possibly even a Great Luo level being. Xiao Yuan pays respects to the senior. Xiao Yuan bowed to the old man. Excellent. Truly worthy of being our clan's pride, your demeanor is indeed extraordinary. The old man stroked his long beard and chuckled, calling me senior creates distance. I am Liang, the ancestor of the Fire Crow clan. You may address me as ancestor. May I ask the purpose of ancestor's visit? Xiao Yuan asked directly. Our Fire Crow clan is now a direct lineage under the Heavenly Emperor blessed by His Majesty. I have come to urge you to take a post in the Heavenly Court. With your potential you will surely be valued by the Emperor, Liang said with a smile. Xiao Yuan understood immediately. If he guessed correctly, the so-called Heavenly Emperor was Dijuan, the Lord of the Heavenly Court. This fellow was likely playing the same game as Dong Wangong, trying to indirectly recruit his master and two uncles. Otherwise, with his meager strength, how could he attract the attention of such a mighty figure? Ding! You have received an invitation from the Heavenly Court. Please make a choice, host. Choice 1: reject the Heavenly Court's invitation. Reward void penetrating eyes gold trait. Choice 2: accept the Heavenly Court's invitation. Reward spirit thieving hand trait. Void penetrating eyes gold. Your eyes can perceive most mysteries of the primordial world, revealing the true nature of all things. Spirit thieving hand gold. You possess the most supreme thievery techniques. Success rate varies depending on the target's strength. I choose 1. Xiao Yuan made his choice without hesitation. Was the Immortal Court a sinking ship? Was the Heavenly Court any different? Both would ultimately fall. Moreover, Xiao Yuan was well aware that the repeated invitations from these two major powers were due to his connection to the three pure ones. His master and two uncles clearly had no intention of wading into this muddy water. If he got involved there would be no good outcome. Then a flash of golden light streaked into Xiao Yuan's brow. Instantly all manner of information about his surroundings appeared before his eyes. For instance, he could now see through the cultivation level of the Fire Crow ancestor Great Luo Golden Immortal Midstage. Ancestor, I have entered Kunlun to devote myself to cultivation, Xiao Yuan said tactfully. Since your mind is made up, so be it. Liang did not insist upon hearing Xiao Yuan's words. Instead he produced numerous spiritual treasures and placed them before Xiao Yuan. Ancestor, what is this? Xiao Yuan was startled by the sight of these treasures, suspecting that Liang, despite his words, was still trying to bribe him. Don't misunderstand. These are not from the Heavenly Court. They are resources from the clan to support your cultivation. After all, you are the pride of our Fire Crow clan, how could we neglect you? Liang waved his hand and spoke earnestly. I know you are devoted to the Tao. I only hope that if our Fire Crow clan ever faces a great crisis you will lend a hand within your power. The situation in the primordial world was ever-changing, no one knew who would ultimately prevail between the Immortal Court and the Heavenly Court. He was merely seeking an additional lifeline for the clan. Agreed. Seeing that Liang had put things so plainly and the request was not excessive, Xiao Yuan saw no reason to refuse. Moreover, the abundant spiritual treasures before him were precisely what he needed for his cultivation. Having joined the Supreme Pure Palace and gained Tongshan's favor, he already possessed the Dharma companions and place among the 4 necessities of cultivation. Only wealth, financial resources, required his own efforts. Having recently joined the Supreme Pure Palace, he was somewhat lacking in this area. With these items his cultivation speed could increase by several degrees. The Fire Crow ancestor did not linger outside Mount Kunlun. After handing the items to Xiao Yuan he departed. Xiao Yuan without much thought returned to the Shangqing Palace. The task of tending the furnace in the Shangqing Palace was quite leisurely and he occasionally took time to ponder the art of alchemy. Xiao Yuan felt that he could now refine a 4th-turn immortal pill. Unfortunately he lacked an alchemy furnace, so all his knowledge remained theoretical without practical application. When the opportunity arose he resolved to acquire a furnace to test his alchemical skills. During Xiao Yuan's secluded cultivation, the conflict between the Heavenly Court and the Immortal Court grew increasingly fierce. Even golden immortal paragon-level experts had fallen in this struggle. Another 10 millennia passed in the blink of an eye. The Immortal Court and the Heavenly Court reached a stalemate, and the chaos in the primordial wilderness subsided somewhat. Yet many powerful beings knew that both sides were gathering strength. This was the calm before the storm. Throughout this period, Xiao Yuan constantly sought a way to break through to the golden immortal realm. The leap from mystic immortal to golden immortal was a formidable threshold. Those who achieved golden immortal could forge an indestructible golden body and evade numerous calamities. Golden immortals were considered the backbone of the primordial wilderness, capable of ruling supreme in certain remote regions. Yet despite his extraordinary comprehension, Xiao Yuan remained stuck at this bottleneck. He needed a catalyst to break through. Recently his senior uncle had not been refining pills, so there was no furnace duty. Xiao Yuan continued his secluded cultivation in the dojo, hoping to shatter this barrier. "Junior brother Xiao Yuan, are you here?" Hearing a call, Xiao Yuan rose and went out, only to see an unexpected figure. Senior brother Duobao. The visitor was Duobao Daoist. Xiao Yuan could now clearly perceive Duobao's cultivation level, the pinnacle of Tai Golden Immortal. As the foremost disciple under Shangqing, his foundation was indeed profound, just one step away from the Deluo realm. Moreover, as a direct disciple of such a great power, even ordinary Deluo Golden Immortals might not match him. Xiao Yuan was somewhat puzzled, wondering what business the senior brother had with him. "The master says you've hit a bottleneck in your cultivation. Considering the turmoil in the primordial wilderness, he asked me to take you on a journey to gain experience." Duobao smiled. Now that he knew Xiao Yuan was the master's designated third direct disciple, he had grown much closer to him. At that moment the system's voice echoed in Xiao Yuan's mind. Ding! Duobao invites you to travel the primordial wilderness. Host, please make a choice. Choice 1: accept Duobao's invitation to journey and seek opportunities. Reward Fortune's Blessing Gold trait. Choice 2: refuse Duobao and continue secluded cultivation. Reward Aquatic Sovereign Gold trait. Fortune's Blessing Gold. You possess the most supreme fortune in the primordial wilderness. Even walking on the road you might sense the presence of a primordial spirit treasure. Aquatic Sovereign Gold. You are the master of water laws, the sovereign of waters with profound mastery in the path of water. Seeing the sudden system prompt, Xiao Yuan made his choice without much deliberation. I choose 1. Since it was his master's arrangement, there was no reason to refuse. Moreover, with a formidable guardian like Duobao, safety was not a concern. Once Xiao Yuan made his choice, the familiar golden light flashed. Yet this time, after the light entered his body, Xiao Yuan felt no change at all. Previously, after a trait entered his body, Xiao Yuan could sense a very distinct transformation. But the Fortune's Blessing trait seemed different from all the others. In the primordial wilderness, the doctrine of fortune was profoundly mysterious, unfathomable even to quasi-sages and saints. From Xiao Yuan's understanding, the Fortune's Blessing trait entering his body should enhance his luck. Then I'll leave it to you, senior brother, Xiao Yuan said. You're welcome. Duobao laughed heartily, and taking Xiao Yuan vanished from Kunlun. Junior brother, following me on this trip is your blessing. I, your senior brother, am a transformation of the primordial mutant treasure rat, extremely sensitive to the aura of all spiritual objects. It'll surely lead you to many treasures. Last time when they went to Zifu Prefecture, Tong Tian was with them and Duobao was reserved. Now alone with Xiao Yuan, he was like a bird released from a cage, his chatter flowing endlessly. Yet this showed that Duobao was easy to get along with. Not long after they left Kunlun, Xiao Yuan sensed a disturbance. A golden notification panel suddenly appeared before Xiao Yuan's eyes. Fortune's Blessing Gold. Blessed by fortune, follow the guidance of the heavenly Tao to a designated location and obtain a mid-grade primordial spiritual object. Spiritual objects in the primordial wilderness were also graded. They could be divided into post-heaven and pre-heaven categories, each further subdivided into 4 minor grades: low, mid, high and supreme. The primordial spiritual marrow that Tong Tian had rewarded Xiao Yuan with last time was a mid-grade pre-heaven spiritual object, quite precious. With the appearance of the golden panel, Xiao Yuan immediately felt a pull. Senior brother, let's go this way. I think I've sensed the aura of a primordial spiritual object, Xiao Yuan called out to Duobao. Duobao. A primordial spiritual object. He hadn't sensed anything. But since Xiao Yuan mentioned it, Duobao was willing to follow, as it was no trouble. Soon, guided by the aura, Xiao Yuan and Duobao arrived at a mist-filled valley. The moment they arrived, the mist began to dissipate, revealing a radiant spiritual light. It then transformed into a streak of light and flew into Xiao Yuan's hand. Mid-grade pre-heaven spiritual object, Gingjin Divine Copper. Duobao's eyes widened as he stared at the object in Xiao Yuan's hand. He had thought Xiao Yuan was mistaken, but there really was something. Moreover, spiritual objects and treasures were guarded by pre-heaven spiritual prohibitions. Before they arrived, the Genjin Divine Copper's prohibition hadn't opened. Even with his extraordinary talent, Duobao couldn't sense it through the barrier. Yet the moment they arrived, the prohibition opened. What was even more absurd was that the Genjin Divine Copper eagerly flew into Xiao Yuan's hand. Junior brother, this Genjin Divine Copper is excellent material for forging spiritual treasures. In skilled hands it could create a top-grade post-heaven spiritual treasure, Duobao said, suppressing his shock. It must be luck, just coincidence. Xiao Yuan stowed away the Genjin Divine Copper and continued on with Duobao. Senior brother, I've sensed another primordial spiritual object. Not long after, Xiao Yuan spoke again. Duobao followed behind him. This time Xiao Yuan obtained a low-grade pre-heaven spiritual object. Senior brother, I've sensed yet another. After Xiao Yuan had collected over a dozen primordial spiritual objects, Duobao was completely numb. Absurd, truly absurd. Every single time Xiao Yuan never came up empty-handed. Once could be luck. But over a dozen times. Remembering how he had boasted about leading Xiao Yuan to treasures when they left Kunlun, Duobao felt a flush of embarrassment. Duobao suddenly thought maybe he should just give his title of many treasures to Xiao Yuan. Junior brother, are you really the transformed Fire Crow? I haven't heard that the Fire Crow bloodline possesses treasure-seeking abilities. Duobao could no longer hold back and asked. Senior brother, I suppose I just have good luck. Xiao Yuan scratched his head. He didn't expect the attribute of fortune covering the top to be so impressive. Out in the world he could sense various innate spiritual items. Even he, the person involved, found it absurd. At the same time, Xiao Yuan was grateful that Duobao had come out with him this time. During the treasure-seeking process, innate spiritual items appeared and repeatedly attracted the envy of other beings. In fact, when a superior innate spiritual item emerged, it caused quite a stir, even drawing the attention of a Tai Golden Immortal. However, that Tai Golden Immortal was scared off by Duobao. Unfortunately, even after traveling through the primordial wilderness for thousands of years, Xiao Yuan and Duobao did not encounter any top-notch innate spiritual items, let alone innate spiritual treasures and roots. Xiao Yuan's realm barrier indeed showed signs of loosening. Traveling through the primordial wilderness was truly a good method. Fortune covering the top gold, you are favored by fortune, and if you go to the location indicated by the Tao, you may obtain a medium-grade innate spiritual treasure. At this moment the description of fortune covering the top refreshed again. This time even Xiao Yuan was startled. He actually found a trace of an innate spiritual treasure, and it was a medium-grade one. Senior brother, I sense the aura of a medium-grade innate spiritual treasure. Xiao Yuan said. Duobao. He was already tired of talking. Regarding Xiao Yuan's words, Duobao was now fully convinced. Innate spiritual items were one thing, but now even innate spiritual treasures had been detected. Was there still any logic in this? Which direction? Let's hurry over. The emergence of an innate spiritual treasure will definitely cause quite a commotion. Duobao said with a serious expression. This way. Xiao Yuan immediately pointed the direction. The two quickly headed towards the location indicated by the Tao. Just like before, as soon as Xiao Yuan arrived, the barrier sealing the innate spiritual treasure disappeared without a trace. In the next moment, a firelight shot into the sky. This area was immediately bathed in a layer of red mist, and a scorching aura spread outward with red lotus flowers blooming at that moment. Subsequently, a stream of red light dashed out and landed in front of Xiao Yuan. When the red mist enveloping the light dissipated, a small fire furnace was seen spinning in front of Xiao Yuan. Medium-grade innate spiritual treasure 9 Fire Red Dragon Furnace. Xiao Yuan once again experienced the miraculous nature of the fortune covering the top attribute. He was in need of a Dan furnace and unexpectedly encountered one. Friend ahead, innate spiritual treasures should be possessed by the virtuous. If you lack virtue and cannot hold on to it, quickly hand over the spiritual treasure and I may let you leave. Suddenly a very powerful aura swept towards Xiao Yuan's direction. As soon as this aura appeared, it almost pressed Xiao Yuan to the ground. Xiao Yuan was also greatly alarmed. The emergence of the 9 Fire Red Dragon Furnace actually attracted a Deluo Golden Immortal. This was not good. He hurriedly looked at Duobao. No problem, junior brother, just wait here. Senior brother will be back soon. Duobao laughed heartily a few times and transformed into a stream of light towards the direction of the Deluo Golden Immortal. Boom. In no time, waves of violent impacts accompanied by booming sounds came, and Xiao Yuan immediately summoned the Bagua diagram to protect himself. Spare my life. Not long after a voice begging for mercy came from the center of the disturbance followed by a piercing scream. Humph. What kind of trash dares to covet my junior brother's spiritual treasure? Duobao snorted and walked over slowly. Senior brother amazing. Xiao Yuan admired him sincerely. That was a Deluo golden immortal, yet his own senior brother killed him just like that. Seeing Xiao Yuan's adoring gaze, Duobao felt a sense of pride. Originally he came out intending to take his junior brother to reap some benefits, but his junior brother was too impressive, casually picking up various innate spiritual items. Now he had at least salvaged some of his senior brother's dignity. After Duobao killed that Deluo golden immortal, the covetous gazes disappeared entirely, no longer daring to provoke the duo. Senior brother, I seem to have caught the opportunity to break through. Xiao Yuan spoke again. The 9-fire red dragon furnace was extremely compatible with him, and once obtained it immediately stimulated his cultivation. Let's go find a secluded place to break through. Duobao took Xiao Yuan to a spirit-energy-rich valley and began to protect him. 1,000 years later. In the valley the resonances of the Tao permeated and red mist filled the sky. Xiao Yuan grasped the opportunity and officially stepped into the golden immortal realm. Thank you senior brother for your guidance. Xiao Yuan expressed his gratitude. Junior brother is too polite. Now that you have broken through, let's head back. Duobao smiled. Their purpose for coming out this time was to help Xiao Yuan seek the chance to break through. Now that Xiao Yuan had broken through, there was naturally no need to continue wandering outside. After all, the outside world was not very safe now. The two then returned to Kunlun. Xiao Yuan was grateful for Duobao's guidance and wanted to give him some innate spiritual items. However, Duobao refused to take them, so Xiao Yuan had to give up. Upon returning to his cultivation place, Xiao Yuan began to enter seclusion to consolidate his realm. 1,000 years later, Xiao Yuan emerged, his aura stable and foundation solid. During this time, Xiao Yuan not only consolidated his realm but also preliminarily refined the 9-fire red dragon furnace. The 9-fire red dragon furnace got its name from the 9 types of innate spiritual fire contained within. Samadhi, true fire, sun, spirit fire, nirvana, holy fire, crimson gold, divine fire, wood god fire, 6 Jia, divine fire, 6 Ding, divine fire, azure yuan, true flame, and void spirit flame. Although each of these 9 types of innate spiritual fire is not as strong as the sun divine flame that Xiao Yuan controls, their combined might is considerable. If the 9-fire red dragon furnace is summoned, it can call forth 9 fire dragons transformed from innate spiritual fire, displaying tremendous power. Besides being a weapon against enemies, it is also a good tool for alchemy, increasing the success rate of pill refining. With the Dan furnace at hand, let's try alchemy. Xiao Yuan took out the 9-fire red dragon furnace, deciding to attempt refining pills. His theoretical knowledge of alchemy was already rich, but he had never practiced it. Xiao Yuan planned to refine a batch of second-tier pills to test the waters. Even if he ruined them, he wouldn't mind. 100 years later, the alchemy was complete. The entire cultivation place of Xiao Yuan was filled with a faint pill fragrance. 8 pills successfully refined, not bad. Xiao Yuan looked at the 8 round pills in the furnace and nodded. The pills he refined this time were clear spirit pills, which have the effects of calming the mind and suppressing inner demons. In the primordial world the maximum is 9. Xiao Yuan was able to refine 8 pills on his first attempt with good quality, which showed that he had no major issues in alchemy. Xiao Yuan then opened the furnace to refine 4th-tier pills. This was theoretically the highest grade of pills he could refine. Xiao Yuan was refining the 4th-tier wonderful spirit pill, which is used for breaking through and is considered difficult to refine among 4th-tier pills. This time Xiao Yuan spent 1,000 years on alchemy. In the end the pills were completed, but he only managed to refine 5 and their quality was not very high. As expected, there is still some gap between theory and practice. Although this time's alchemy was not very ideal, Xiao Yuan gained a sufficient understanding of his current alchemy level and discovered many shortcomings in the process. In the days that followed, Xiao Yuan attempted to refine several more batches of pills, organizing all the issues he encountered in alchemy before heading to the Taiqing Palace. Grand Master, I have some questions about alchemy and wish to seek your guidance. Oh. Have you already begun attempting to refine pills on your own? Speak your mind. Although Lao Zi's figure did not appear, his voice resonated. Xiao Yuan then recounted all the problems he faced during pill refinement to Lao Zi. Lao Zi provided answers to Xiao Yuan while inwardly astonished. He had not expected that Xiao Yuan, after such a brief stay at the Taiqing Palace, could already successfully refine 4th-turn immortal pills. After all, he had merely imparted a single alchemy classic to Xiao Yuan and occasionally offered guidance on pill-related matters. Yet Xiao Yuan had achieved such remarkable progress in alchemy, a testament to his extraordinary talent. Thank you, Grand Master. Having resolved his doubts, Xiao Yuan promptly expressed his gratitude. His Grand Master was truly worthy of being the foremost alchemist of the primordial era. All of Xiao Yuan's questions were effortlessly resolved, and he received detailed explanations on numerous aspects of alchemy. Subsequently, Xiao Yuan took his leave from the Taiching Palace and returned to continue his alchemical pursuits. This lad indeed possesses no small talent in alchemy. Had he not been taken as a disciple by my third brother, I might have considered accepting him as a nominal student. Laozi murmured to himself. He had encountered countless beings, yet none surpassed Xiao Yuan in the Tao of alchemy, stirring within him a hint of fondness for talent. But that was all. Upon returning, Xiao Yuan integrated Laozi's teachings and began refining pills. After Laozi's guidance, his alchemical skills improved significantly. Now when refining fourth-turn pills, he could guarantee at least 7 pills per batch, all of superior quality. Thus another 10,000 years passed and Xiao Yuan began attempting to refine fifth-turn pills. Of course, Xiao Yuan did not slacken in his cultivation. Moreover, as he could now refine pills, the fruits of his labor were mostly consumed to fuel his cultivation. By now Xiao Yuan had advanced to the mid-stage of Golden Immortal. Junior brother Xiao Yuan, junior brother. The water fire boy hurried over, calling out loudly. Senior brother, what has happened? Lately, due to his alchemical work, Xiao Yuan had grown considerably more composed. The master summons you to the Shangqing Palace. I suspect he intends to accept you as a direct disciple. The water fire boy whispered, his eyes gleaming with joy, genuinely happy for Xiao Yuan. Xiao Yuan's heart trembled violently at these words. Though he had vaguely guessed his teacher's intention to take him as a direct disciple, after all, the master had previously sent the eldest senior brother to accompany him on a journey through the primordial land to seek a breakthrough opportunity, a clear sign of his regard. The actual arrival of this moment still stirred Xiao Yuan with excitement. Then, led by the water fire boy, he arrived at the Shangqing Palace. Disciple Xiao Yuan pays respects to the master. Xiao Yuan, gazing at Tong Tian seated cross-legged on the upper cushion, quickly performed a bow. Xiao Yuan, I wish to accept you as my third direct disciple. Are you willing? Tong Tian spoke, looking at Xiao Yuan. He had long intended to take Xiao Yuan as a direct disciple but had delayed due to Xiao Yuan's weak cultivation. Now that Xiao Yuan had reached the Golden Immortal stage, his strength was deemed acceptable. Furthermore, his elder brother had recently frequently praised Xiao Yuan's exceptional alchemical talent. Tong Tian was genuinely concerned that his brother might poach his disciple, so he decided to act first, securing Xiao Yuan as a direct disciple. Thank you for your deep affection, master. I am willing. Xiao Yuan immediately agreed. From today onward you shall be my third direct disciple. I bestow upon you the superior grade innate spiritual treasure, the Void Mirror. Tong Tian raised his hand and a streak of light descended before Xiao Yuan. The superior grade innate spiritual treasure, the Void Mirror, possessed the power to seal space and leap through dimensions. Whether used to trap enemies or for escape, it was an optimal choice. With the Void Mirror added to his 9-fire Red Dragon Furnace and Mo Abyss Sword, Xiao Yuan now possessed 3 innate spiritual treasures. Such wealth already surpassed that of many golden immortals. I shall also impart to you the Shangqing Divine Flame Transcendence Tao chapter. Tong Tian once again pointed, sending a flicker of divine light into Xiao Yuan's brow. Previously, Xiao Yuan had cultivated the Shangqing Arcane Wonder method gleaned from Tongshan's lectures. It was a common technique among the Shangqing sect, considered mid-grade in the primordial land. It could sustain cultivation up to the peak of Tai Golden Immortal. In contrast, the Shangqing Divine Flame Transcendence Tao chapter imparted by Tong Tian was a supreme technique tailored to Xiao Yuan's path, directly guiding him to the peak of Golden Immortal. As for cultivation beyond Golden Immortal, it could not be articulated through techniques and required personal enlightenment. Go now. Delve deeply into the cultivation technique. If you have any questions, you may come to me promptly. If I am absent or in seclusion, you may seek guidance from your senior brother and sister. Tong Tian said. Master, I have heard that your mastery of the Sword Tao and Array Tao are unparalleled in the primordial land. Might you offer me some guidance on arrays? Xiao Yuan did not leave immediately but spoke instead. A multitude of skills never weigh one down. Xiao Yuan believed that all his supplementary pursuits were necessary. Mastering the Sword Tao enhanced his offensive capabilities, and only by cultivating it could he fully unleash the power of the Sword Flight trait. Mastering the Alchemy Tao allowed him to refine pills for self-consumption, reducing the time needed for arduous cultivation. Mastering the Array Tao was a means of self-protection, an essential skill for traversing the primordial land. The applications of arrays surpassed even those of pills. Protecting oneself, trapping enemies, arranging a cultivation site, arrays were indispensable everywhere. None of these pursuits were superfluous. With the Heaven-Defying Comprehension trait he could master them all with time. Tong Tian was amused by this remark. You focus on the Heavenly Fire Dao as your main path, yet also dabble in the Sword Dao and Alchemy Dao. Now you wish to add the Array Dao to your repertoire. Even with your exceptional comprehension, spreading yourself too thin will only lead to indigestion. After all, one's energy is limited. However, since you have raised the request, teaching you a thing or two would not hurt. I shall bestow upon you an Array Classic. Tong Tian casually sent another beam of divine light into Xiao Yuan's brow. Thank you, Master, thank you, Master. Xiao Yuan expressed his gratitude repeatedly before leaving the Shangqing Palace. This acceptance as a direct disciple had brought a bountiful harvest. The spiritual treasure and technique were overt benefits, but the myriad hidden advantages were beyond count. Upon returning, Xiao Yuan entered seclusion once more. His first task was to switch cultivation techniques. This process alone consumed 3,000 years. After completing the transition, Xiao Yuan could clearly perceive that his foundation had become more solid and his internal spiritual power, both in quantity and quality, had increased more than fivefold compared to before. Such was the difference between ordinary techniques and supreme ones. He then began refining the void mirror, as this spiritual treasure along with the sword flight trait would be his primary means of escape in the future. Xiao Yuan believed that if he fled at full speed, even a Tai Golden Immortal would be unable to catch him. Next he commenced studying the Array Classic. Though Tong Tian had worried that Xiao Yuan might bite off more than he could chew and did not wish him to expend too much energy on arrays, the Array Classic he imparted was exceptionally thorough in its exposition of various formations. With this Array Classic in hand, if one were to master it completely, it would be no exaggeration to say that breaking 99% of the arrays in the primordial land would be effortless. In the time that followed, Xiao Yuan once again delved into the array canon passed down by Tong Tian. The profundity of the Tao of formations was in no way inferior to that of the Tao of alchemy. Even with the aid of the Heaven-Defying Comprehension trait, Xiao Yuan spent nearly a millennium just to gain entry. Once he had crossed the threshold, subsequent study became somewhat easier. 5,000 years later, Xiao Yuan emerged from seclusion, having achieved considerable mastery in the Tao of formations. He then proceeded to the Shangqing Palace. Over the years he had accumulated various doubts regarding cultivation and formations, which he wished to consult with his master. Happening upon Tong Tian at leisure, he soon had all his cultivation questions resolved. When Xiao Yuan began to inquire about the Tao of formations, Tong Tian was suddenly taken aback. He had only passed the array canon to Xiao Yuan not long ago. Yet this lad had already gained some insight. Tong Tian, with his discerning eye, could perceive the depth of Xiao Yuan's questions. Only one who possessed genuine understanding of formations could pose such queries. Xiao Yuan, your comprehension is indeed extraordinary, but do not let it lead to arrogance. The primordial wilderness is vast, teeming with heroes. Always harbor a reverent heart. After answering Xiao Yuan's questions on formations, Tong Tian offered these words of guidance. He had half a mind to urge Xiao Yuan to focus and cease dabbling in so many disciplines. Yet seeing Xiao Yuan's formidable comprehension, that he achieved results in whatever he learned, he could not bear to dampen his enthusiasm. Of course, the primary reason was that Tong Tian had noticed Xiao Yuan's cultivation had not lagged despite his diverse pursuits. Thus he let Xiao Yuan follow his own path. Master, I shall remember. Xiao Yuan nodded in assent. As a transmigrator, he knew full well the perils of the primordial wilderness and the dreadfulness of the catastrophes. He was more than eager to develop in obscurity, let alone dare to be arrogant or complacent. After taking leave of Tongtian, Xiao Yuan departed from the Shangqing Palace. He cast a glance toward the direction of the Yuqing Palace. The three pure ones of Kunlun, he had already forged ties with Taiqing and Shangqing, learning the Tao of alchemy and the Tao of formations. Only the Tao of artifacts taught by the Yuqing Palace remained beyond his grasp. Xiao Yuan knew that the three pure ones would eventually part ways, and when that time came, seeking tutelage from his two senior uncles would become exceedingly difficult. However, Yuanshi had never shown any inclination to be close to Xiao Yuan. Xiao Yuan also harbored some fear of his second senior uncle. Ding. The host has conceived the desire to study at the Yuqing Palace. Please make a choice. Choice 1: shrink back and not go to the Yushu Palace to seek knowledge. Reward essence of the wood gold trait. Choice 2: go to the Yushu Palace to seek knowledge. Reward mastery of artifacts gold trait. Essence of the wood gold. You possess an extremely strong affinity with all spiritual plants of the primordial wilderness. In your presence they grow even better. Mastery of artifacts gold. You have unparalleled comprehension and practical ability in the Tao of artifacts. You are born for artifact refinement. I choose 2. After a moment of hesitation, Xiao Yuan made his decision. First, he could not bear to miss this opportunity. Once the three pure ones parted ways, obtaining the artifact Dao inheritance from his second senior uncle would be 1,000 times more difficult than now. If he went now, even if his second senior uncle was unwilling to impart it, he would only lose a bit of face. Second, it was due to the trait offered in this choice. In Xiao Yuan's view, the mastery of artifacts trait was far more practical than the essence of the wood trait. Therefore Xiao Yuan decided to give it a try. Xiao Yuan was a man of action and immediately headed to the Yuqing Palace. Disciple Xiao Yuan pays respects to second senior uncle and humbly requests the transmission of the artifact refinement methods. Soon after, a beam of spiritual light shot out from the Yuqing Palace and plunged into Xiao Yuan's brow. I grant you the artifact cannon. Yuanxi's cold clear voice reached Xiao Yuan's ears, showing no intention of further communication. The saying that the three pure ones were one family was not empty talk. As a direct disciple of Shangqing, Yuanshi was willing to grant this much face, and he also held a fairly favorable impression of Xiao Yuan. However, if Xiao Yuan sought to overstep and ask Yuanshi for guidance on artifact refinement, Yuanshi would not consent. Bestowing the artifact cannon was already the extent of his goodwill. Many thanks, second senior uncle. Xiao Yuan, elated to receive the artifact cannon, bowed once more toward the Yuqing Palace. Though Yuanxi's attitude was aloof, he was not greedy and silently acknowledged this debt. If he ever truly came to blows with disciples of the Chan sect, he would be sure to go easy on them. Upon returning to his cultivation site, Xiao Yuan began to study the artifact cannon bestowed by Yuanshi. In truth, his main aim was to test the capabilities of his newly acquired trait. After some experimentation, Xiao Yuan discovered that with the aid of the mastery of artifacts trait, his comprehension of the artifact cannon progressed at an astonishing speed. It took him only 100 years to gain entry into the artifact cannon. This was 10 times faster than his entry into the alchemy cannon or the array cannon. It was his first experience of the sheer power of a specialized trait. Xiao Yuan recalled that during the first instance of trait selection there had been a specialized alchemy trait, Alchemy Grandmaster. He wondered if he would ever have the chance to obtain it again. There was also a specialized trait for the Tao of formations which had yet to appear. Xiao Yuan did not dwell on it. These traits were immensely powerful and he would strive to acquire them all when the opportunity arose. Time passed in a flash, another 10,000 years gone. Xiao Yuan continued his cultivation methodically, occasionally visiting the Taiqing Palace to tend to Laozi's furnace and seek advice on alchemy. In his leisure he also sought out Duo Bao and Jinling to strengthen their bonds. Both Duo Bao and Jinling harbored protective affection for their junior brother Xiao Yuan and treated him with great care. Sometimes Xiao Yuan would also consult his senior brother and sister on cultivation matters. During this period Xiao Yuan frequently noticed powerful beings entering Mount Kunlun. From the Water Fire Boy he learned that these were experts from the Immortal Court or the Heavenly Court, come to invite the three pure ones to join them, but all had been refused. Senior brother, what is the current situation in the primordial wilderness? Xiao Yuan asked the Water Fire Boy, who being close to their master was the most well-informed. The conflict between the Immortal Court and the Heavenly Court has grown increasingly fierce, even quasi-sage level experts have entered the fray. Speaking of which, the Immortal Court brought trouble upon itself by provoking the Wu clan. As a result, the 12 ancestral witches of the Wu clan journeyed together to Penglai. They gave Dongwangong such a beating that he dared not even show his face. I heard that Penglai Immortal Island nearly collapsed and the Immortal Court suffered grievous losses, said the Water Fire Boy. Xiao Yuan. So the Wu clan had also played a part in the fall of the Immortal Court. Who would have thought that the Wu and Yao clans, who would later fight to the death, could ever join forces? I believe the Heavenly Court will seize this opportunity to beat a drowning dog. The Immortal Court is done for. As far as I know, the Heavenly Court has already dispatched troops to Penglai, the Water Fire Boy said with a sigh. When the Immortal Court was first established, what a grand spectacle it was. Powerful beings from all corners gathered to attend the celebratory feast. Its fortune was like a dragon, thriving and prosperous. Moreover, the Immortal Court held the title of orthodoxy, backed by the Tao ancestor and blessed by the heavenly Tao. Many beings of the primordial wilderness believed the Immortal Court would endure forever and become a hegemon of the wilds. Yet in its struggle with the Heavenly Court it had fallen to such a state. How could it not evoke sighs of regret? Just as Xiao Yuan and the Water Fire Boy were conversing, a violent tremor suddenly shook the primordial wilderness. Immediately after, a roar filled with fury resounded. Diju, and I am the chief of male immortals appointed by the Tao ancestor himself. How dare you slay me? Do you not fear the Tao ancestors' reckoning when the Xiao Palace convenes again? Undoubtedly the war between the Heavenly Court and the Immortal Court had reached its final critical moment, and the Heavenly Court had achieved an overwhelming victory. Dong Wanggong, since establishing the immortal court you have acted against the way tyrannical and ruthless, you deserve death. No. Accompanied by a piercing scream, blood rain fell across the primordial wilderness. A quasi-saint had already touched the threshold of the Tao, harmonizing with heaven and earth. When a quasi-saint perishes, heaven and earth mourn together. I never imagined Dijuan would actually dare to kill Dong Wanggong. The water fire boy said with some surprise. Senior brother, if he hadn't killed Dong Wanggong he would be foolish. If it dragged on until the third lecture at Xiao Palace and Dong Wanggong lodged a complaint with the Tao ancestor, the consequences would be dire. Now that Dong Wanggong is dead, the Tao ancestor can at most hold the heavenly court accountable. Xiao Yuan smiled. What you say is reasonable, junior brother. The water fire boy nodded. After chatting for a while, Xiao Yuan returned to his dojo to go into seclusion. Dong Wanggong's death served as a stark warning for Xiao Yuan. Without achieving sainthood, one was ultimately but an ant unable to escape the chessboard. Dong Wanggong after all was a quasi-saint, the chief of male immortals appointed by the Tao ancestor himself, yet in the end he died just like that. Only by attaining sainthood or achieving Honghuang could one transform from a chess piece into a player. Thus he must cultivate even more diligently. Time flew by. 10,000 years after the fall of the immortal court, a resonant and solemn bell toll echoed in the ears of all living beings in the primordial wilderness. Numerous powerhouses of the primordial wilderness, as if sensing something, rushed beyond its borders. Even the three pure ones, after giving a few instructions, left Kunlun together. Ding! The Xiao Palace has opened. Please make a choice, host. Choice 1, go into seclusion and ignore worldly affairs. Reward Wu God Bloodline Gold trait. Choice 2, travel alone through the primordial wilderness. Reward Sky Swallowing Earth Devouring Gold trait. Wu God Bloodline Gold, you are a descendant of Pangu, the 13th ancestral witch of the Wu tribe. If you go to the Wu tribe to claim kinship, you will receive the warmest welcome. Sky Swallowing Earth Devouring Gold, you possess an exceedingly powerful devouring ability capable of consuming anything. Anything you devour, you can extract its essence to fuel your own advancement. The system notification sounded again. When he saw the two choice traits that appeared, Xiao Yuan was stunned for a moment. The Wu God Bloodline trait could be described as extremely formidable. Equipping it would grant him the Pangu bloodline and make him the 13th ancestral witch. Not only would it bestow immense talent and aptitude, but it would also earn him the protection of the Wu tribe. However, Xiao Yuan knew the fate of the Wu tribe. Because of their violent nature and disregard for the laws of heaven and earth, the Wu tribe was rejected by the universe and destined for extinction. Joining the Wu tribe now to become the so-called 13th ancestral witch, how was that any different from actively seeking death? As for the sky-swallowing earth-devouring trait, it had appeared once before. It was one of the traits Xiao Yuan desperately desired, allowing him to rapidly enhance his cultivation by devouring various spiritual objects. Moreover, with the Xiao Palace opening, nearly 90% of the powerhouses in the primordial wilderness had already left. The safety factor had greatly increased. Coincidentally, his stock of cultivation resources was nearly depleted, so it was time to go on a procurement spree in the primordial wilderness. Even if the system hadn't popped up, Xiao Yuan had already planned to take a stroll through the primordial wilderness. The choice was obvious. I choose option 2. As Xiao Yuan made his decision, another beam of golden light flew into his brow. Immediately after, Xiao Yuan felt an intense hunger. He casually took out a fourth turn pill and swallowed it. In an instant, the pill that entered his abdomen transformed into a warm current flowing through his limbs and bones. Xiao Yuan could clearly sense a noticeable improvement in his cultivation. What delighted him the most was his bone constitution had also slightly improved. It must be known that Xiao Yuan's only shortcoming at present was his bone constitution. If he could elevate his bone constitution to the innate level, his cultivation speed would increase several-fold. However, the pills and spiritual objects on Xiao Yuan were clearly insufficient to meet the requirements for advancing to an innate bone constitution. He had to go out and find more innate spiritual objects. Before leaving Kunlun, Xiao Yuan restrained his aura to the level of a mystic immortal early stage. With the Conceal Breath and Dispel Mystery trait, even an ordinary golden immortal might not be able to see through Xiao Yuan's true strength. If some fool came to rob him of his spiritual objects, he could then reveal his golden immortal cultivation and deliver a thunderous strike. What a pleasant surprise that would be. After making preparations, Xiao Yuan left Kunlun Mountain. This time he intended to journey to the Eastern Sea. Since the Jie Sect would later relocate there, he wanted to familiarize himself with the environment in advance. After Xiao Yuan left Kunlun, the overwhelming fortune trait soon reacted, guiding him to the location of an innate spiritual object. 1,000 years later, Xiao Yuan arrived at the Eastern Sea. If not for searching for innate spiritual objects along the way, he could have traveled even faster. During this millennium, Xiao Yuan had reaped abundant rewards. He obtained 9 innate spiritual objects, including one of the highest quality. Of course, during the process of collecting these objects, Xiao Yuan also encountered ambushes. However, all his assailants were killed in retaliation. Once he encountered a Tai Golden Immortal, he snatched the object and fled immediately. The Tai Golden Immortal chased him nearly to the point of exhaustion but failed to catch him. First, find a place to refine the collected spiritual objects. They should be enough to elevate my bone constitution to the innate level. Xiao Yuan murmured, then found a spiritual island. This island was originally occupied by a late-stage mystic immortal vermilion flame serpent. After Xiao Yuan arrived, the serpent naturally yielded the place. Then Xiao Yuan set up a formation on the small island. These formation flags were all refined by Xiao Yuan in his spare time. With the formation strength, even a Tai Golden Immortal powerhouse would need considerable time to break through. I eat. Xiao Yuan took out the spiritual objects and stuffed them into his mouth. Whether it was divine copper or some kind of wood, he accepted everything without exception. Once swallowed, all the spiritual objects instantly transformed into the purest energy. This energy not only enhanced Xiao Yuan's cultivation but also improved his bone constitution. When Xiao Yuan finished refining the last spiritual object, his body was immediately enveloped in a ball of flame. Screech. In the next moment, Xiao Yuan transformed into his fire crow original form, flapped his wings and let out a high-pitched cry. At the same time, all his feathers seemed to turn into burning flames. The bloodline origin of the Fire Crow clan was not the innate being three-legged golden crow but the chaotic fiend god ancient Fire Crow who mastered the path of heavenly fire. Xiao Yuan's bloodline transformation this time naturally did not reach the level of the ancient Fire Crow but rather an intermediate stage, the heavenly Fire Crow. Most of the powerhouses of the Fire Crow clan were at this level. The Fire Crow clan ancestor Lai Yang, who had visited Xiao Yuan last time, was a heavenly Fire Crow. Moreover, he was very likely a heavenly Fire Crow with a superior innate bone constitution. As for Xiao Yuan, his current bone constitution was at the lower innate level. In comparison, he was still slightly inferior. However, Xiao Yuan was confident he could catch up. This time Xiao Yuan's seclusion consumed nearly 500 years. When he emerged once more, his cultivation had already broken through to the late golden immortal stage. The sermons at Zixiao Palace spanned 3,000 years and half has already passed. Xiao Yuan's primary purpose for this outing was to gather spiritual treasures to aid his cultivation. However, to enhance his innate talent, he had nearly exhausted all the spiritual treasures he had collected. For the remaining 1,500 years he planned to gather more. Before that, he intended to visit the Dragon Clan first. Xiao Yuan sought a sea chart of the Eastern Sea from them. The Eastern Sea was vast and fraught with dangers. Having a chart at hand would make things far more convenient. Come here. I have occupied your dojo for cultivation, which is a bond of fate between us. Do you have any wish? Xiao Yuan beckoned and a crimson serpent slithered over slowly. It was the original master of this spirit island, the Crimson Flame Mystic Serpent. During Xiao Yuan's seclusion, the creature had obediently stood guard for him. In the primordial wilderness, fate was paramount. Xiao Yuan's choice of this island and his encounter with the serpent was a matter of destiny. Of course, Xiao Yuan also took a liking to the serpent, so he allowed it to voice its own desire. Otherwise, he could have simply tossed it a random reward to send it away. Senior, I wish to follow by your side. The serpent whispered. I am in need of an attendant. Are you willing? Xiao Yuan asked. After all, as a golden immortal and the third personal disciple of Shangqing, having an attendant was only fitting. More importantly, Xiao Yuan cultivated too many arts simultaneously, leaving him overwhelmed with trivial matters. Taking on an attendant would ease his burden. Willing. Qi Yan pays respects to the great master. The serpent quickly bowed. Xiao Yuan flicked his finger and a streak of crimson spiritual light shot into the serpent's brow. The serpent shuddered lightly and transformed into a delicate child in a red robe as fair as jade. Thank you, master, for aiding my transformation. The crimson flame child expressed his gratitude joyfully. His original bloodline was impure, and despite reaching the mystic immortal stage, he couldn't even take human form. The crimson light Xiao Yuan had emitted reshaped the child's body and purified his bloodline. Xiao Yuan was also pleased with the child's new appearance. In his view, attendants and mounts were the standard accoutrements of enlightened immortals. Moreover, many immortals kept pairs of attendants, one male and one female. For instance, the Dao ancestor Honghuang had two attendants, Haotian and Yao Qi. Xiao Yuan was in no hurry for such arrangements, he would wait until he encountered suitable ones. Let's go. Accompany your master to the Eastern Sea Dragon Palace. Xiao Yuan laughed heartily and set off with the Crimson Flame Child for the Dragon Palace. Though the Dragon Clan, once a hegemon of the primordial wilderness, had declined, they still retained some depth. A lean camel is still bigger than a horse. The entire Eastern Sea Dragon Palace was built with resplendent grandeur, dazzling in its opulence. No wonder people said the Dragon Clan hoarded the wealth of the four seas if there was truth to it. Who goes there? State your name. Before Xiao Yuan could approach the palace, shrimp soldiers and crab generals blocked his path. I am Xiao Yuan, a humble Taoist, and I wish to visit the Eastern Sea Dragon King. Xiao Yuan spoke politely. Please wait a moment, Taoist. Seeing his extraordinary bearing and his direct request to see the Dragon King, the soldiers hurried to report. Your Majesty, a Taoist named Xiao Yuan is outside and wishes to see you. The shrimp soldier announced upon entering. Xiao Yuan. Never heard of him. Am I the Dragon King? Someone, just anyone can see. Send him away at once. Honghuang, the Eastern Sea Dragon King, waved his sleeve impatiently. Even in decline, the Dragon Clan was a major power in the primordial wilderness and had its dignity. Our king doesn't know you. Leave now and go back to where you came from. The shrimp soldier returned and spoke to Xiao Yuan with irritation. He had assumed Xiao Yuan was a friend of the Dragon King, only for it to be a misunderstanding. Fortunately, the king hadn't blamed him or he'd be in deep trouble. Xiao Yuan sighed helplessly and raised his voice outside the palace. Xiao Yuan, personal disciple of Shangqing of Mount Kunlun, requests an audience with the Eastern Sea Dragon King. I ask for a meeting. Ah. He had wanted to keep a low profile, but it seemed impossible. He had to come clean. He was the disciple of a great power. Refusing to see him was a slight to his master. So you are the esteemed disciple of Senior Shangqing. Please come in. As soon as Xiao Yuan finished speaking, Honghuang hurried out, his face beaming with warmth. In all the primordial wilderness, who didn't know the names of the three pure ones? A personal disciple of Shangqing was worthy of the Dragon Clan's highest ceremonial welcome. Indeed. Everywhere one's background mattered. If Xiao Yuan were merely a wandering cultivator, he wouldn't even have been able to enter the Eastern Sea Dragon Palace, let alone borrow a sea chart. Please take the seat of honor, fellow Taoist. Honghuang took Xiao Yuan's hand and led him into the palace. He then brought out fine wines and summoned many beautiful sea maidens to play music and dance, creating a lively atmosphere. Honghuang didn't worry that Xiao Yuan might be an impostor. In this primordial wilderness, impersonating a great power's disciple was a sure way to court death. Dragon King, I have come to borrow the sea chart of the Eastern Sea. Xiao Yuan said. A sea chart? No problem. Prime Minister Tortoise quickly fetched the charts of all four seas compiled by our clan. Honghuang promptly gave the order. Not only did he grant Xiao Yuan's request, but he even exceeded it. Soon the charts of all four seas were presented before Xiao Yuan. May I ask, what do you intend to do with these charts? Honghuang stroked his long beard and inquired. To be honest, I wish to travel the Eastern Sea and search for some primordial spiritual treasures to aid my cultivation. Xiao Yuan naturally wouldn't reveal that the Jie Sect would later settle in the Eastern Sea and that he was scouting ahead. Instead, he fabricated an excuse about seeking spiritual treasures. As a disciple of Shangqing, do you lack spiritual treasures for cultivation? Honghuang asked in surprise. You may not know, Dragon King, but my master always encourages us to be self-reliant. Besides, my cultivation requires far more resources than ordinary people. Xiao Yuan smiled. He wasn't lying. Xiao Yuan practiced several paths simultaneously, leading to enormous consumption. Now, with the addition of the devouring heaven and earth trade, as long as he had enough spiritual treasures, he could continuously improve. Naturally, the more primordial spiritual treasures, the better. I see. Honghuang's face lit up with sudden understanding and a sharp glint flashed in his eyes. Fellow Taoist, would you be willing to accept patronage from our Dragon Clan? Patronage from the Dragon Clan? Xiao Yuan frowned. Indeed. Our clan funds powerful individuals. Ordinarily you need not do anything. But should the Dragon Clan need assistance one day, you would offer help within your power. Honghuang smiled, looking at Xiao Yuan with great anticipation. The three clans of the Dragon Han era had suffered severe setbacks after the Dragon Han calamity. Among them, the Dragon Clan was the most prosperous and wealthy, and for good reason. They excelled at networking. The Dragon Clan had amassed immense wealth, using it to forge ties with various powerhouses, thereby securing their current prestige and standing. However, the Dragon Clan had yet to establish connections with quasi-level beings. After all, during the Dragonhan calamity the three clans had wreaked havoc across the primordial wilderness, incurring great karmic sin, and the Dragon clan still bore the weight of this heavy burden. Moreover, those quasi-sage powerhouses couldn't be swayed by just anything. Having finally encountered Xiao Yuan, a personal disciple of a quasi-sage, Ao Guang naturally wanted to win him over. Daoist friend, this matter is beyond my authority to decide. I must return and consult my master before making any plans. Xiao Yuan quickly grasped Ao Guang's intent. Accepting the Dragon clan's patronage would make him a guest elder, binding him to their karmic ties. He indeed yearned for more primordial spiritual objects to aid his cultivation. Even with the aid of the fortune's favor trait, seeking spiritual objects remained a laborious task. He also wished to foster goodwill with the Dragon clan. Yet Xiao Yuan knew that Ao Guang's true interest lay in his master. He dared not act rashly. To displease his master would be to lose the watermelon while grasping at sesame seeds. Of course. Though Xiao Yuan did not immediately consent, hope flickered in Ao Guang's heart. After exchanging pleasantries, Xiao Yuan departed from the East Sea Dragon Palace. Unfurling the sea chart, he steered clear of the marked danger zones and began his travels across the Eastern Sea. Another millennium slipped by. Xiao Yuan's harvest was bountiful. He had acquired 11 more primordial spiritual objects. Regrettably, fortune did not favor him with a primordial spiritual root or treasure this time. Yet it was only natural. If such treasures were so easily found, the primordial world would be overflowing with them. Sensing the impending return of the primordial world's mighty figures at the end of the 3,000-year period, Xiao Yuan wasted no time and journeyed back to Mount Kunlun. Upon his return, Xiao Yuan settled Qi Yan, instructing him in the rules and taboos of Kunlun. The quick-witted lad soon adapted. Qi Yan grew adept at handling Xiao Yuan's miscellaneous affairs, saving him considerable trouble. Boom! As Xiao Yuan was in seclusion, a thunderclap resounded across the primordial world, followed by a rain of blood. A dense mournful aura filled the heavens and earth. The myriad beings of the primordial world were astounded. Such a phenomenon had occurred once before, when the Eastern Prince was slain by Di Jun. The recurrence signaled a grim truth: another quasi-sage had fallen. For most denizens of the primordial world, quasi-sages were beings beyond reach, yet now another had been extinguished. Xiao Yuan come to the Grand Pure Palace. As Xiao Yuan stood dazed, his master's voice reached his ears. Realizing his master had returned from the Zixiao Palace, he hastened to the Grand Pure Palace. Greetings, master. Upon arrival, Duo Bao and Jinling were already present. It seems you have not slackened in your cultivation during my absence. Tong Tian smiled at his three direct disciples. His keen eyes discerned their progress, especially Xiao Yuan's, who had delved into numerous disciplines. Xiao Yuan had taken on too many paths. His second elder brother had mentioned that the boy had even sought the artifact cannon from the Jade Pure Palace. Fortunately, his cultivation had not suffered, or he would have learned a harsh lesson. Master, the blood rain, has another quasi-sage fallen? Duo Bao inquired. Indeed. The Red Cloud Daoist was ambushed and has perished. Tong Tian sighed. Xiao Yuan's heart tightened. His earlier suspicion that the fallen was Red Cloud proved correct. Xiao Yuan deemed Red Cloud Daoist the greatest fool of the primordial world. At the opening of the Zixiao Palace, Red Cloud had offended Kunpeng over a cushion. After the third lecture, Red Cloud obtained the primordial purple chi while Kunpeng gained nothing. Nursing his grudge, Kunpeng allied with Mingi Di Jun and Tai Yi to ambush and slay Red Cloud. Had he not been so benevolent, none of this would have happened and he would not have met his end. If not a fool, then who was? If you have any questions regarding cultivation, speak now and I shall enlighten you. Tong Tian clearly wished to drop the subject. Duo Bao and the others did not press further and instead raised their cultivation queries, which Tong Tian addressed in detail. Master, I recently visited the Dragon clan. Xiao Yuan took the opportunity to recount the matter. It is a trivial affair. Handle it as you see fit. Tong Tian waved his hand dismissively. Xiao Yuan understood that his master had given his tacit approval. Returning to his abode, he sent a reply to Ao Guang. Overjoyed, Ao Guang personally visited Mount Kunlun. Daoist friend Xiao Yuan, these are the spiritual objects promised by my clan. After a brief exchange, Ao Guang presented the offerings. Xiao Yuan was taken aback by the Dragon clan's generosity. The collection included 10 primordial spiritual objects and 100 post-heavenly spiritual objects, a bounty enough to stir even a great Luo Golden Immortal. And this was to be a recurring tribute each Kulpa. Is this arrangement acceptable? Ao Guang asked, a hint of anxiety in his voice. It is more than sufficient, Xiao Yuan replied. Excellent. Ao Guang breathed a sigh of relief. After more pleasantries he took his leave content. Xiao Yuan also asked Ao Guang to keep an eye out for spiritual lands and islands in the Eastern Sea. With the third lecture at the Xiao Palace concluded, the separation of the three pure ones was imminent. Xiao Yuan wished to prepare in advance, saving himself the trouble of searching for a new abode later. Xiao Yuan then pondered another matter. The dragon clan's tribute was generous, but he would never tire of spiritual objects. He considered putting his three crafts to use. In the primordial world there was a constant demand for elixirs, post-heavenly spiritual treasures and formation diagrams. He could well engage in such trade. This would not only hone his skills but also earn him spiritual objects, a win-win situation. A virtuous cycle would ensure he never faced a shortage. Xiao Yuan was a man of action. He immediately sought out the water-fire boy who had extensive connections. Junior brother, your idea is viable. Even among master's disciples alone there are many who could absorb your creations. May I ask what level you have attained in these three arts? The water-fire boy inquired with curiosity. Many disciples of the Shangqing lineage knew Xiao Yuan practiced multiple arts, but few knew his actual proficiency. I suppose I'm merely passable. I can refine 5-cycle immortal pills and mid-grade post-heavenly spiritual treasures. My formation skills are slightly weaker, I can craft 4-pattern formation diagrams. Like elixirs and treasures, formation diagrams had grades ranging from 1 to 9 patterns, with 9 being the highest. Xiao Yuan had never neglected his studies in alchemy, artifact crafting and formations. Though he started artifact crafting latest thanks to targeted traits, he was rapidly catching up. The water-fire boy was speechless. You call that passable? Do you have a skewed understanding of the word? Now the water and fire boy finally understood why his master allowed Xiao Yuan to cultivate so many paths simultaneously. It was entirely because this junior disciple of theirs was too monstrous. Whatever he learned he mastered. Junior brother, your attainments in these three paths are already quite profound. From now on leave the handling of what you refine to me, the water and fire boy said, taking the matters upon himself. Then he'll trouble you, senior brother. Xiao Yuan did not stand on ceremony, he was not truly skilled in this area, and entrusting it to the water and fire boy made things much easier. Given their close relationship there was no need for excessive pleasantries. In the days that followed Xiao Yuan continued his cultivation methodically. The only difference was that the sale of his elixirs, spiritual treasures and array diagrams had also gotten on track, making him busier than before. Yet it was also more fulfilling. Another 10,000 years passed in a flash. Tong Tian had taken on many more outer disciples, and the number of disciples under the Shangqing sect had surpassed 1,000, still growing steadily. In addition, Tong Tian also accepted a personal disciple. Wudong. The one who would later become the renowned Wudong Shengmu. Because Tong Tian was recruiting disciples on a large scale, he had several more disputes with Yuanshi. However, with Laozi mediating, the conflict did not escalate. Master, the Dragon King of the East Sea seeks an audience, the Red Flame Boy reported while Xiao Yuan was in quiet cultivation. Xiao Yuan frowned at this. Over the years he had maintained contact with Ao Guang. If anything came up, Ao Guang only needed to send a message. His personal visit now indicated something major had occurred. Invite him in, Xiao Yuan said. Daoist friend, I apologize for the sudden intrusion. Please do not take offense. Ao Guang began, anxiety visible in his brow. May I ask what brings you here, Daoist friend? Xiao Yuan inquired. If it were a trivial matter I would not have come to you. This time our dragon clan has inadvertently offended Patriarch Kunpeng. Ao Guang explained the situation to Xiao Yuan with a bitter smile. The matter was actually quite simple. The dragon clan had accidentally injured a descendant of Patriarch Kunpeng, and thus Kunpeng demanded exorbitant compensation from them. In truth, it was not the dragon clan's fault at all. Kunpeng's descendants had been dominating the North Sea, preying on dragons. This time they had pushed the dragons too far, and the North Sea Dragon Palace could no longer tolerate it, so they struck back. Yet Kunpeng turned the tables and blamed them. Even though the dragon clan was in the right, they had to yield, for in the primordial world strength was the only truth. Kunpeng was not only a quasi-sage great power but also the demon master of the heavenly court. The dragon clan could not afford to provoke him. They wished to settle the matter peacefully. But Kunpeng was too greedy, demanding a vast amount of spiritual treasures and even 2 innate spiritual treasures. Even with the dragon clan's deep heritage, these demands would drain their resources dry. Moreover, the clan feared Kunpeng would press his advantage and bleed them dry completely. Thus the dragon clan sought help far and wide. Unfortunately, the connections they had maintained could not reach the level of quasi-sage affairs, so they finally turned to Xiao Yuan. Wait here, Daoist friend. I will go and speak with my master, Xiao Yuan said. Having accepted the dragon clan's offerings, it was his principle to deliver on his promises. Disciple Xiao Yuan pays respects to master. Xiao Yuan went to the Grand Pure Palace. What is it? Tong Tian asked. Master. Xiao Yuan recounted the trouble the dragon clan faced. Daoist Kunpeng has indeed gone too far in this matter, his conduct is unsightly. I will speak with him, Tong Tian said. Master, your disciple has also thought of a method to obtain great merit. Would you care to hear it? Xiao Yuan added. He had recalled this idea after learning of the dragon clan's plight. Oh. Do tell. Tong Tian smiled, clearly not taking it seriously. He did not believe Xiao Yuan had any good way to gain merit, and even if he did, it would likely be a paltry amount. A small amount of merit was beneath the notice of a being of his stature. Master, countless races exist in the primordial world, but their scripts are not unified. If we could unify the writing of all races, we would surely obtain vast merit. Xiao Yuan spoke eloquently. His words were not mere fantasy or a pipe dream. In the future, Kunpeng would create the demon script and gain great merit. Similarly, when humanity's Zhangjie created writing, he received heavenly Dao merit. Xiao Yuan had only thought of this upon hearing Ao Guang mention Kunpeng. However, unifying the scripts of myriad races was no simple task, not something a minor figure like him could lead. Thus he chose to report it. If the three pure ones left him even a scrap of the reward, Xiao Yuan would be richly rewarded. Tongjian, upon hearing Xiao Yuan's words, shifted from his initial nonchalance to rapt attention. According to his deductions, the method Xiao Yuan proposed was indeed feasible. Xiao Yuan, I will discuss this with your two senior uncles. Tong Tian said. Xiao Yuan then left the Shangqing Palace. Daoist friend, how did it go? Ao Guang asked, rising hastily as Xiao Yuan approached. This showed the immense pressure Kunpeng had placed on the dragon clan. Xiao Yuan was their only hope. My master has agreed to speak with Patriarch Kunpeng. You should receive word soon. Xiao Yuan smiled. Thank you, Daoist friend. Ao Guang let out a long breath of relief, then a smile spread across his face. Daoist friend, according to news from the clan, Patriarch Kunpeng has changed his stance. He will accept only modest compensation from the dragon clan. Then congratulations, Daoist friend. Xiao Yuan said. Kunpeng's oppression was a catastrophic disaster for the dragon clan, but for Tongjian it was resolved with a single word. In the palace of the Northern Sea. Kunpeng's expression was somewhat grim. He had thought forcing the dragon clan to yield benefits was a sure thing, but things had gone awry. Tongjian, one of the three pure ones, had actually stood up for the dragon clan. No matter how unwilling Kunpeng was, he dared not oppose Tong Tian. For all the mighty beings in the primordial world knew that the three pure ones had become personal disciples of the Tao ancestor and possessed the foundation for enlightenment, the Honghuang purple qi, making them candidates for sainthood. Not even Kunpeng nor the Lord of the Heavenly Court would dare to offend the three pure ones. Meanwhile, in the Grand Pure Palace. Third brother, can you consult with us before acting? How could you meddle in the affair between the dragon clan and Kunpeng without a word? Yuanshi said with considerable displeasure. Second brother, this is a trivial matter hardly worth discussing, Tong Tian replied dismissively. You. Yuanshi was exasperated. He knew it was a small matter, but he was dissatisfied with Tongshan's attitude. Alright, second brother, I came here to discuss an important matter with you. Tong Tian did not want to dwell on this issue. An important matter? What is it? Laozi asked. Elder brother, this idea came from my disciple Xiao Yuan. He suggested a way for us to obtain great merit. Tong Tian said with a smile. A mere golden immortal thinks he has a method for us to gain great merit. How preposterous, Yuanshi scoffed disdainfully. Tong Tian ignored Yuanshi and elaborated on Xiao Yuan's proposal before Laozi and Yuanshi. Of course, he added his own insights, making the plan to unify the scripts far more detailed. The expressions of Yuanshi and Laozi mirrored that of Tong Tian's earlier demeanor, initially indifferent but growing increasingly serious as time progressed. After Tong Tian finished speaking, he inquired, Eldest brother, second brother, what are your thoughts on this matter? Based on my calculations, the feasibility of this endeavor is quite high. Unifying the written language of all the primordial tribes will facilitate the spread of various laws and enhance communication among the clans. This is a great merit and I believe we can proceed with it, Laozi solemnly stated. Yuanshi nodded in agreement. Since this endeavor is feasible, let us brothers commence this task, though I have a small request. This suggestion was proposed by Xiao Yuan and I would like to bring him along, Tong Tian stated. That is only right, Lao Zi nodded. I have no objections. Yuan Shi also agreed. As Tong Tian said, the idea originated from Xiao Yuan and it would be unwarranted to exclude him. Xiao Yuan, I have already discussed this matter with your two masters. Unifying the written language of the myriad tribes is a great undertaking that will benefit the primordial world. When the time comes I will bring you along. You need not do anything, just follow us, Tong Tian explained. Understood. Xiao Yuan immediately responded. He knew this was a benefit that his master had secured for him. When the merits were bestowed he would be able to gain in abundance. Before long the three pure ones took Xiao Yuan away from Kunlun Mountain, beginning their journey among the myriad tribes. With the strength and status of the three pure ones, all the primordial tribes would show them respect. Even the strongest Wu and Yao tribes had to give them some face. Xiao Yuan followed closely beside Tong Tian, saying nothing and doing nothing, merely acting as a small ornament. What are the three pure ones up to? Why are they suddenly traversing among the major tribes? I don't know. I heard the three pure ones went to the major tribes to borrow some of their legacies, but I have no idea what the significance of this is. Such beings as the three pure ones could shake the primordial world with a stamp of their feet. Their unguarded actions naturally did not escape the eyes of many powerful beings in the primordial world. However, they were unaware of the significance of the three pure ones' actions. It wasn't until 30,000 years later that a resounding voice echoed from Kunlun Mountain. I Tai Qing Yu Qing Shang Qing have sensed the inconvenience in communication among the myriad tribes and the obstruction of the transmission of various laws in the primordial world. Today I shall unify the written language of the myriad tribes here. At that moment the voices of the three pure ones reverberated throughout the primordial world. A golden light surged in the heavens, signifying the manifestation of the Tao. Excellent. The true words of the Tao resonated. Immediately a vast golden light descended, representing the immense merit of the Tao. The total amount of this merit was comparable to, if not greater than, that during the establishment of the celestial court by Dong Wanggong. Then this merit was divided into many portions that fell into the primordial world. This time Lao Zi, Yuan Shi and Tong Tian each received 20%. The clans that aided in the formation of the primordial language shared 35%. The remaining 5% landed behind Xiao Yuan. Despite only receiving 5%, the amount of merit Xiao Yuan garnered was enough to make a quasi-saint envious. He hadn't anticipated receiving so much. Though he merely offered a suggestion, to receive such a large share of merit was truly a great profit. The powerful beings of the primordial world were also quite envious to see the three pure ones creating such a commotion and receiving so much merit. Three pure ones, how dare you snatch my opportunity? Just as the three pure ones and Xiao Yuan were joyfully sharing the merit, a harsh and furious voice came from afar. Seeing who it was, Xiao Yuan instinctively shrank back. The newcomer was none other than the ancestor Kunpeng. According to the guidance of the Tao, this merit from the creation of the language should have fallen upon Kunpeng, but now due to Xiao Yuan's appearance the three pure ones had seized the opportunity. Stealing someone's opportunity was even more serious than killing their parents. The moment the three pure ones unified the language, Kunpeng immediately felt he had lost a great opportunity and his mindset completely collapsed. Humph. Kunpeng, in the primordial world the fortunate are those with virtue. Scram. Tong Tian shouted angrily, his sword intent surging as the four swords of extermination were summoned, seemingly ready to slay Kunpeng. Kunpeng, upon witnessing this, suddenly came to his senses. He had been blinded by anger, but now that he was clear-headed he naturally dared not to act recklessly. If the three pure ones wanted to deal with him, even the heavenly court could not protect him. Three fellow Taoists, I apologize for my earlier rudeness. Please do not take offense, Kunpeng immediately conceded, turning to leave without daring to confront the three pure ones. This turmoil came swiftly and ended just as quickly. Xiao Yuan watched the scene with a sense of lament. The notion that fortune and materials belong to those with virtue held true, what a farce. The so-called virtue was merely a matter of strength and backing. If today the one who unified the language and received the merit had been someone else, even a great Luo golden immortal would likely have been extinguished by Kunpeng. After receiving such a vast amount of merit, Xiao Yuan prepared to enter seclusion and break through. However, before he could do so he was summoned to the Tai Qing Palace. The three pure ones sat at the top, all smiling as they looked at him. Disciple Xiao Yuan greets my teacher and both masters. Xiao Yuan bowed respectfully. Xiao Yuan, you have accomplished a great feat this time, and thus I bestow upon you this 9 transformation golden pill, Lao Zi said with a smile. They had gained so much merit thanks to Xiao Yuan. With merit comes reward. Although Xiao Yuan did not want it, they could not refrain from giving it, otherwise what would others say about them? Lao Zi raised his hand and a beam of golden light fell before Xiao Yuan. Xiao Yuan's body paused abruptly. He had thought receiving such a large amount of merit was already good enough, but he did not expect a reward as well. Moreover, Xiao Yuan was surprised by the generosity of his master, who directly bestowed a 9-transformation golden pill. The 9-transformation golden pill is the most powerful elixir in the primordial world, made from numerous rare spiritual materials and refined by the foremost alchemist Lao Zi. Consuming a 9-transformation golden pill would elevate a being directly to the great Luo realm. In addition to this effect, it also has many other miraculous uses, making it difficult for even quasi-saint beings to obtain one. Now Xiao Yuan had received one. "Thank you, master." Xiao Yuan joyfully accepted the 9-transformation golden pill, hurriedly expressing his gratitude. "Eldest brother, you are being too generous. If I were stingy, I would surely be ridiculed by third brother." "Well, then I shall bestow upon you the acquired treasure, the soul-dissipating bell," Yuanshi said. With a helpless smile, Yuanshi raised his hand and a small black bell descended before Xiao Yuan, spinning continuously in front of him. The acquired treasures are exceedingly rare, with fewer than a handful that can be refined in the entire primordial world. Treasures of such caliber possess immense power, rivaling even innate spiritual treasures. Even Yuanshi himself did not possess many acquired treasures. Had Lao Zi not first conferred the 9-transformation golden pill, Yuanshi would never have been able to bestow such a treasure. Xiao Yuan had certainly struck a bargain. "Thank you, second master." Xiao Yuan stored the soul-dissipating bell and then turned to his teacher. With both masters being so generous, his own teacher surely would not be lacking either. "What are you looking at, kid?" Tong Tian laughed. "Don't worry. You will receive your due benefits." Suddenly a small beast shook off from his sleeve. This small beast resembled a little cat with fiery pattern, sporting a single horn on its head and a collar around its neck, appearing quite docile. However, Xiao Yuan could discern that this little cat was a being of the mid-stage Tai Golden Immortal. This is a flame-treading beast, an exotic species from the primordial era, feeding on various innate spirit flames. If properly nurtured, it has the potential to ascend to the great Luo Golden Immortal stage. Seeing that you lacked speed, I bestow it upon you. Tong Tian patted the head of the flame-treading beast. The flame-treading beast transformed into a streak of light and landed on Xiao Yuan's shoulder, looking up at him with an eager expression, its obedient demeanor making it hard to believe it was an otherworldly beast at the Tai Golden Immortal level. "Thank you, master." Xiao Yuan quickly expressed his gratitude. The flame-treading beast bestowed by his teacher was worth as much as the rewards from his 2 senior uncles. Moreover, it was exactly what Xiao Yuan needed. With such strong capabilities, the flame-treading beast could serve as both a mount and a bodyguard, and its potential was remarkable, possessing the qualifications to become a great Luo Golden Immortal, making it quite impressive to show off. After receiving his reward, Xiao Yuan left the Ta-Ching Palace. He returned to sort through his rewards. As he took out the 9 turns golden pill, the fragrance of the pill filled the entire dojo, and with a deep breath Xiao Yuan could feel his cultivation shaking. As expected of the strongest elixir from the primordial era, it was indeed overpowering. However, Xiao Yuan did not intend to consume the 9 turns golden pill immediately. Though consuming the 9 turns golden pill would allow one to instantly enter the great Luo Golden Immortal stage, those who achieved the great Luo through the pill would never improve their cultivation for the rest of their lives. Perhaps for the vast majority of beings in the primordial world, the great Luo Golden Immortal was a realm they could only aspire to. But Xiao Yuan was absolutely unwilling to stop there. He aspired to prove the Tao of Honghuang. How could a mere great Luo Golden Immortal satisfy him? The 9 turns golden pill should be consumed after reaching the great Luo Golden Immortal stage to exert its maximum effect, so Xiao Yuan planned to keep it for now. Then Xiao Yuan took out the postnatal treasure, the soul-dissipating bell. This treasure could act directly on the soul, making it hard to guard against and quite sinister. However, Xiao Yuan liked it very much. "It's quite devious," he thought. "That's how one can catch others off guard. Next is the flame-treading beast given by my teacher." This little creature had likely been tamed by his teacher, so it was obedient in Xiao Yuan's hands. Moreover, the collar on the flame-treading beast's neck was a countermeasure left by Tong Tian. If the beast dared to act recklessly, the collar would tighten, and if Xiao Yuan wished, it could even strangle the beast. Fortunately, after following Xiao Yuan, the flame-treading beast remained very docile even when away from Tongshan's sight. This was also due to the pure spirit flames on Xiao Yuan, which the beast found appealing. If it were someone else, the flame-treading beast might not be so obedient, but Xiao Yuan had already become its recognized long-term provider. To ensure a steady source of food, it behaved nicely and avoided any awkwardness. It could distinguish between a full meal and a light snack. After organizing his belongings, Xiao Yuan began his seclusion. He had accumulated so many merits perfect for refining. 1,000 years later Xiao Yuan emerged from seclusion having made significant progress in his cultivation, stepping into the peak of the Golden Immortal Realm. The next step would be the Tai Golden Immortal Stage. To reach the Tai Golden Immortal Stage one needs to gather the 5 energies within their chest, also known as the 5 elemental energies: the wood energy of the east, the metal energy of the west, the water energy of the north, the fire energy of the south, and the earth energy of the center. As long as these 5 energies are gathered one can ascend to the Tai Golden Immortal Stage. However, Xiao Yuan was not in a hurry to break into the Tai Golden Immortal Stage. He had just reached the peak of the Golden Immortal Stage and needed to consolidate his foundation for a while longer. During the 1,000 years Xiao Yuan was in seclusion, significant events transpired in the primordial world. The Wu and Yao clans went to war. After the Heavenly Court defeated the Celestial Court, it ascended to the position of the hegemon of the primordial world. During the 3 lectures at the Xiao Palace, the Tao ancestor did not hold the Heavenly Court accountable, which further inflated their arrogance. After the 3 lectures at the Xiao Palace, the Heavenly Court's momentum became unstoppable, displaying an aura of subduing all clans and dominating the primordial world. For the Heavenly Court to unify the primordial world, they could not bypass the Wu clan. Upon hearing that the Heavenly Court sought to subdue them, the ancestral shaman of the Wu clan became enraged. "We the Wu clan do not even pay respect to heaven and earth, what is the Heavenly Court to us?" With a disagreement, war broke out. However, even with the Wu and Yao clans at war, it did not affect Kunlun Mountain, and neither clan would recklessly provoke the Sanqing. After another 10,000 years or so, Xiao Yuan was summoned to the Shangqing Palace. "Xiao Yuan, the Heavenly Emperor wishes to marry the 2 goddesses from the Moon Star. You are to represent Kunlun Mountain and extend our congratulations." Tong Tian spoke. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yuan was momentarily stunned. Pressured by the Wu clan, Emperor Daijin's marriage to Shihe and Changxi was to strengthen the Heavenly Court's power, and it was also a heavenly decree set down by the Tao. His teacher and the 2 senior uncles likely avoided attending to sidestep any conflict with the Wu clan. But how could this responsibility fall on him? Not to mention that he had senior brothers and sisters above him. There was also a Nanji in Yushu Palace. "Your senior brother has just broken into the Great Luo Golden Immortal Stage and is currently in seclusion to consolidate his realm. As for your senior sister, you know her temperament, she does not like to mingle in such affairs. And the Nanji from Yushu Palace is in seclusion as well, similar to your senior brother." Tong Tian seemed to understand Xiao Yuan's thoughts and explained. He also knew that Xiao Yuan did not like these trivial matters, but it was now his turn. He couldn't just send the youngest disciple to take on the task. Xiao Yuan felt helpless about this. He had no choice. However, on the bright side, attending the wedding in the Heavenly Court would also mean a grand feast, which wasn't too much of a loss. After receiving his master's order, Xiao Yuan released the flame-treading beast. The beast transformed into a full-sized tiger leopard, losing some of its cuteness and gaining a more majestic aura. Xiao Yuan leapt onto the flame-treading beast, and at his command the beast stepped upon the spirit flames and headed towards the Heavenly Court. The flame-treading beast was incredibly fast, likely comparable to Xiao Yuan at full speed. Its speed was among the best even among the Tai Golden Immortals, which made Xiao Yuan all the more satisfied with it. However, even with the flame-treading beast's speed, it took Xiao Yuan nearly 100 years to reach the vicinity of the Heavenly Court. The Heavenly Court was situated atop Mount Buzhou, adorned with ethereal palaces and waterfalls, abundant spiritual energy and radiant golden light, a truly spectacular sight. While riding the flame-treading beast towards the Heavenly Court, Xiao Yuan also saw many beings heading there, presumably for the Heavenly Court's banquet. "I am Xiao Yuan from Kunlun Mountain, here at the behest of my master to present 10 immortal apricots and 1 9 turns golden pill as a gift to the Heavenly Emperor." As his voice fell, the beings around the southern Heavenly Gate automatically made way for him. Among them were even Tai Golden Immortals and Great Luo Golden Immortals. This was the power that came with identity and background. Before long, a middle-aged scholar emerged from the Heavenly Court, a genial smile gracing his face as he approached Xiao Yuan. "Young friend Xiao Yuan, please come in quickly." This middle-aged scholar was none other than Baizhe, one of the 10 great demon gods. Had the 3 pure ones arrived, Di Jun himself would have come to greet them. As for Xiao Yuan, the Heavenly Court sending Baizhe to welcome him was already a considerable gesture of respect. Xiao Yuan exchanged a few pleasantries with Baizhe before entering the Heavenly Court and taking a seat arranged for him. During this time, many powerful beings approached Xiao Yuan to curry favor, and he responded to them all with a friendly smile. Xiao Yuan firmly believed in the adage that more friends meant more paths. After all, a few casual words and a pleasant demeanor cost him nothing, and these connections might prove useful in the future. This left the flattering powerhouses somewhat astonished, never expecting that this direct disciple of Shangqing would be so devoid of arrogance. Xiao Yuan's reputation for approachability soon spread far and wide. "Xiao Yuan, I didn't expect Kunlun to send you. As the patriarch of the Fire Crow clan, Lai Yang naturally attended the banquet as well. Upon seeing Xiao Yuan, he approached with a beaming smile. Over the years, Lai Yang had maintained contact with Xiao Yuan. He was well aware that the three pure ones preferred not to involve themselves in the conflicts of the primordial world, so he no longer raised the matter of Xiao Yuan taking a position in the heavenly court. Xiao Yuan did not dislike this elder, in fact he held a considerable respect for him. There's no helping it. My senior brothers and sisters are all in seclusion, so I had to come. Xiao Yuan said helplessly. Haha. Countless beings in the primordial world would give anything for a chance to attend this feast, and here you are complaining, Lai Yang chuckled. When you have time you should return to the ancestral land. The Fire Crow clan has a long and storied history, and some legacies remain within the clan that might benefit you. I will definitely visit when I have the chance, Xiao Yuan promised. Just then an old man with a sinister expression entered the hall, casting an unfriendly glance in Xiao Yuan's direction before snorting and taking a seat. Ha! That old wretch Kuan-Ping dares not vent his anger at your master, so he takes it out on a junior like you. Pay him no mind, Lai Yang sneered. It was clear that the Fire Crow patriarch and Kuan-Ping did not get along. Xiao Yuan nodded. When the old man had looked at him with that hostile gaze, he had already discerned the man's identity. In the heavenly court, the one who bore a grudge against Mount Kunlun was likely this demon master. In truth, the very reason Kuan-Ping had lost the opportunity to create texts could be traced back to Xiao Yuan. However, few knew of this matter, otherwise Kuan-Ping's reaction would have been far more severe than a few glances. Xiao Yuan was certainly not foolish enough to expose himself. After all, a few stares from Kuan-Ping would not cost him a pound of flesh. Once the key members of the heavenly court and the many guests had arrived, the banquet officially commenced. Niuhua holding the red embroidered ball served as the witness as Di Jun wedded Shi He and Chang Shi, sealing the heavenly marriage. Thus the path of marital fates was established in the primordial world. The heavenly Tao bestowed a great bounty of merit. Throughout the entire ceremony, Xiao Yuan spent most of his time feasting. He had to admit the heavenly court's banquet was indeed splendid, with various spiritual wines, fruits and celestial delicacies. Unfortunately, Xiao Yuan dared not indulge too freely, as his presence at the feast represented Mount Kunlun. After the banquet concluded, Xiao Yuan mounted his flame-treading beast and prepared to return to Kunlun. On his way to the heavenly court, time had been too short for him to gather spiritual treasures. Now, with ample time on the return journey, he could take a detour to collect some spiritual items. Fortune's favor, you are blessed by fortune, and a great opportunity shall manifest. The heavenly Tao will guide you to the source of this opportunity. As soon as the thought of treasure hunting crossed Xiao Yuan's mind, the fortune's favor trait underwent a new change. Judging by the trait's explanation, Xiao Yuan immediately realized that this opportunity was extraordinary. Had it been a congenital spiritual object treasure or root, the trait would have specified it. Yet this time it merely summarized it as a great opportunity. Xiao Yuan promptly urged his flame-treading beast toward the direction guided by the heavenly Tao. Before long he arrived at the designated location. But before he could react, a swirl of fiery red mist enveloped him. This startled Xiao Yuan greatly, and he immediately summoned the void mirror and the abyssal sword, preparing to use spatial leap and sword escape to flee. Young friend, please do not be alarmed. I mean no harm. At that moment a phantom figure slowly coalesced within the mist. Xiao Yuan, disciple of Shangqing, pays respects to Senior Hongyun. Upon seeing the figure, Xiao Yuan's expression flickered with surprise as he hastily bowed. The figure emerging from the red mist was none other than Hongyun, whom Xiao Yuan had met once before at Zifu Prefecture. After the third lecture at Zixiao Palace, blood rain had fallen from the heavens. Even his own master had confirmed that Hongyun had perished, yet now. You have guessed correctly, young friend. I have indeed fallen. What remains is but a wisp of my divine thought. Hongyun sighed deeply. Since you have come here, it means fate has brought us together. There is a matter I wish to entrust to you. Xiao Yuan's mind immediately jumped to the clichés from novels: receiving a legacy from a senior and avenging their death. Senior, I am but weak and dare not involve myself in your conflicts, Xiao Yuan said hastily. He was joking. The ones who had slain Hongyun were Kuan-Ping, Mingyi, Di Jun and Tai Yi. How could someone of his meager stature dare to confront such titans? You misunderstand, young friend. I do not ask you to avenge me. I only wish for you to travel to Wuzhuang Temple and deliver the 99 soul-scattering red gourd to my Dao brother Jin Yuanzi. As a reward, I am willing to gift you a top-grade congenital spiritual treasure, Hongyun said, his face etched with entreaty. Ding. Hongyun has entrusted you with a task. Please make a choice, host. Choice 1, accept the task. Reward: disaster precognition gold trait. Choice 2, refuse the task. Reward Karma Return Gold Trait. Disaster Precognition Gold. You possess an extraordinary perception of calamity. You will sense impending disasters and can guard against most tribulations. Karma Return Gold. You no longer fear the assault of karma and can even refine it for your own use. The system had once again appeared, prompting Xiao Yuan to choose regarding Honghuang's request. Xiao Yuan was deeply torn. Honghuang's death was entangled with far too many parties. It was said that over the years many great powers had not ceased searching for Honghuang's relics, hoping to find the strand of primordial purple qi he possessed. The primordial purple qi, declared by the Tao ancestor as the foundation for attaining sainthood, could drive the powerhouses of the primordial world to madness. Getting involved in this was absolutely not in Xiao Yuan's best interest. Had he known it would come to this, he would never have come. What rotten luck. A great opportunity. More like a great pitfall. Senior, may I ask about the primordial purple qi? Xiao Yuan inquired again. After I was vanquished, my soul obliterated by Kunpeng and Mingyi, the purple qi fled and vanished without a trace. Had it not been for the purple qi, I would not have suffered such calamity. Honghuang said. In that case, I shall undertake this task for you, senior. Xiao Yuan pondered for a moment before finally making his decision. Having already interacted with Honghuang, he was now embroiled in trouble. Whether or not he accepted Honghuang's commission, he would draw attention from various quarters. Fortunately, his backing was formidable enough. Thus it was better to accept the matter, and in doing so he could also acquire a superior grade innate spiritual treasure. In the primordial wilderness, who would ever tire of having more innate spiritual treasures? Thank you, young friend. Honghuang hastily expressed his gratitude, then added, after my fall several little ones were nurtured from my remnant body. If it is convenient for you, young friend, please find them a place. No problem. I will take them to Kunlun and have them accepted into the mountain. Xiao Yuan replied. At Honghuang's mention, he recalled that the beings born from Honghuang were none other than Yun Zhongzi, Zhao Gongming, and the three Xiao. Yun Zhongzi was born from thunder amidst the clouds and was destined to be a disciple of the Jade Purity Elder, becoming his second personal disciple. Zhao Gongming was born from the clear wind in the clouds, and the three Xiao were three clouds of rosy mist that had separated from Honghuang. They shared a master-disciple fate with his own teacher and would later become core disciples of the Jie Sect. This was a trivial matter for Xiao Yuan. Hearing this, Honghuang grew even more grateful. After bowing once more to Xiao Yuan, Honghuang's form dissipated and a gourd, its surface cracked and broken, fell into Xiao Yuan's hand. This was Honghuang's spiritual treasure, the 99 soul-scattering red gourd, but it had suffered severe damage from the heavy blows it had endured. Apart from the 99 soul-scattering red gourd, there was also an iron hammer, black in color and adorned with fiery red patterns. It was the superior grade innate spiritual treasure, the Haoyan hammer. With a single strike it could shatter anything, possessing immense crushing force. Xiao Yuan happened to be in need of a hammer for forging spiritual treasures. Just as he stored away the two treasures, 5 auras emerged from the red mist, followed by the appearance of 5 youths, both male and female. These were none other than Yun Zhongzi and the other 4. The 5 little ones appeared as young teenagers, their faces innocent, and they looked at Xiao Yuan with a hint of timidity. Yet at first glance one could discern their extraordinary nature. Their qi overflowed and primordial spiritual energy surrounded them. All 5 were beings with innate spiritual roots, their aptitudes exceptional, among the best in the primordial wilderness. Having just taken form, they already possessed golden immortal cultivation. Even Xiao Yuan felt a twinge of envy. You will come with me to Kunlun Mountain. I will take you to find masters, Xiao Yuan said. These 5 little ones had long since developed intelligence and were aware of the transaction between Xiao Yuan and Honghuang. Xiao Yuan led them speeding back to Kunlun as fast as possible. What Xiao Yuan did not know was that the moment he left with Yun Zhongzi and the others, the red mist vanished and Honghuang's aura was exposed. Numerous powerful beings in the primordial wilderness sensed it instantly and began to act. This boy, how has he stirred up such a commotion again? Tongtian, who was in quiet cultivation, noticed the disturbance and smiled helplessly. Among his disciples, Xiao Yuan was the most troublesome. The heavenly Tao has indicated that my second disciple has emerged. Third brother, I will go with you. Before Tongtian could leave, Kunlun Yuanshi caught up with him. Laoji sensed the disturbance as well but did not interfere, trusting that his 2 younger brothers could handle the matter. Damn it, how many great powers have set their sights on me. Not long after leading the 5 little ones, Xiao Yuan felt the newly acquired disaster prediction trait pulse wildly, and the trait updated. Disaster prediction: you have received Honghuang's legacy, drawing the attention of many powerful beings in the primordial wilderness. Warning, warning, warning. As Xiao Yuan raced forward frantically, he also sent a message to his teacher, hoping he would arrive in time. Young friend Xiao Yuan, since you came to my heavenly court for a banquet, why not visit my palace? A voice suddenly rang out and Xiao Yuan saw a massive hand reaching for him. He tried to dodge but could not. The flame-treading beast was also pinned down by the overwhelming pressure. The one who had made the move was Yuan, the lord of the heavenly court, the mid-stage quasi-sage powerhouse. Xiao Yuan's strength was far too inferior to contend with and there was no way to break free. Fellow Daoist Yuan, are you not ashamed to attack a junior? Tongshan's voice echoed as a sword beam sliced through space heading straight for the hand reaching toward Xiao Yuan. The hand dared not meet it and withdrew. Master. Xiao Yuan felt an immense relief. Fortunately his teacher had arrived in time. If he had been captured and taken to the heavenly court, he would have been at their mercy. Fellow Daoist Tongtian, the three pure ones have each received a primordial purple chi by the favor of the Dao ancestor. Would it not be too greedy to seize another? Yuan said with a smile. As he spoke, at least 90% of the quasi-sage powerhouses in the primordial wilderness had arrived. Mingyi Kunpeng Tai Fushi. All were renowned figures. This concerned the opportunity for sainthood, so none could afford to be careless. Esteemed seniors, I fear I must disappoint you. Senior Honghuang's last remaining divine thought stated that after his soul was annihilated the purple chi fled and was lost, Xiao Yuan said weakly. He had never imagined that one day he would be surrounded by so many great figures. It was truly a life-threatening situation. The quasi-sages present furrowed their brows. With their abilities they could tell that Xiao Yuan was not lying and his cultivation level was insufficient to conceal the purple chi. Ha! Perhaps you did not obtain the purple chi, but who knows if Honghuang left you clues about it? Kunpeng said coldly. Among the quasi-sages present none was more obsessed with the purple chi than Kunpeng. Humph. Even if my disciple does not know the whereabouts of the purple chi, so what if he did? Do you Kunpeng think you can kidnap him and force him to talk? Tong Tian laughed, summoning the 4 immortal slaying swords. Among the 3 pure ones Tong Tian was the most direct, ready to fight if displeased. Although Yuanxia remained silent, he also summoned the Pangu banner. This matter involved his heaven-ordained personal disciple, so Yuanxia naturally took it seriously. Kunpeng was momentarily at a loss for words. I can swear a heavenly Dao oath that I do not know the whereabouts of the primordial purple chi. If I lie, may I be struck by lightning and annihilated in both body and soul, Xiao Yuan immediately declared. Kunpeng, what else do you have to say? Tong Tian turned to Kunpeng. Oaths in the primordial wilderness were not made lightly, as they were witnessed by the heavenly Dao. Violating them could result in anything from eternal stagnation in cultivation to severe damage to one's Dao foundation, regression in cultivation, or even death. Fellow Daoist Tongtian, you jest. Your disciple's demeanor is open and honest, he does not appear to be lying. Yuan smiled and then turned to leave. Though reluctant, Kunpeng had no choice. He cast a deep glance at Xiao Yuan before departing as well. The other great powers dispersed and withdrew. Xiao Yuan immediately felt the oppressive urgency vanish completely. Let us return to Kunlun first. Tong Tian and Yuanxia led Xiao Yuan and the others back to Kunlun. With 2 great figures as protectors, no one was foolish enough to block their path. After returning to Kunlun Mountain, Xiao Yuan recounted everything to the 3 pure ones and presented the 99 soul-scattering red gourd for their inspection. Since the 3 pure ones all possessed the primordial purple chi, they were not overly concerned about the whereabouts of Red Cloud's strand of purple chi. Subsequently, Yuanxia accepted Yun Zhongzi as his personal disciple. Tong Tian also took Xiao Gongming and the 3 Xia sisters under his tutelage, but did not accept them as personal disciples. This was not due to a lack of talent on their part, but rather because the destined affinity was not yet present. For beings of such magnitude, accepting personal disciples was a matter of great significance governed by heavenly decree. The bond between master and disciple was the most unbreakable bond in the primordial wilderness without equal. As for Xiao Yuan being accepted as a disciple under Tongtian, it was purely because Tong Tian admired him, finding his temperament exceptionally agreeable. The storm over Red Cloud has just passed. Do not leave Kunlun for now, Tong Tian warned Xiao Yuan. Although Xiao Yuan had proven his innocence, it was inevitable that some might still harbor ulterior motives against him. In the face of temptation for gain, even the deterrent power of the 3 pure ones might not suffice to hold back all formidable beings. Understood. Xiao Yuan promptly replied. He had already made up his mind not to venture out until the rumors had subsided. Zhen Yuanzi of the 5 villages temple seeks an audience with the 3 esteemed friends. Another resonant voice echoed from beyond Mount Kunlun. Without needing to guess, it was Zhen Yuanzi who had also come on account of Red Cloud. However, his purpose was not the primordial purple chi but purely for Red Cloud himself. Since gaining sentience, Jin Yuanzi and Red Cloud had been interdependent, their bond unbreakably close. "Friend Jin Yuanzi, please come in." Tong Tian welcomed him into Kunlun. Knowing that Jin Yuanzi had come for Xiao Yuan, the three pure ones had Tong Tian receive him. "Greetings, Senior Jin Yuanzi. I was entrusted by Senior Red Cloud to deliver this 99 soul-scattering red gourd to you." As Xiao Yuan spoke, he produced the gourd. It was a hot potato he was eager to be rid of, and Jin Yuanzi's arrival was most opportune. "Many thanks, young friend," Jin Yuanzi said gratefully, his face etched with sorrow as he gazed at the near-shattered gourd. "Young friend, please accept this small token of my gratitude." With a wave of his hand, Jin Yuanzi sent 3 streams of green light before Xiao Yuan. A refreshing, heart-clearing fragrance emanated, invigorating Xiao Yuan's spirit. Before Xiao Yuan could decline, Jin Yuanzi took his leave and departed with decisive swiftness. "Friend Jin Yuanzi is quite generous, gifting you 3 ginseng fruits. They are just what you need to break through to the Tai Golden Immortal Realm," Tong Tian remarked. The ginseng fruit, also known as the grass-returning elixir, was a spiritual fruit from the ginseng fruit tree, one of the 10 primordial spiritual roots of the primordial wilderness. Consuming one could increase one's cultivation by 10,000 years. 3 fruits meant 30,000 years. Xiao Yuan stood at the threshold from Golden Immortal to Tai Golden Immortal, and the 3 fruits would perfectly serve to solidify his foundation for the breakthrough. After settling all matters, Xiao Yuan retreated to secluded cultivation. 1,000 years later, a rumor spread through the primordial wilderness that Jin Yuanzi had obtained Red Cloud's relics and knew the whereabouts of that strand of primordial purple qi. No one knew the truth of this rumor, though it was said to have been deliberately spread by Jin Yuanzi himself. Yet even knowing this, none dared to trouble him. Jin Yuanzi, having transformed from the ginseng fruit tree, wielded the Earth Book, one of the 3 books governing heaven, earth and man, and had formed a grand earthly spiritual array with the primordial wilderness binding him to its terrestrial veins. Anyone who dared to move against him would surely suffer the backlash of the earth's veins. Upon learning of this, Xiao Yuan could not help but admire Jin Yuanzi's righteousness. He understood that Jin Yuanzi's action was meant to divert the attention of the primordial wilderness powerful beings away from him. Nearly another 100,000 years slipped by. In the primordial wilderness, the conflict between the Wu and Yao tribes grew ever more intense, plunging the land into turmoil and affecting countless races. Xiao Yuan, dwelling in Kunlun, remained largely unaffected. During these 100 millennia, Xiao Yuan cultivated diligently. He fully refined the 3 ginseng fruits gifted by Jin Yuanzi and finally gathered the 5 qi in his chest, breaking through to the Tai Golden Immortal Realm. "Senior brother, the arguments between master and second uncle have grown increasingly fierce lately. I wonder when it will end," Zhao Gongming sighed as he entered Xiao Yuan's dwelling. Behind him followed the 3 Xia sisters. Having been brought into Kunlun by Xiao Yuan, they were very close to him. Whenever they encountered cultivation issues, they sought his advice, which he patiently addressed. After 100,000 years, Zhao Gongming and the 3 Xia sisters had grown accustomed to life on Kunlun Mountain and were no longer reserved. Notably, the sisters had blossomed into graceful and elegant maidens. Yun Xiao was serene and dignified, Qiong Xiao gentle and demure, and Bi Xiao lively and mischievous. Each possessed a distinct charm, attracting much attention from the disciples of the Shangqing sect. Yet the 3 sisters showed no interest in those disciples, being close only to Zhao Gongming and Xiao Yuan. "There will always be a way to resolve things." Xiao Yuan smiled. Though the Wu Yao war raged, Kunlun Mountain was not entirely peaceful. The main conflict on Kunlun was the old issue, Tongshan's indiscriminate acceptance of disciples and Yuanqi's condemnation. At its core, it was a clash of ideals. Tong Tian believed in teaching without discrimination, that all beings in the primordial wilderness deserved the right to learn the Tao, aspiring to emulate the Tao ancestor and spread teachings to all. Yuanshi, however, insisted on quality over quantity, accepting only those with exceptional talent and prosperous fortune. He also felt that Tongshan's mass recruitment brought in individuals of questionable character, tainting their collective fortune. The 2 argued frequently, and on several occasions the disputes escalated to the brink of physical conflict, only to be quelled by Laozi. Xiao Yuan knew that the 3 pure ones would eventually part ways. After all, it was a dispute of principles and of the Tao, with no possibility of peaceful coexistence. "Oh big brother, the matters between master and second uncle are beyond our interference. Let's not add to our worries." Bi Xiao stepped forward and naturally took Xiao Yuan's arm. "Senior brother, I have some cultivation questions. Would you kindly explain them to me?" "All right." Xiao Yuan chuckled. After addressing their queries, Zhao Gongming and the 3 Xia sisters took their leave. At that moment, Xiao Yuan received a transmission. "The Dragon Clan has found a top-tier spiritual island about to emerge. It seems I must make a trip," Xiao Yuan murmured. He had long known that the three pure ones would split and that the Shangqing lineage would move to the Eastern Sea. Thus he had earlier tasked the Dragon Clan with scouting for spiritual islands there. That way when the time came he would not need to search for a dwelling but could move in directly. Xiao Yuan promptly changed his appearance, concealed his aura, tucked the flame-treading beast into his sleeve and set off for the Eastern Sea. Though the storm over Red Cloud had passed, Xiao Yuan still deemed it wise to be cautious. When he arrived, Ao Guang appeared to have been waiting for quite some time. Ao Guang was momentarily taken aback at the sight of Xiao Yuan. Early Golden Immortal stage. If his memory served, the last time they met Xiao Yuan was at the late Golden Immortal stage. But Ao Guang quickly realized that Xiao Yuan must have concealed his cultivation. He was rather impressed by Xiao Yuan's mastery of aura concealment, so exquisite that even with his own late Tai Golden Immortal cultivation he could detect no trace. In truth, not even a Daluo Golden Immortal could see through Xiao Yuan's disguise. Xiao Yuan cut straight to the chase, asking with a smile. I received your message, my friend, and heard that you have discovered a top-tier spiritual island. How reliable is this news? Rest assured, my friend. Since I dared to send you this message, it is as good as certain. Ao Guang stroked his beard with a smile, looking quite pleased with himself. As the local powers in the East Sea, the Dragon Clan were well versed in gathering intelligence. The spiritual island discovered this time is suspected to be one of the 3 legendary immortal islands overseas which should meet your requirements. One of the 3 immortal islands overseas. That is absolutely perfect. Xiao Yuan was slightly taken aback by Ao Guang's words, then a wave of delight washed over him. The 3 immortal islands overseas were Penglai, Yingzhou and Fangzhang. When the Eastern Prince established his celestial court and Penglai emerged, Xiao Yuan had been present. The scene of Penglai's manifestation, its towering majesty and drifting spiritual energy, remained etched in Xiao Yuan's memory. Penglai was undoubtedly a top-tier cultivation ground of the primordial wilderness with a spiritual energy density likely rivaling that of Mount Kunlun. Yingzhou and Fangzhang, the other 2 islands among the 3 immortal isles, were certainly no less extraordinary, both being premier cultivation grounds of the primordial wilderness. Acquiring either Yingzhou or Fangzhang would already exceed Xiao Yuan's expectations for a suitable cultivation site. However, my friend, you must understand that while top-tier spiritual lands are desirable, claiming them depends on fate. Ao Guang shifted the conversation. In the primordial wilderness, spiritual lands choose their masters, especially the most exceptional ones. When they emerge, they are protected by powerful innate spiritual prohibitions. Without the land's recognition, entry is impossible. The criteria for a spiritual land's choice of master were somewhat esoteric. I am aware of this. By informing me of the land's emergence and guiding me here, I am already grateful. Xiao Yuan smiled. It is my duty, my duty. Ao Guang led the way with a smile and Xiao Yuan followed. Speaking of the 3 immortal islands overseas, Penglai has been completely abandoned since the battle back then, its spiritual vein severed. Recently it has been occupied by a ferocious beast comparable to a quasi saint. It has been declared a new forbidden zone in the East Sea. If you have no business there, my friend, do not wander near it. On the way, Ao Guang remarked. Xiao Yuan nodded, knowing that the beast Ao Guang referred to was likely the golden Ao of the East Sea. My friend, it is here. Ao Guang pointed ahead, and through a veil of mist a spiritual island rose from the sea, though its form appeared blurred and indistinct. This was not due to the mist alone, but rather the innate spiritual prohibitions sealing the island. Even a golden immortal of the highest order or even a quasi-saint could not breach them nor glimpse the true state of the island. Outside the island numerous powerful beings had already gathered, including several at the golden immortal level. Yet they could only sigh in frustration as each attempt to enter was thwarted by the prohibitions. It seems such a top-tier spiritual land is indeed difficult to claim. Xiao Yuan felt a pang of uncertainty, but since he had come he would not give up. My friend, allow me to try. With these words Xiao Yuan drifted into the mist. The surrounding creatures began to murmur among themselves. Here comes another one, a mere early-stage golden immortal. Has he not seen that even those at the golden immortal level cannot enter? Yet he dares to try. Such a fool knows nothing. As Xiao Yuan ventured into the mist of the island, the nearby creatures jeered. But the next moment stunned every creature present. Xiao Yuan passed through the mist and the innate spiritual prohibitions entering directly. How could this be possible? Xiao Yuan himself was bewildered. He had only been attempting, never expecting such smooth passage. It must be the fortune's favor trade at work, Xiao Yuan thought. The selection of a master by a spiritual land likely hinged on the intangible concept of fortune. As Xiao Yuan stepped onto the island, a refreshing sensation washed over him. It seemed to cleanse both body and mind, even sharpening his thoughts. He was somewhat surprised as he had not experienced such a reaction on Mount Kunlun. This suggested that the island held some hidden secret. Fortune's favor. You are blessed by the heavenly Daos Fortune, recognized as the master of Yingzhou Island. The Fortune's favor trait suddenly manifested, revealing a description. In the next instant a pale golden stream of light landed before Xiao Yuan. It was a small stone tablet inscribed with 2 characters in Dao runes. Yingzhou. This stone tablet was the core, or rather the nexus, of Yingzhou Island. Once refined, it would grant control over the entire island and its innate spiritual prohibitions. Xiao Yuan did not hesitate and began refining the tablet. After 5,000 years he fully refined it and the tablet vanished into his brow. Nothing on Yingzhou could escape Xiao Yuan's perception. Truly a top-tier spiritual land. Upon a brief scan he discovered 36 innate spiritual treasures on the island, including 3 of the highest quality. Beyond these treasures, the island also boasted a single innate spiritual root. Most top-tier lands housed such roots. This was the most precious aspect of a top-tier spiritual land. Mount Kunlun, for instance, possessed the supreme innate spiritual root, the immortal apricot tree. The root on Yingzhou was the superior grade innate enlightenment tea tree. This root aided enlightenment, greatly enhancing cultivation efficiency. Even among spiritual roots the enlightenment tea tree ranked highly. Had news of the enlightenment tea tree on Yingzhou spread, even quasi-saints would have been stirred. No wonder Xiao Yuan had felt a clarity of mind upon entering. It was the tree's effect. However, for Xiao Yuan, who possessed the heaven-defying enlightenment trait, the tree's effect was relatively weak, somewhat redundant. Yet he was not disheartened. He could use it as a gift or to entertain guests, maintaining face. Xiao Yuan was thoroughly satisfied with Yingzhou as his cultivation site. He quickly gathered all the innate spiritual treasures born on the island, securing them. He then collected some leaves from the enlightenment tea tree before leaving Yingzhou. Given the unstable situation in the primordial wilderness, it was safer to stay near his master. Young friend, this spiritual land is beyond your grasp. If you surrender its nexus, I will personally accept you as my disciple. As Xiao Yuan emerged, several powerful auras descended and a golden immortal spoke, attempting to intimidate and bribe him. My friend, I am Xiao Yuan, a direct disciple of the Supreme Pure One. Are you certain you wish to act against me? Xiao Yuan sneered. The golden immortal who had spoken immediately changed expression. So it is brother Xiao Yuan. My apologies, a misunderstanding. After Xiao Yuan revealed his identity, the golden immortal quickly apologized and departed, and the covetous gazes vanished. As a direct disciple of the Supreme Pure One, they dared not provoke him. Xiao Yuan had always considered himself low-key, but reality did not permit it. He had to admit having a powerful background was truly satisfying. Xiao Yuan resealed the spiritual prohibitions of Yingzhou Island. Without his permission, even a quasi-sage would find it difficult to break in. Moreover, given his status as a direct disciple of Shangqing, no quasi-sage would dare to commit such an act. Xiao Yuan had already made preparations. Once his master led the disciples to migrate into the East Sea, he would settle on Yingzhou Island. Disaster forewarning. Warning. Your whereabouts have been exposed. Kunpeng has dispatched his Dharma body to capture you. Xiao Yuan. What the hell? Damn Kunpeng. He still hasn't given up. Upon seeing the warning from the attribute panel, Xiao Yuan was both shocked and enraged. Without hesitation he summoned the void mirror, executed the sword escape technique and fled at top speed toward Kunlun. His speed was already not inferior to that of an ordinary Great Luo Golden Immortal. Trying to flee? Do you think you can escape? As Xiao Yuan fled, a dark shadow followed closely behind. It was Kunpeng's Dharma body at the Great Luo Golden Immortal level. Even Kunpeng was somewhat surprised, for he had concealed his aura and approached stealthily. Yet Xiao Yuan had still detected him. Ever since the last failed attempt to corner Xiao Yuan, Kunpeng had always felt that Xiao Yuan was hiding something. In short, his paranoia had grown. Moreover, Kunpeng harbored an extremely petty grudge. Because his opportunity had been stolen, he harbored deep hatred toward the 3 pure ones. Unable to harm them directly, he sought revenge on their disciples. Thus Xiao Yuan became his target. Damn it, I can't shake him off. Xiao Yuan was growing frantic. Kunpeng was hailed as the fastest being in the primordial world. Even his separated Dharma body excelled in speed far beyond what ordinary Great Luo Golden Immortals could match. Despite going all out, Xiao Yuan still couldn't shake off Kunpeng's Dharma body. As for fighting back, that was certainly out of the question. Even if he called for his master's aid now, it would be too late. This situation was different from the last time. Then the appearance of Hongyan's aura had alarmed all the mighty figures. But this time it was a premeditated ambush by Kunpeng. Little one, I've caught you. Kunpeng's Dharma body sneered, blocking Xiao Yuan's path and reaching out to seize him. How dare you commit violence in the East Sea? Such audacity. Just as Kunpeng was about to capture Xiao Yuan, a resounding dragon roar erupted. A massive azure dragon leaped from the East Sea, its sharp claws swiping toward Kunpeng's Dharma body. Ao Kun, how dare you interfere with my affairs? Kunpeng's Dharma body snarled in fury. Faced with the incoming dragon claw, he swiftly dodged. Young friend Xiao Yuan is a distinguished guest of the Dragon Clan. Please do not make things difficult for me, fellow Daoist. The azure dragon stood firmly in front of Xiao Yuan. Gnashing his teeth, Kunpeng's Dharma body dissipated. Ao Kun was one of the last pillars of the Dragon Clan, a mighty figure at the latest age, Great Luo Golden Immortal Realm. With Ao Kun guarding him, Kunpeng's mere Dharma body was powerless to capture Xiao Yuan. Moreover, Kunpeng dared not reveal his true identity. If Tong Tian arrived, he would certainly face dire consequences. Thank you for your assistance, senior. Xiao Yuan bowed gratefully to Ao Kun. Had it not been for the old Dragon Clan elder's intervention, he would have been taken by Kunpeng. You're too kind, young friend. Ao Kun shifted his form, transforming into an old man clad in green robes, a hint of twilight aura about him, and spoke with a genial smile. Young friend, that villain may have been frightened off, but he might launch a surprise attack. Allow me to escort you back to Kunlun. I am in your debt. Xiao Yuan dared not refuse. Ao Kun accompanied him back to Kunlun. In truth, Kunpeng had indeed considered a surprise attack, for if this abduction failed, he might never have such a perfect opportunity again. But with Ao Kun by Xiao Yuan's side, Kunpeng was doomed to fail. Ao Kun took his leave after seeing Xiao Yuan safely back to Kunlun. Xiao Yuan remembered this favor. Master, you must seek justice for me. Someone dared to attack me in the East Sea. They clearly have no regard for you nor for my two uncles. After composing himself, Xiao Yuan flung himself into the Shangqing Palace, wailing loudly. Do you know who attacked you? Tong Tian was also furious. As Xiao Yuan had said, the attacker had indeed shown no respect for him. However, the attacker had acted covertly and disrupted the heavenly mechanism, making it impossible for Tong Tian to divine the truth. Master, I suspect it was ancestor Kunpeng. But we probably have no solid evidence, Xiao Yuan said weakly. He knew the attacker was Kunpeng only because of the warning from his disaster forewarning attribute. I guessed it was him too. Kunpeng is petty and dares not strike at us, so he set his sights on you. Rest assured, your master will settle this score for you. Tong Tian snorted coldly, transformed into a beam of light and sped toward the North Sea. Meanwhile, in the Beiming Palace, Kunpeng was also fuming. Despite his meticulous planning, he had still failed. Fortunately, I acted secretly and disrupted the heavenly mechanism. No one knows it was me. However, no sooner had Kunpeng spoken than a violent tremor shook the entire Beiming Palace, causing it to collapse. Kunpeng's expression twisted in alarm as he prepared to flee. Kunpeng died. Tongtian, seemingly anticipating Kunpeng's escape, deployed the 4 swords of Zhuxian, encircling Kunpeng and trapping him within. Tongtian, have you lost your mind? I haven't provoked you. Kunpeng roared in fury. You know exactly what you've done. Do you think I wouldn't dare touch you without evidence? Since when do I need evidence to act? Tong Tian sneered, unleashing a torrent of sword intent that surged toward Kunpeng. Kunpeng was truly panicked now. Such a massive disturbance in the primordial world naturally attracted the attention of many powerful figures. What's happening? Why is fellow Daoist Tong Tian attacking Kunpeng? No idea. It's so sudden. The mighty figures of the primordial world were equally bewildered. Fellow Daoist Tongtian, what's the matter? Why such great anger? Dijuan appeared and hastily stopped Tong Tian. After all, Kunpeng was still a minister of the heavenly court, so Dijuan had to protect him. Fellow Daoist Dijuan, this old wretch Kunpeng secretly attacked my disciple. I'll spare him this time out of respect for you, but if there's a next time, I'll surely slay this old scoundrel. Tong Tian raised his hand, withdrew the sword formation and departed gracefully. Your Majesty, you must seek justice for me. This Tong Tian destroyed my Beiming Palace without any reason and attacked me viciously. At this moment Kunpeng was disheveled and covered in bloodstains, looking utterly wretched. Kunpeng, don't think you're the only clever one. Dijuan shot Kunpeng a harsh glare. Kunpeng's words immediately died in his throat. Imperial Preceptor, you know that the Heavenly Court's ambition to unify the primordial world is being hindered by the Wu clan. This is a critical time and we cannot afford to make more powerful enemies. You must think thrice before acting in the future. Daijin's tone then softened with a sigh. This old servant understands. Kunpeng acquiesced. That old wretch Kunpeng has been taught a lesson. Even with 3 times the courage he wouldn't dare lay a hand on you now. Tong Tian returned to Shangqing Palace, his tone brimming with domineering authority. His actions were not merely to chastise Kunpeng but also to send a clear message to all the mighty beings of the primordial wilderness: do not bully my disciple with your superior strength, or else I Tongqian will truly lose my mind. Xiao Yuan was also utterly astonished. He had assumed his master's quest for justice would merely involve a war of words and verbal reprimands. After all, at the quasi-saint level, without a mortal vendetta no one would resort to battle. To his surprise, his master was so ferocious that he directly stormed the enemy's doorstep. Xiao Yuan felt a significant release of the pent-up resentment in his chest. Yet he still etched this grudge deep in his heart. 30 epochs east, 30 epochs west, never bully a youth for being poor. Xiao Yuan had already resolved that once he gained the power he would make sure that old rogue Kunpeng paid dearly. But for now he must endure, he must lie low. After leaving Shangqing Palace, Xiao Yuan returned to his arduous cultivation. Another 100,000 years slipped by. Although his cultivation level had not broken through, he had made immense progress. His greatest gain was the enhancement of his innate talent after consuming numerous spiritual treasures. Xiao Yuan now possessed a mid-stage innate root bone. Boom! Xiao Yuan was in secluded meditation when he was suddenly startled by a powerful tremor. What is happening? Xiao Yuan was filled with questions. He was on Mount Kunlun, the very mountain where the 3 pure ones resided. Had someone invaded, or were his master and second master fighting? As he exited his dojo he saw the sky above where stars twinkled and vast stellar forces surged incessantly. Beneath that starlight a colossal giant stood wielding a battle axe, exuding a chilling aura of primeval savagery. The violent tremor just now was the result of the collision between the stellar force and the giant. Xiao Yuan was momentarily stunned by the sight. What now filled his vision was no longer the boundless starlight and the towering giant but countless interweaving threads, the trajectories of various laws of order. At that moment Xiao Yuan was enveloped by a profound Tao resonance, unexpectedly entering a state of enlightenment. The phenomenon he triggered naturally attracted many disciples of Shangqing. Zhao Gongming and the 3 Xia sisters arrived first. "What's wrong with senior brother?" asked Bixiao. "I've heard master say this is a state of enlightenment," Zhao Gongming replied. Just then Tong Tian strolled over. "We pay respects to master." All the Shangqing disciples present bowed in greeting. "Do not make a commotion." Xiao Yuan seems to have gained insights from observing the Grand Zhou Tian star formation and the 12 divine fiend formation. "Do not disturb him," Tong Tian cautioned. The Shangqing disciples all nodded in assent, their gazes fixed on Xiao Yuan filled with profound envy. Enlightenment. It was a fortuitous encounter that one could only hope to meet. There was even a saying that a single moment of enlightenment could lead to a complete transformation. Though somewhat exaggerated, it underscored the immense benefits of such an experience. Compared to his other disciples, Tong Tian saw more deeply. He could discern that Xiao Yuan's enlightenment was in the Tao of formations. Once it concluded, Xiao Yuan's mastery of formations would undoubtedly ascend to a higher level. Tong Tian felt a pang of relief that he had passed on the Tao of formations to Xiao Yuan, otherwise his disciple's talent would have been wasted. Not long after, Xiao Yuan's enlightened state ended and the Tao resonance around him dissipated. Enlightenment was not ordinary comprehension, it relied on a spark of inspiration capturing a fleeting moment of insight. After this epiphany, Xiao Yuan's cultivation had not advanced, but his proficiency in formations had grown tremendously. His formation mastery had leaped from the 4th level to the 5th. "Greetings, master." Xiao Yuan bowed upon seeing Tong Tian. "Master, I never imagined the Tao of formations could wield such formidable power," Duo Bao remarked with awe. "Naturally, formations are one of the great Taos of the primordial wilderness, they have their merits," Tong Tian said with a smile. Being a master of the art himself, he did not stint on praise. The 2 formations currently clashing are the pinnacle formations of the primordial wilderness. That boundless starlight is the demon clan's Grand Zhou Tian star formation, capable of mobilizing the power of all stars and reversing the cosmos. As for that giant, it is the Wu clan's 12 divine fiend formation, which can manifest Pangu's physical form with boundless might. Though Tong Tian spoke, a deep worry lingered on his brow. Even as Tong Tian enlightened his disciples, the great formations of the demon and Wu clans continued to collide, and the 2 races engaged in relentless slaughter. Vast karmic forces surged across the primordial wilderness, tinging the very heavens and earth with a bloody hue. It was unimaginable how many lives were lost in this war. If the demon and Wu clans keep fighting like this, they might damage the very foundation of the primordial wilderness. Tong Tian sighed. "Master, is there no one who can stop them?" Jin Ling asked. "Difficult. Tong Tian shook his head with a bitter smile. The two great formations are too formidable. Anyone who dares to interfere would be crushed by them instantly. Even if we three pure ones joined forces it would be impossible. In this situation only your Grandmaster could intervene, but he has merged with the heavenly Tao. However, before he could finish, a golden light flashed across the primordial wilderness and a figure appeared gracefully between heaven and earth. Cease this at once. With a single point of the figure's finger, the Grand Zhou Tian Star Formation and the 12 Divine Fiend Formation, which were locked in combat, were instantly halted. We pay respects to the Tao Ancestor. All the powerful beings of the primordial wilderness bowed in reverence. The one who had appeared was none other than the Tao Ancestor Honghuang. Xiao Yuan cast a curious glance, but even with his void-piercing eye he could not discern the Tao Ancestor's cultivation level. It was likely due to the vast disparity in their power. Honghuang, mind your own business. Today the Wu clan will annihilate the demon clan. The ancestral witches were as ferocious as ever. While other mighty beings of the primordial wilderness revered Honghuang, they did not. You Wu clan born from the legacy of Pangu, do not bring ruin upon yourselves, Honghuang said, casting a glance at the 12 Divine Fiend Formation. The immensely powerful formation instantly collapsed and all 12 ancestral witches were wounded. Witnessing this, every powerful being in the primordial wilderness trembled in their hearts. Most had attended the Tao Ancestor's lectures but had never seen him act. Now they understood the terrifying might of a sage. From this day forth the demon clan rules the heavens, the Wu clan rules the earth. Cease all hostilities for one epoch. Whosoever disobeys shall be struck down by the heavenly Tao. With these words Honghuang's form vanished once more. We obey the Tao Ancestor's decree. All the mighty beings of the primordial wilderness acknowledged the command. Even the unruly Wu clan had been subdued. After the Tao Ancestor's appearance, both the demon and Wu clans began a hasty retreat. Master, I wish to learn the Tao of formations. Within the Kunlun Mountains, Yunxiao gazed at Tong Tian with sincere eyes. Having witnessed the might of formations today, something stirred deep within Yunxiao's heart. We beseech you, Master, to impart your teachings. Several other disciples of Shangqing echoed in unison. At this moment Tong Tian turned his gaze toward Xiao Yuan. A sense of foreboding washed over Xiao Yuan. Then he heard Tong Tian say, your master has recently gained insights in cultivation and needs to go into seclusion. Let Xiao Yuan guide you in the Tao of formations for now. Ding. Tong Tian has tasked you with teaching formations at Shangqing Palace. Please make a choice, host. Choice 1, accept the task. Reward Formation Prodigy Gold Trait. Choice 2, refuse the task. Reward Rune Grandmaster Gold Trait. Formation Prodigy Gold, your talent in the Tao of formations is unmatched. All formations hold no secrets before you, and those you arrange gain an additional 30% in power. Rune Grandmaster Gold, your talent in the Tao of runes is formidable, allowing you to perceive the laws of all things and uncover the truth of runic operations. Xiao Yuan never expected that his master's decision to delegate would trigger a system prompt, an unexpected boon. I choose 1. Xiao Yuan decided without hesitation. He could never refuse his master's request anyway. Moreover, compared to the Rune Grandmaster trait, Xiao Yuan was more eager to acquire the Formation Prodigy trait. The Tao of Runes, one of the great Taos of the primordial world, elucidates the supreme principles of heaven and earth through profound symbols. When the three pure ones created written language, they too touched upon this path. In truth, the Tao of Runes is no less profound than the three paths of alchemy, artifacts and formations. Yet Xiao Yuan currently lacked the energy to delve into it further. As for the Formation Prodigy trait, it was needless to say a trait exclusive to the Tao of formations. Currently among Xiao Yuan's three auxiliary paths, alchemy, artifacts and formations, the Tao of artifacts had surged ahead, allowing him to barely forge high-grade postnatal spiritual treasures. This demonstrated the immense power of exclusive traits. Among these three paths, formations were Xiao Yuan's weakest. But with the Formation Prodigy trait now in hand, he could anticipate rapid and remarkable progress in this domain. Ironically, the Tao of alchemy, which Xiao Yuan had first mastered, still lacked a targeted trait. Yet he remained unperturbed, as such things could not be rushed. When the opportunity arose, it would come naturally. As soon as he made his choice, a beam of golden light, the Formation Prodigy trait, merged into Xiao Yuan's being. The moment the trait entered his body, Xiao Yuan felt the Tao of formations become vividly clear. Many previously obscure areas suddenly illuminated, and he instantly grasped the critical junctures. Xiao Yuan couldn't help but marvel at the potency of this targeted trait. Remarkable. The disciples of Shangqing harbored no resentment toward Xiao Yuan. Among Tongshan's 4 direct disciples, Xiao Yuan was the only one proficient in formations. Moreover, the disciples had witnessed Xiao Yuan's recent epiphany and were thoroughly convinced. After the cessation of hostilities between the Wu and Yao clans, the primordial world entered a period of peace. Xiao Yuan's small classes on formations commenced as scheduled. A considerable number of Shangqing disciples attended Xiao Yuan's lectures. Even Duobao, the senior disciple, though not a practitioner of formations, came specially to lend his support. The Tao of formations, one of the 3,000 great Taos of the primordial world, is vast and profound. It requires harmony of heaven, earth and humanity. Xiao Yuan began to speak eloquently, his exposition clear and systematic, progressing from the simple to the complex. Even Duobao, an outsider to formations, found Xiao Yuan's lecture excellent. Though not proficient, Duobao had some understanding of formations, having absorbed knowledge from Tong Tian over time. Yet as Xiao Yuan delved deeper, Duobao sensed something amiss. Xiao Yuan emphasized that the essence of formations lay in concealment, trapping enemies unaware and ensuring their demise without a trace. He advocated cunning strategies, outwardly displaying a 9-layered variable formation while secretly deploying 99 layers, making it impossible to guard against. Duobao was bewildered. He recalled that Tongshan's teachings on formations were nothing like this. Yet he could find no words to refute, for Xiao Yuan's arguments were indeed logical. Such application would undoubtedly amplify the power of formations. The disciples listening to Xiao Yuan were thoroughly engrossed, clearly taking his words to heart. In truth, Xiao Yuan drew from practical insights. He was aware of certain events in the Investiture of the Gods' tribulation, where the disciples of Jie Sect were renowned for their mastery of various formations. Formations like the 10 Absolute Formation, the Blazing Dragon Formation, the 9-Bend Yellow River Formation. Each was exquisitely and powerfully designed. Yet the Jie Sect disciples failed to utilize them effectively, setting them up openly and allowing enemies to devise countermeasures. If Xiao Yuan were to arrange them, he would ensure they were utterly treacherous. Xiao Yuan's lectures on formation spanned nearly 1,000 years. Among the attending disciples, the 3 sisters of Yun Shao excelled the most, displaying extraordinary talent in this path. It was no exaggeration to say that without the formation prodigy trait, Xiao Yuan's natural talent in formations might have been inferior to theirs. Moreover, after a millennium of teaching, Xiao Yuan understood his master's good intentions. This task was likely meant to help him consolidate his knowledge of formations. After 1,000 years of lecturing, Xiao Yuan took the opportunity to reorganize his understanding of formations, solidifying his foundational knowledge. Time flew by and another 30,000 years passed. With the aid of abundant resources, Xiao Yuan achieved a further breakthrough in cultivation, reaching the midstage of Tai Golden Immortal. I am Nuwa. Guided by heavenly destiny, this day I shall create humanity. Humanity, arise. Before Xiao Yuan could savor his breakthrough, a Tao resonance echoed across the entire primordial world. Above the heavens a myriad of golden light surged. Then vast waves of merit descended from the sky. At this moment all powerful beings in the primordial world turned their gaze to the foot of Buzhou Mountain. Upon witnessing the boundless merit, exclamations of astonishment arose from the mighty ones. So much merit. When the 3 pure ones unified the written language of the primordial world, the merit bestowed was already immense. Yet the merit granted by the heavenly Tao now was more than 10-fold greater. It was no exaggeration to say that such an ocean of merit had never before descended upon the primordial world. Nor did it end there. After absorbing the vast merit, Nuwa's body radiated a purple golden light. In an instant golden lotuses bloomed everywhere across the primordial world. Ethereal celestial music arose and purple chi streamed from the east for 100,000 li. Countless auspicious signs manifested simultaneously. Then an overwhelming irresistible pressure emanated from Nuwa. Fellow Taoist Nuwa has attained sagehood. Upon sensing this aura, Laozi lost his usual composure, his expression shifting dramatically. For the aura Nuwa now emitted was one he had only felt from his own master Hongjun. When Nuwa attained enlightenment and became a sage, it was not only Laozi who perceived it, other mighty beings in the primordial wilderness also felt the resonance. Their reactions mirrored Laozi's. Astonishment, bewilderment, envy, jealousy. Attaining enlightenment and becoming a sage. That had always been the goal they relentlessly pursued. Nuwa's achievement instantly widened the gap between her and them. Elder brother, we 3 brothers all possessed the primordial purple chi. Since fellow Taoist Nuwa could attain enlightenment, we certainly can too, Yuanshi spoke. Well said. Tong Tian nodded as well. Let us go together and inquire of fellow Taoist Nuwa about the matters of attaining enlightenment. Laozi made an immediate decision and together with his 2 brothers hastened to the palace of Nuwa. Other mighty beings of the primordial wilderness also thought of this and headed toward the palace of Nuwa. Soon many quasi-sage powerhouses of the primordial wilderness converged upon the palace of Nuwa. We pay our respects to the sage, they said, bowing in unison upon seeing Nuwa. This gesture was to show respect, and indeed a sage was a realm above them. You are two courteous fellow Taoists, Nuwa replied, seated within the palace of Nuwa, her aura ethereal and unfathomable. Nuwa then explained to the assembled powerhouses the process of her enlightenment. Nuwa stated that guided by the heavenly Tao she created living beings. It was only after creating humanity that she grasped the glimmer of enlightenment, thus receiving the merit of the heavenly Tao and becoming a sage. Nuwa also mentioned that as a heavenly Tao sage, without the guidance of the heavenly Tao she could not intervene in the operations of the primordial wilderness. This caused a wave of disappointment among the high-ranking members of the demon clan like Dijuan. They had hoped that with Nuwa's ascension to sagehood they could wipe out the Wu clan and unify the primordial wilderness completely. Unexpectedly, after becoming a sage, Nuwa was unable to act. Fortunately, as a sage, Nuwa could stabilize the fate of the heavenly court. With a sage overseeing them, the demon clan would flourish and eventually suppress the Wu clan. After the gathering at the palace of Nuwa dispersed, the mighty beings of the primordial wilderness returned to their respective abodes. Many began to emulate Nuwa, creating new life forms. Creating new races did indeed attract the merit of the heavenly Tao. The most successful among them was the ancestor Mingi of the Blood Sea, who founded the Azura race and received considerable merit. However, it was still far less than the merit Nuwa had obtained, let alone leading to sagehood. Since Nuwa's enlightenment, these powerhouses had been pondering how to become sages themselves. The atmosphere within Kunlun Mountain had become quite solemn. The three pure ones, who always considered themselves the true lineage of Pangu, were troubled that Nuwa had surpassed them in attaining sagehood. They were still utterly clueless. Nuwa had the primordial purple chi, and so did they. Nuwa created life, and they had tried that too. Yet it was still not enough. Then another major event occurred in the primordial wilderness. Huda transformed into the 6 paths of reincarnation. With Nuwa a sage overseeing the demon clan, the Wu clan would surely be unable to contend with them. Unwilling to await defeat, Huda, guided by the heavenly Tao, transformed into the 6 paths of reincarnation to stabilize the Wu clan's fate. The two clans were once again evenly matched. As for Xiao Yuan, although he knew that the creation of humanity and the transformation into reincarnation held immense merit and that even a touch of it would bring boundless benefits, he did not seek to participate in these events. He understood clearly that his cultivation was insufficient and his status was too low. To recklessly involve himself even with his master's protection would likely result in him being ground to dust. However, just as Xiao Yuan wished to cultivate in peace, his system decided to stir up trouble. Ding! The three pure ones are seeking the opportunity for enlightenment. Please, host, make a choice. Choice 1, offer advice to the three pure ones. Reward resurrection gold trait. Choice 2, ignore the matter. Reward immovable Tao heart gold trait. Resurrection gold. As long as you entrust a strand of your primordial spirit somewhere, even if you are slain, you can use that strand to reconstruct your physical body. Note, this ability can only be used 3 times. Immovable Tao heart gold. Your heart devoted to the Tao is exceptionally firm, even outer realm demons cannot shake it. Xiao Yuan stared at the 2 traits displayed by the system, his eyes growing wide. He desperately wanted both traits. The resurrection trait was a divine life-saving skill, effectively granting him 4 lives, freeing him from worries about unforeseen accidents. The immovable Tao heart trait would greatly benefit his cultivation, especially by eliminating inner demons. During the Dragonhan calamity, there was the conflict between the Tao and the demon. Demon ancestor Luoho was defeated by Tao ancestor Hongjun and established the demon realm. He declared that the Tao rises 1 foot, the demon rises 10, and since then the beings of the primordial wilderness have been plagued by inner demons. Especially during the breakthrough to the golden immortal realm, one faces the inner demon tribulation. The chance of overcoming this tribulation is only 20%, highlighting its peril. With the immovable Tao heart, the probability of surviving the inner demon tribulation would greatly increase. I choose 1. After much deliberation, Xiao Yuan finally selected resurrection. In Xiao Yuan's view, survival was paramount. As for the inner demon tribulation at the golden immortal stage, there were many ways to increase the odds of overcoming it. Moreover, by then his master would have become a sage and could protect him. There was another reason. Xiao Yuan knew that if he went to offer advice, his master and 2 uncles would likely reward him again. Seeing that the separation of the 3 pure ones was imminent, this was probably the last chance to gain benefits from his 2 uncles. There would be no more opportunities afterward. Xiao Yuan then proceeded to the Shangqing Palace. Xiao Yuan, what brings you to your master? Have you encountered difficulties in your cultivation? Tong Tian asked. Recently preoccupied with seeking the opportunity for enlightenment, Tong Tian had been neglecting other matters. He assumed Xiao Yuan had come to seek advice on cultivation. Master, your disciple noticed you seemed troubled, so I came to offer some words of insight, Xiao Yuan said. Haha. You are thoughtful. Speak then. How do you plan to enlighten your master? Tong Tian laughed. I believe that master and my two uncles should not fixate solely on Yuan's enlightenment and delve into her experiences. Have you forgotten, master, that Grandmaster also successfully attained enlightenment and was the first sage of the primordial wilderness? As Grandmaster's direct disciple, perhaps master could draw upon Grandmaster's method of achieving sagehood. Xiao Yuan spoke slowly. Tong Tian was momentarily stunned. The boy seemed to make a good point. They had indeed become somewhat impatient after witnessing Yuan's enlightenment. They had blindly begun to imitate Yuan's path to enlightenment. The outsider sees more of the game. Xiao Yuan's words had genuinely given him some inspiration. Their master had attained the Tao by teaching and enlightening the primordial wilderness. Perhaps they should approach it from the angle of teaching and enlightening. You make a valid point. Your master will go discuss this with your two uncles. You will be credited for this, Tong Tian said with a hearty laugh before leaving in a flurry. Not long after, the three pure ones left Kunlun together, heading into the primordial wilderness to seek the opportunity for enlightenment. After Xiao Yuan's visit to the Shangqing Palace, he concealed his merits and retreated to cultivate in solitude. 30,000 years later, the primordial wilderness once again manifested signs of enlightenment. Laozi enlightened the human race, transmitting the golden core great Tao, establishing the human sect and invoking the merit of creation left by Pangu to attain sagehood. Subsequently, Yuanshi founded the Chan sect and Tong Tian established the Jie sect, following suit to become sages. Yet this was not the end. The two from the west also imitated the three pure ones by establishing the western sect. Although they drew down heavenly merit, lacking Pangu's blessing, their merit for enlightenment was deficient. Fortunately, Jian and Junti were shrewd, devising a method of borrowing. They made great vows, borrowing vast merit from the heavenly Tao, and thus attained sagehood. However, they thus bore a heavy debt, uncertain when it might be repaid. This act was a matter of perspective, with none able to declare it definitively good or bad. Thus 5 sages emerged in a single day, shaking the entire primordial wilderness. Especially those peak powerhouses who were once close to the 3 pure ones felt an agitation like a cat scratching at their hearts. Subsequently others followed suit, hoping to attain sagehood by establishing a sect. The most typical of these was Mingyi. Mingyi founded the Azura sect, which likewise drew a great amount of merit. But it still failed to achieve sagehood. In the end, synthesizing the experiences of sages in the primordial wilderness and through the explorations of many powerhouses, the key elements for attaining sagehood were summarized. First, one must possess the primordial violet chi. Second, one must sever the 3 corpses. Third, one needs vast merit. The second condition was still met by some powerhouses. The third condition, as proven by the 2 Western sages, could be addressed by borrowing from the heavenly Tao. Therefore the most crucial element was the first. The primordial violet chi. By this time the many powerhouses of the primordial wilderness truly understood its value. Those who had not obtained the violet chi beat their chests in regret, lamenting their failure to seize the 6 heavenly Tao cushions. Among them Kunpeng was the most aggrieved. He had once occupied one of those cushions. If not for Hongyun yielding his seat, he would not have lost this opportunity. Kunpeng now wished he could drag Hongyun out and kill him 10 times over. Yet the great cultivators knew well that the chance at Xiao Palace once missed was lost forever. It could not be remedied. So they turned their attention to the unclaimed primordial violet chi, the very one once possessed by Hongyun. Zenyuanzi, who claimed to know the whereabouts of that violet chi, immediately became a target. Many powerhouses visited the Honghuang temple. All were met with closed doors. Zenyuanzi, connected to the earth veins of the primordial wilderness, feared none of them. If they dared to attack him, they would face backlash, and he was ready to bring them down with him. The great cultivators were both furious and anxious, yet ultimately powerless against Zenyuanzi. Xiao Yuan, your teacher told me that your reminders inspired us. What reward do you wish? Laozi asked with a smile, looking at Xiao Yuan. It is entirely up to you, master, and my 2 uncles, Xiao Yuan said. You're a sly one. I see you are not far from the great Luo golden immortal realm, so I grant you 2 9-turn heart-clearing pills and 1 9-turn golden pill. Laozi waved his hand, bestowing the reward. The 9-turn heart-clearing pill was another supreme elixir of the primordial wilderness. It did not enhance cultivation but specifically targeted inner demons. It greatly increased the chance of surviving the inner demon tribulation. The efficacy of the 9-turn golden pill needed no elaboration. Evidently Laozi's reward this time was far more generous than before. Since Big Brother is so magnanimous, I cannot be stingy. I once chanced upon a seed of the 36th grade Primordial Chaos Azure Lotus. Today I gift it to you, Yuanchi then spoke. The 36th grade Primordial Chaos Azure Lotus which once nurtured Pangu was the foremost spiritual root of chaos. Later it disintegrated, transforming into numerous primordial spiritual treasures. For instance, the 5 directional banners, the 4 lotus thrones. The seed of the Primordial Chaos Azure Lotus was a chaotic rarity surpassing even primordial spiritual objects in rank. Legend held that consuming one such seed could randomly grant a great divine ability, making it immensely valuable. After Xiao Yuan expressed his thanks, Tong Tian also raised a beam of spiritual light. This is the supreme primordial spiritual treasure, the heart-piercing lock. With a single thought it shatters the soul. Indeed, Tong Tian did not disappoint Xiao Yuan. This was also the first supreme primordial spiritual treasure that Xiao Yuan wielded. In fact, Xiao Yuan already possessed several primordial spiritual treasures. The low-grade primordial spiritual treasure Ink Abyss Sword. The mid-grade primordial spiritual treasure Nine Fire Crimson Furnace. The high-grade primordial spiritual treasures Void Mirror and Haoyan Hammer. Plus the supreme primordial spiritual treasure Heart-Piercing Lock. Good heavens! Xiao Yuan now possessed a staggering 5 primordial spiritual treasures. This fact would astonish many. Moreover, Xiao Yuan occupied Yingzhou Island where a high-grade primordial spiritual root, the Enlightenment Tea Tree, grew. Even some quasi-sages might not be this wealthy. After receiving the reward, Xiao Yuan felt immensely pleased. At the same time he regretted that such opportunities would likely never come again. And indeed, as he had anticipated. After the 3 pure ones attained sagehood, the conflict between Tong Tian and Yuanchi erupted completely. It was still the same old issue. Tong Tian sought to spread the Tao across the primordial wilderness, especially after becoming a sage, to seize a thread of life for all beings. This act naturally defied the heavens. Yuanchi, establishing the Chan sect to follow the heavenly trend, held a diametrically opposed philosophy. As the saying goes, those with different paths cannot plan together. The conflict between Yuanchi and Tong Tian had escalated to the level of a Tao dispute. Even Laozi could no longer mediate. Since it has come to this, there is nothing more to say. If Kunlun Mountain cannot accommodate my Jie sect, I shall seek another place as my Tao field to establish my foundation, Tong Tian said coldly. Yuanchi's expression stiffened. He only disliked Tongshan's indiscriminate recruitment of disciples which corrupted the fortunes of the Xian sect, but he never intended to drive Tong Tian away. A great tree branches out. It is time for us 3 brothers to part ways. Second brother, I will leave Kunlun in your care, Laozi said with a sigh. Caught between Tong Tian and Yuanchi, he had tried to persuade them for years to no avail. If Tong Tian left Kunlun, outsiders would surely accuse him and Yuanchi of ostracizing him. So he decided to leave as well. This. Yuanchi was momentarily at a loss for words. It is settled then. Tong Tian acted with swift decisiveness, immediately notifying everyone of the relocation. Many Jie sect disciples were bewildered. This was too sudden. Only Xiao Yuan, who had long known that the 3 pure ones would split, had not invested much effort in his Tao field on Kunlun Mountain, making it easy to pack up. Xiao Yuan, accompanied by the Crimson Flame Boy, rode atop the flame-treading beast ready to depart. Brother, you're already prepared. Duo Bao exclaimed in surprise, looking at Xiao Yuan. Master and second uncle have been arguing frequently lately. I thought Master would not stay in Kunlun, so I made preparations, Xiao Yuan said with a chuckle. Duo Bao gave Xiao Yuan a thumbs up. He had to admit the guy was a genius. Upon receiving Tongshan's notification, the disciples of the Shangqing lineage quickly packed their belongings. To be honest, many among them felt a sense of discontent. They were well aware of the escalating conflict between their master and the second grandmaster. Yet why should it be their master who was forced to leave Kunlun? It felt as though they had been expelled. Do not dwell on such thoughts. My departure from Kunlun was a decision I made willingly. Not only I but your grandmaster shall also leave Kunlun to seek another Tao field. As if reading his disciples' minds, Tong Tian offered this explanation. Hearing this, many of the Jie sect disciples felt somewhat relieved. Master, where shall we go? Duo Bao inquired. Though the Wu and Yao tribes have ceased hostilities, conflict is inevitable. I intend to journey to the Eastern Sea, establish Penglai as my Tao field, and distance ourselves from the battlefield as much as possible. Having proposed the departure, Tong Tian had long formulated a plan. Though Penglai lay desolate, a sage's power could reshape creation and mend the earth's veins with ease. Let us depart. With a sweep of his sleeve, Tong Tian retracted the Shangqing palace and led his disciples away from Kunlun. The upheaval on Mount Kunlun did not escape the notice of the primordial world's mighty figures. For a sage no matter was trivial, especially when it concerned three of their kind. The division of the three pure ones sent shockwaves throughout the primordial world. Countless rumors circulated, yet the truth remained unknown to all. The two sages of the west upon hearing the news were greatly pleased. Tong Tian and his disciples had already arrived near the Penglai Immortal Island in the Eastern Sea. Roar! With a sky-shaking roar, a colossal golden AO surged from the Eastern Sea, its gaping maw lunging towards Tongshan's entourage. This was the fearsome golden AO beast of the Eastern Sea. Born of the primordial world's karmic filth, these savage creatures knew no fear. The golden AO, wreathed in baleful karmic energy, exuded a terrifying aura that would overwhelm even an ordinary quasi-sage. Wretch, you seek death. Tong Tian snorted. The chinkping sword at his back unsheathed, transforming into a streak of azure light that pierced through the golden owl's body, shattering its life force and ending it in a single strike. The golden owl's massive carcass crashed into the Eastern Sea, raising towering waves. The Jie Sect disciples watched in awe. They could sense the beast's ferocity, yet their master had slain it with one blow. Xiao Yuan also observed Tongshan's technique. The moment the chinkping sword left its sheath, he felt an overwhelming sword intent sweep forth as if nothing else existed in heaven and earth but that single strike. Unknowingly, Xiao Yuan sank into an epiphany inspired by that sword stroke. Dao resonance began to spread and sword intent emanated from him. Master Junior Brother Xiao Yuan has entered another epiphany. Duo Bao exclaimed as if seeing a ghost. How could enlightenment be so commonplace? Had it not been so soon since his last? The other Jie Sect disciples were numbed by the sight. What sorcery was this? Another epiphany again and again. This was utterly outrageous. Even Tong Tian was momentarily stunned, though he recognized it as a blessing. The epiphany did not last long. Xiao Yuan soon awakened, the sword intent dissipating, leaving behind a sharper, more formidable aura. Master, fellow disciples, my apologies. It was beyond my control, Xiao Yuan said with an apologetic smile. The Jie Sect disciples could only envy such an involuntary state. This epiphany centered on the Tao of the sword. Xiao Yuan primarily cultivated the Tao of heavenly fire with sword artifact alchemy and formation as secondary pursuits. Among these, the sword was his least focused path. His study of the sword was merely a foundation for the sword escape technique, which he had never deeply explored. Yet by a stroke of fortune he had now made significant gains in the sword's way. Enough. Penglai's earth veins are severed. I shall use my divine power to restore them. Retreat to a safe distance. Tong Tian continued. The disciples obeyed, withdrawing under Duobao's lead. Tong Tian then channeled his divine power. In an instant the world's spiritual energy surged, manifesting as a rain of qi over Penglai. This process was brief. The Penglai Immortal Island was reborn, renewed and vibrant. Moreover, the fallen golden AO beside it transformed into a vast island, its spiritual veins connecting with those of Penglai. From now on, Penglai shall be my Tao field and the golden AO island a place for my Jie Sect disciples to debate the Tao, declared Tong Tian. We obey your decree. The Jie Sect disciples assented in unison. I am Tong Tian. Today I establish my Tao field on Penglai. In 3,000 years I shall preach upon this isle. All who are fated may come to listen. Tongshan's voice resounded once more, this time addressing the entire primordial world. The Jie Sect sought to seize a thread of life for all beings, teaching without discrimination. This was the Tao of Tongshan's founding. To advance further on his path he must continue to uphold it. On Kunlun he had been restrained by his elder brother's presence. Now with his own Tao field established, no one could hinder him. This proclamation naturally stirred countless beings across the primordial world into a frenzy. To join the Jie Sect was to become a disciple of a sage. Xiao Yuan, however, pondered deeper implications. After its development in the Eastern Sea, the Jie Sect would swiftly expand, attracting a myriad of immortals. It would even be hailed as the foremost sect of the primordial world. Ostensibly, the conferred god calamity arose from the heavenly court's lack of personnel. In truth, it was a struggle for the fortune of the primordial sages. The fortune of the world was finite if the Jie Sect's growth meant seizing more, encroaching on the interests of others. Ultimately, even Tongshan's own brothers Laozi and Yuanshi could no longer tolerate the Jie Sect's existence. Coupled with the Western sages' delight in fanning the flames of internal conflict among the Xuanmen, a coalition of great sects formed to besiege the Jie Sect. As long as the Jie Sect continued to thrive, the conferred god calamity was unavoidable. Of course, Xiao Yuan knew his only recourse was to cultivate with urgency. Only by growing stronger could he seek a chance at survival and gain a voice. Once Tong Tian had settled his disciples, Xiao Yuan mounted his flame-treading beast and accompanied by Qi Yan Boy headed for Yingzhou Island. Master, where is this? Qi Yan Boy asked puzzled. This is the Dao field your master has found in the Eastern Sea. We shall settle here from now on, Xiao Yuan replied with a smile. Xiao Yuan suddenly realized that with the relocation Qi Yan alone might not manage everything efficiently. Yingzhou Island was vast, and with future guests, banquets and events to host a single Qi Yan Boy would be insufficient. As his words faded, a hearty voice rang out. Daoist Xiao Yuan, I have taken the liberty to visit. I hope you will not mind. The visitor was none other than Ao Guang, the Dragon King of the East Sea. Since the Jie Sect had relocated to the East Sea, the Dragon Clan was naturally aware of the news. However, their relationship with the Jie Sect was limited to Xiao Yuan's side. They dared not rashly approach Tong Tian. Thus Ao Guang came to visit Xiao Yuan. Moreover, Ao Guang did not come alone, he was accompanied by a strikingly beautiful woman. You are too kind, fellow cultivator, Xiao Yuan said as he hurried out to welcome them. He still remembered the favor of the Dragon Clan's ancestor protecting him. Xiao Yuan led the two into Yingzhou Island and brewed a pot of enlightenment tea. Fellow cultivator, I have just moved into Yingzhou Island and haven't had time to tidy up, it's a bit crude, please don't mind. Not at all. Ao Guang quickly replied with a smile. Fellow cultivator, my visit today is not merely a simple call. Let me introduce you, this is Huan Sha, the chieftain of the Mermaid Clan. Xiao Yuan then turned his gaze to the graceful woman beside Ao Guang. He had initially thought she was a powerful member of the Dragon Clan, but now he sensed that her aura differed from that of the dragons. According to Xiao Yuan's knowledge, the Mermaid Clan was once a subordinate of the Dragon Clan and was considered one of the major races in the Primordial era, enjoying considerable renown. It was said that the Mermaid Clan could weave mermaid silk and produce mermaid pearls. Mermaid silk was considered top-tier fabric in the Primordial era, extremely precious and not something ordinary beings could wear. It was also excellent material for refining spiritual treasures. Mermaid pearls had the effect of curing various injuries and ailments and could also be used in alchemy, their value even surpassing that of mermaid silk. However, it was said that after the Dragonhan cataclysm the Mermaid Clan had also declined. Yet Xiao Yuan was puzzled as to why Ao Guang had brought the chieftain of the Mermaid Clan to Yingzhou Island. Fellow cultivator, I have come today hoping to lead the entire Mermaid Clan to pledge allegiance to you. Please take us in. Huan Sha spoke as if guessing Xiao Yuan's thoughts. You may not know, fellow cultivator, but the Mermaid Clan has been in dire straits in recent years. I know you have just established your Dao field and might need hands, so I took the liberty to broker this connection. Ao Guang then explained the reason. The treasures of mermaid silk and mermaid pearls produced by the Mermaid Clan had brought them great fame, but had also led to their downfall. It was a case of an innocent man may possess a jade, yet it becomes his crime. Over the years various forces had pressured the Mermaid Clan to produce mermaid silk and pearls, even plundering them on a large scale, causing immense suffering. Huan Sha had sought help from the Dragon Clan. But their former patron the Dragon Clan could barely protect themselves, let alone aid them. In the end Ao Guang thought of Xiao Yuan. As a personal disciple of a saint, Xiao Yuan could easily offer the Mermaid Clan protection. Moreover, Ao Guang guessed that Xiao Yuan was short of help, so he made this trip. Ding! The Mermaid Clan has come to pledge allegiance. Please choose host. Option 1. Accept the Mermaid Clan's allegiance and be rewarded with the Alchemy Grandmaster Gold trait. Option 2. Refuse the Mermaid Clan's allegiance and be rewarded with the Purple Firmament Divine Eye Gold trait. Alchemy Grandmaster Gold. You possess exceptional insight and practical ability in the Tao of Alchemy. With dedicated study you can become an Alchemy Grandmaster unrivaled in the Primordial era. Purple Firmament Divine Eye Gold. Your eyes are infused with Purple Firmament Chi, enabling you to see through illusions and emit Purple Firmament Divine Light, warding off all evils. I choose option 1. Xiao Yuan made his choice without much deliberation. Among his 3 auxiliary Daos, only the Tao of Alchemy lacked a targeted trait. Having finally obtained this opportunity to acquire an alchemy trait, he naturally didn't want to let it slip lest it never appear again. Moreover, he had been worried about having no one to manage his Dao field. The Mermaid Clan proved to be a perfect fit. They were already a mature race with inherent productivity capable of creating immense value for Xiao Yuan. Furthermore, the chieftain of the Mermaid Clan was a being at the early stage of the Tai Golden Immortal Realm. She would be useful in many matters. Therefore the choice was obvious. If you find it difficult, fellow cultivator. Ao Guang began, seeing Xiao Yuan's prolonged silence, assuming he was reluctant. You misunderstand, I was just a bit taken aback. Xiao Yuan said with a smile. Huan Sha pays respects to the master. The mermaid chieftain was overjoyed. To secure a connection with a saint's personal disciple was a great fortune for her clan. Xiao Yuan nodded in response. This mermaid chieftain, despite being at the Tai Golden Immortal Realm, showed no arrogance and behaved with great deference. Xiao Yuan was quite pleased. If Huansha had shown any hint of defiance or ulterior motives, he would certainly have refused. He agreed to the mermaid clan's settlement on Yingzhou Island to serve as attendants and stewards. What Xiao Yuan needed was obedience and loyalty. Once the matter was settled, Huansha led the mermaid clan in their migration to Yingzhou Island. The current mermaid clan numbered fewer than 10,000. Weaving mermaid silk and producing mermaid pearls consumed life force energy. Excessive production would lead to shortened lifespans. This was the reason for the mermaid clan's small population. It was also why they urgently needed to find a protector. Without protection, the mermaid clan risked extinction. Thus Huansha clung to Xiao Yuan as a lifeline, not daring to let go. Yingzhou Island was vast and only a small area was needed to accommodate the mermaid clan. Huansha, from now on you shall be the chief steward of Yingzhou Island, handling all mundane affairs, Xiao Yuan said. I will not disappoint you, master. Huansha was still quite reserved with Xiao Yuan as she had yet to gauge her master's temperament. She had chosen to pledge allegiance to Xiao Yuan based on her trust in Ao Guan. If you serve me well, I will not treat you or the mermaid clan poorly. I will soon issue a decree for the powerful beings of the East Sea to release any detained members of your clan, Xiao Yuan said slowly. Thank you, master. Thank you, master. Huansha hurriedly expressed her gratitude. The mermaid clan not only produced mermaid silk and pearls but were also all exceptionally beautiful. The powerful beings of the East Sea prided themselves on having mermaid attendants. Some powerful beings even kept mermaids confined, forcing them to produce pearls and silk day and night, living in misery. Huansha had wanted to save those clan members but lacked the ability. With Xiao Yuan's intervention, the problem was resolved. Huansha was overwhelmed with gratitude toward Xiao Yuan. After Xiao Yuan issued his decree, nearly 5,000 more mermaids gathered on Yingzhou Island from all directions. Huansha settled them all properly and again expressed her profound thanks before Xiao Yuan. The art of governance lies in balancing kindness with authority. Huansha and the mermaid clan did not disappoint Xiao Yuan. In a short time they had the entire Yingzhou Island in perfect order. Xiao Yuan no longer had to worry about trivial matters. Then, after some thought, he sent invitations to his familiar fellow disciples of the Jie Sect, inviting them to gather on Yingzhou Island in 100 years. Among those Xiao Yuan invited were several senior fellow disciples, Duobao Jinling Wudong and the junior sister his master had later taken in Guiling. In addition, he invited Zhao Gongming and the 3 Xia sisters. Of course, he did not forget to invite the water and fire boys. In truth, the purpose of this banquet for his fellow disciples was not only to strengthen bonds but also to seek advice regarding the Great Golden Immortal Tribulation. Having already reached the midstage of the Tai Golden Immortal Realm, he needed to prepare early. These senior and junior siblings had all replied, confirming their attendance. 100 years passed in the blink of an eye, and Duobao and the others arrived as promised. Senior brothers, senior sisters, junior brothers, junior sisters, please come in, Xiao Yuan greeted them personally. Junior brother, your meditation abode is truly remarkable. I feel tempted to acquire one myself, Duobao remarked with heartfelt admiration. The others shared similar thoughts. Yingzhou Island was already blessed with celestial beauty, and under the care of the mermaid clan it had become even more magnificent and exquisite in every detail. Their hearts itched with desire and they began contemplating finding their own meditation abodes elsewhere. When you find a suitable spiritual land for your abodes, I'll help you plan the renovations, Xiao Yuan said. Xiao Yuan chuckled. He then invited his fellow disciples to take their seats. He not only presented the enlightenment tea tree but also prepared some spiritual wine, spiritual liquids and a variety of spiritual fruits. They chatted and laughed together, the atmosphere harmonious. Senior brother Duobao, senior sister Jinling, senior brother Shuehua, I wish to inquire about the matters concerning the Great Golden Immortal Tribulation, Xiao Yuan spoke up. Duobao Jinling and Shuehua Tongzi had all already entered the Great Golden Immortal Realm. Hearing Xiao Yuan's question, those like Zhao Gongming who had not yet reached that stage listened attentively. Though it was still far off for them, hearing about it in advance was no bad thing. Junior brother, the Great Golden Immortal Tribulation is generally divided into 3 trials, Duobao began. The first trial is the lightning tribulation, also known as the body tribulation, which acts upon the physical form. The second trial is the wind tribulation, also called the soul tribulation, which acts upon the soul. The third trial is the heart demon tribulation. Those with an unsteady Tao heart will be seduced by inner demons, causing their Tao heart to shatter. Regardless of whether it is the lightning tribulation, wind tribulation or heart demon tribulation, the intensity of the tribulation varies for each person. Many factors contribute to this difference. For instance, if your talent is high, the lightning tribulation you face may be more severe. Naturally, the greater the intensity of the tribulation you endure, the greater the benefits. Another factor is the influence of karma. If you have committed many evils and are shrouded in karmic sin, the tribulation's difficulty will increase. To become a great golden immortal, one must gather the 3 flowers above the head. The grade of the blooming flowers determines the future path of cultivation. Those who bloom below the 7th grade are generally destined never to reach the quasi-sage realm. Only those who bloom at the 7th grade or above have a chance to step into the quasi-sage realm. Duo Bao spoke eloquently, elaborating on every detail of the tribulation transcendence. These were all experiences he had personally gone through. While Duo Bao was speaking, Jinling and Shuehua Tongzi also added some supplementary insights. Junior brother, now that you have entered the midstage of Tai Golden Immortal, you are not far from the great Golden Immortal realm. You may go to the master and request the 8-9 arcane art. This method tempers the physical body and can aid you in facing the lightning tribulation. Back then I only managed to cross the lightning tribulation after cultivating the 8-9 arcane art to the 4th turn, Duo Bao continued. As for the wind tribulation, I relied on the innate spiritual object 10,000 soul stone. However, I heard that second uncle master has bestowed the soul-shaking bell upon you. With the soul-shaking bell protecting you, it is even more effective than the 10,000 soul stone. Finally, there is the heart demon tribulation. I overcame it using an 8th turn clarity heart pill. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yuan was surprised. He hadn't realized that he had somehow gathered almost all the necessary items for the tribulation. The soul-shaking bell bestowed by second uncle master would be used for the wind tribulation. The 9th turn clarity heart pill bestowed by first uncle master would be used for the heart demon tribulation. Now all he needed was to learn the 8-9 arcane art. Thank you, senior brother and senior sister, for your guidance, Xiao Yuan said gratefully. Such knowledge, if shared outside, would be priceless. This was the advantage of having an excellent lineage. You're too kind, junior brother. With your abilities, advancing to the great golden immortal realm should not be difficult. The real challenge lies in how many grades your flowers will bloom. I accumulated for a long time hoping to bloom 9 grades but ultimately failed. Among us fellow disciples, I see you as the most promising. When the time comes, you will surely bring honor to the master, Duo Bao said, patting Xiao Yuan on the shoulder. I will do my best, Xiao Yuan replied, feeling somewhat embarrassed. He thought his senior brother held him in too high regard. Xiao Yuan knew well that his current achievements were all supported by his golden traits. In terms of innate talent, he could not compare to these senior brothers and sisters. Nevertheless, after hearing Duo Bao's words, a glimmer of hope stirred within Xiao Yuan's heart. Now he not only aimed to smoothly break through to the great golden immortal realm but also strive to bloom 9 grades. The banquet was a delight for both host and guests. Duo Bao and the others then took their leave. Xiao Yuan did not rush to seek the 8-9 arcane art from his master, as the Jie Sect was about to open its gates wide and his master was likely busy. He was in no hurry. Instead, Xiao Yuan decided to study the newly acquired alchemy grandmaster trait. Now that he had specialized traits for alchemy, artifact refinement and formations, his progress in all 3 fields was advancing by leaps and bounds. Soon the 3,000-year period promised by Tong Tian arrived. Huansha, I entrust Yingzhou Island to your care, Xiao Yuan said. Rest assured, master, Huansha immediately replied. Xiao Yuan mounted the blazing flame beast and headed toward Jiao Island. As Yingzhou Island was not far from Jiao Island, upon arrival he put away the blazing flame beast, paid his respects to his master and found his seat. At that moment the area around Jiao Island was packed with layers upon layers of beings, in the sky and the sea a dense multitude of creatures. The influence of a sage preaching the Tao was immense. I Tongtian shall today preach the Tao on Jiao Island. All who can comprehend the supreme purity mystic art may enter the gates of my Jie Sect. Tongshan's voice resounded and he began his sermon. The sermon lasted for 3,000 years. Many beings gained insights and Xiao Yuan also reaped considerable benefits. Among the listeners, nearly 10,000 creatures comprehended the supreme purity mystic art. We pay our respects to the master. The newly inducted disciples of the Jie Sect bowed their heads in reverence. The sound shook heaven and earth. Clang. Above the Jie Sect the fortune was flourishing. The 4 immortal slaying swords suppressed the sect's fortune, emitting crisp sword chimes. After the sermon concluded, many disciples of the Jie Sect dispersed. Xiao Yuan, however, entered the supreme purity palace. Master, your disciple wishes to request the 8-9 arcane art. Ah, I have been remiss, Tong Tian said with a smile, pointing a finger as a beam of golden light shot into Xiao Yuan's brow. It was the 8-9 arcane art. This method was adapted by the 3 pure ones from the 9 revolutions arcane art and was the supreme physical cultivation technique of the primordial world. It was said that at its highest levels one could even withstand the power of spiritual treasures with their bare body. Moreover, the 8-9 arcane art contained boundless transformations. Among my disciples I have the highest hopes for you. You must strive to bloom 9 grades and bring me joy, Tong Tian said, looking at Xiao Yuan with great expectation. Xiao Yuan was taken aback. First the senior brother and now even his master was saying the same thing.